The story begins with a guy walking around the school and all the people gave him honor and called him boss, and he was very respected and powerful. The guy's name was Ning Fan, and he was a man who subjugated an entire school and was the coolest and most daring person in the school. All the teachers in this school were at his feet, and Ning Fan was not afraid of anyone and did what he wanted and did not respect many experienced teachers of the school. The teachers sat in fear and could not do anything to Ning Fan, and because of this they agreed with everything he said and what he did there. And all those blind people who decided to enrage Ning Fan were already in the hospital, and he mercilessly dealt with all these people. But at the same time, there were days when Ning Fan felt very bad and he didn't even want to fight anymore because he was hurt from fighting. Ning Fan recalled that he also had bad times, but in many cases he got out of these troubles and everything was fine. And at that very second, Ning Fan woke up in some classroom and he looked around and wanted to understand what happened there and whether he really fell asleep there. Ning Fan was shocked and thought about who he was, where he ended up and what he was doing and who all these people were now surrounding him in the room. People said that Ning Fan slept even in class and he is the least serious teacher of all they know, and how was this man not ashamed? The guy said that, be that as it may, their D class was the worst in Xian Sha Academy, but no one wanted to study and it was sad. The guy said that all the teachers and students stopped trying, and what was the point of sitting in a lesson with a teacher like Ning Fan? Ning Fan didn't understand which academy these people were talking about and which class D, and the handwriting of the teachers and students stopped trying there. And at that moment, Ning Fan saw his badge where it was written that he was a novice teacher at Xian Sha Academy, and it was a shock. Ning Fan wondered if he had really been resurrected, and does this mean that now he is a teacher and these are his students, but how was this even possible? The girl said that Ning Fan is a worthless teacher and teaches her lessons in an empty classroom and their class should already be disbanded. Ning Fan wondered if lipstick and powder were floating in the air and his students had such makeup, and it seemed that all his students were not so correct. And at that very second, students from a better class kicked the door to their office, and these students began to enter this class without hesitation. These guys started approaching a student named Zhang Tianyang, and they said that they had smoked all the cigarettes and he should bring more. Students from that class stood next to Zhang Tianyang and asked him to lend them money and not to worry because he wanted to return it later. The students from that class patted Zhang Tianyang on the head and said that if he asked for money in advance, they would give it back to him. Ning Fan looked at this and thought that these students from the better class had no shame and they do whatever they want there. The students pestered Zhang Tianyang, and the rest of his classmates did not want to look at how these people laughed at their friend. The students said that their teacher could not even say a word at the moment when his student was being bullied, and the teacher was a simple coward. The students agreed with their friends and said that getting into this class was a complete failure, and how could they be so unlucky then? Ning Fan thought that he didn't know when it started, but people in this world began to acquire special talents and everyone had different talents. Ning Fan remembered that in order to control these people with special powers and be able to manipulate them, measures were taken. To solve this problem, an academy was created in the country for all these people, and they trained such gifted and rare people there. And the teachers in this world were responsible for awakening their powers, and they must try and work with each student there separately. This world's Ning Fan was the nephew of one of the 6 directors of Xian Sha Academy and was also the fiancé of the school beauty. But a tragedy happened, and because of an accident in his family, he was the only one left alive from the Ning family, and it's so sad. After this disaster, Ning Fan began to drink and could not find a place for himself in this world, and life simply lost its meaning for him. The principal told Ning Fan that he only deserves to teach the worst class D, and the wedding agreement was terminated. Even as a child, his girlfriend Shiyu Sebe left him, and Xiao Ning Fan also left this place because he didn't want to stay there anymore. Ning Fan thought that his first owner was such a bastard, and he was tempered and raised then in harsh and very harsh conditions like there. Ning Fan thought that he couldn't bear what the disciple had gone through and wanted him to see how they would help him take revenge now. The guy told Zhang Tianyang that although he used to be the smartest, but now he was a piece of garbage in class D, and this was the rock bottom. The guy told Zhang Tianyang that he could quietly be his dog, and this was his fate, and he accepted it, but someone distracted his attention. Teacher Ning Fan told the guy that he had to report when he entered the class and suddenly attacked him and was very angry. Teacher Ning Fan told the guy that he did not understand these rules and now he would pay for all his actions, and this student immediately froze in place. Teacher Ning Fan immediately struck this bully in the face with a strong blow, and he cried and could not understand where this teacher had so much courage. The insolent student immediately flew out of this office, and teacher Ning Fan was glad that now this insolent person would learn an important lesson for life. Teacher Ning Fan told the bully to get lost and said that he was not welcome there and he could only beg for help from his best students. All the friends of this bully froze in surprise and did not understand how a coward could hit their brother so hard that he flew to the side. Ning Fan's students also couldn't believe their eyes, and they couldn't understand how this could happen and whether the teacher was really so cool. And at that very second, the system suddenly notified Ning Fan that the crazy teacher system had been activated and began to open. Teacher Ning Fan did not understand what kind of system this crazy teacher was, and was it really a gift for his resurrection in this world. And then the system congratulated the owner on a new gift for him called the eyes of a famous professor, and this was his skill. With the help of the famous professor's eyes, Ning Fan will be able to see through everything and find the pros and cons in everything he looks at. The system reported that if the owner of Ning Fan wants to continue unlocking new skills, then he needs to gain his trust points. The system informed Ning Fan that if his actions were coordinated with his students or teachers, he would earn trust points for himself. And for example, the actions of the master from the past had already received part of that trust from the students, and Ning Fan thought what kind of trust points these were. Teacher Ning Fan received trust points for hitting a bully from the strongman Li Shifeng and Zhang Tianyang for helping them in difficult times. Teacher Ning Fan was surprised and wondered if he could ever earn so many trust points just by hitting someone. Teacher Ning Fan smiled and thought that he seemed to have found a way to earn trust points and develop new skills for development. Teacher Ning Fan thought that Zhang Tianyang used to be in class C, but why did his awakening percentage drop so much? And it was strange. Zhang Tianyang approached the teacher and said thank you to Mr. Ning for what happened earlier, and he really saved him from such danger now. The student thought that this had not happened yet, but big troubles would await them all ahead of which they knew nothing. Zhang Tianyang asked for forgiveness from teacher Ning Fan and said that it was he who got him into these problems, and said that it was only his fault. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Zhang Tianyang why he was so afraid and said that he would always make sure there was order there. And at that moment Ning Fan's eye glowed, and this was one of the new techniques, and he wanted to try how this skill really works. Ning Fan started using the teacher's eye skill, and the system reported that he activated the skill on Zhang Tianyang and could see his data. Zhang Tianyang, a gifted guy, is wounded on his right hand, which has become a mental obstacle, as a result of which his strength has already weakened. Teacher Ning Fan wondered if this coward really went into a mental stage after his injury, and it was very interesting. Teacher Ning Fan thought that since Zhang was so concerned about his hand, he asked the student if it was his right hand and whether he was right. Zhang Tianyang was very surprised by this and asked the teacher how he could find out that he had injured his right hand because he never said. Teacher Ning Fan told student Zhang that how can he be his teacher if he can't even see it, it's very simple. But then suddenly someone behind Ning Fan's teacher called him and told him to come to him now because he was guilty of a serious matter. Behind him stood Sun Xiong, a novice class teacher, and he immediately asked teacher Ning Fan how he dared to hit his student. The bully who got hit in the face by Ning Fan's teacher stood next to his teacher, and he was glad that now this Ning would be responsible for everything. But Ning Fan's teacher didn't even look at him and asked why he was so loud, and couldn't he see that he was teaching a lesson now? Sun Xiong asked teacher Ning Fan if he was still going to teach after beating his dear and best student. Teacher Ning Fan told Sun Xiong that then he would take him down before finishing his lesson, and then he would finally take a bite. Teacher Sun Xiong came close to Ning Fan and asked why he considers himself the master of the Ning family because he is just a coward. Teacher Ning Fan covered his ears, and Sun Xiong said that if he is not going to apologize, he should leave Xin Sha Academy. The student told the student that it seemed that teacher Ning Fan had big problems and asked what they would do and maybe they could help him. The girl told the student that these were teacher Ning Fan's problems and they had no need to interfere and they would see how he apologized now. But Ning Fan asked Sun Xiong for forgiveness and said that he would never apologize to him today and he might not even hope. Teacher Ning Fan told Sun Xiong that the person who can make him apologize has not yet been born, and this is definitely not Sun Xiong. For such brave words addressed to the teacher Sun Xiong, Ning Fan received 1 trust point from the student Zhang Tianyang and his points were replenished. But a second later, teacher Ning Fan again received a trust point from student Shi Feng and he understood that the teacher could protect his. And also teacher Ning Fan received a point of trust from the strongman student Li and he looked at his teacher and was proud that he was so brave. Teacher Sun Xiong got very angry and told Ning Fan that he couldn't be so arrogant and who did he think he was? Teacher Sun Xiong told Ning Fan that in this world only strong people are respected, and strength was in logic, which Ning Fan did not have. Teacher Ning Fan told Sun Xiong that if he is talking about strength, then his Zhang Tianyang is much stronger than his student and he should apologize. Sun Xiong began to laugh and asked Ning Fan if he really thought that he was still a top-class C student because that had not been the case for a long time. Teacher Ning Fan told Sun Xiong that if he doesn't believe his words, then why don't they have a duel and decide who is stronger? Teacher Sun Xiong said that the fact that Zhang Tianyang fights him is no different from the fact that he will die and this is 100% sure. But teacher Ning Fan told Sun Xiong that he could just tell him that he was scared and he would understand it because his student Zhang is a strong fighter. Teacher Sun Xiong told Ning Fan that how could he be afraid of a teacher like him and said that then they would have a duel right here. Teacher Ning Fan asked his students the strongman Li and Shi Feng to immediately clear the stage and prepare everything for their battle with the arrogant teacher. The student looked at all this and thought that as a teacher, Ning Fan dares to let a student fall into such a trap. And this is a shame. Disciple Zhang Tianyang began to be afraid and told Mr. Ning Fan that he could not fight him because he was not at all ready for such a battle. But teacher Ning Fan encouraged the student Zhang Tianyang and asked him not to worry and said that he would help him with everything in battle. And after that, teacher Ning Fan ordered his student Shi Feng to quickly remove his belt and he was very surprised by his request. Disciple Shi Feng asked teacher Ning Fan why he needed his belt and he asked him to quickly remove the belt without asking any questions. Teacher Ning Fan told student Zhang Tianyang that since he cared so much about his right hand, then he could just tie it with a belt. Teacher Ning Fan told student Zhang Tianyang that one hand is enough for him to kill people of this level and he must believe in it. Sun Xiong said that he expected such nonsense from the teacher of Class D and asked teacher Ning Fan what this new strange technique was. A disciple from another group asked Mr. Ning Fan if he was so afraid that he was not merciless enough for this coward without power. Teacher Ning Fan told student Zhang Tianyang that he would now have no problems without his right hand and his mind would be empty. Teacher Ning Fan told student Zhang Tianyang that he believed in him and, slapping him on the back, ordered him to go to the enemy and said that he was not a rival. Student Zhang Tianyang still did not believe in himself and asked teacher Ning Fan if he could really do this without problems. A student from another group began to run to Zhang Tianyang and asked him to stop dreaming now and said that the scum from this group would disappear. A student from another group swung his hand and told Zhang Tianyang that he would never defeat him in his life and now he had nowhere to escape from there. Zhang Tianyang looked at the aggressive student of the other group and he began to think what he should do to stop the attack of this student. And then something happened and teacher Sun Xiong froze in surprise and could not believe his eyes that this could happen there today. The student also looked at the student's fight and thought that she did not at all expect that this could happen in their battle and was now in shock. But teacher Ning Fan stood happy because from the very beginning of their battle he believed in his student and was not at all surprised that this happened. Zhang Tianyang grabbed the hand of this student from the other group with his one hand and he held his hand tightly and did not want to let go of it now. Zhang Tianyang looked at his action and could not believe that he was able to stop the blow of this strong fighter because he was much weaker. A student from another group did not know how this weakling grabbed his hand because he was the weakest student in the weakest group of the school. And then Zhang Tianyang smiled evilly and told the student that before his fist was so strong and he was afraid he would hit him every time. And at that very second, Zhang Tianyang hit this student with all his might and said that now he is very weak and he is no longer afraid of his blows. Teacher Ning Fan was pleased and told student Zhang Tianyang that he did everything right and there is no need to be afraid of him and you just need to knock him out. The student of the other group was lying on the floor and he could no longer move and he completely passed out and now the fight was definitely over between the fighters. Strongman Li couldn't understand if his friend Zhang Tianyang had failed that student from a stronger group and he didn't know that he was so strong. The student said that Zhang Tianyang clearly tied his right hand, and how then did he manage to increase his strength, because it is impossible. The student wondered if the methods of their teacher Ning Fan could really work, because at first she didn't believe in this action at all. Teacher Sun Xiong was speechless and came to his senses and said that how could this happen, because it was simply impossible today. Teacher Ning Fan asked Sun Xiong to stop sulking and asked him to quickly get this weakling out because he still had classes right now. Teacher Sun Xiong called people from his group and asked these students if the two of them really wanted to take their friend out of the group. The students told Teacher Sun Xiong that they understood and now they would immediately take their friend out of this room and bring him to his senses. The students approached their defeated friend and they also thought that their friend was the strongest in school and no one could defeat him. Teacher Sun Xiong was also about to leave this room and thought that he should say something to this scoundrel and this Teacher Fan. Teacher Sun turned around and told Ning Fan that he should just wait and soon they would remember their group and regret it. The students of this group silently looked at Teacher Sun Xiong and knew that the teacher was in despair because he, too, did not even expect this in his dream. And immediately after Teacher Sun Xiong left the room, the students of the group began to clap because they were proud to have such a teacher. Strongman Li told Teacher Ning Fan that they really defeated this class and were happy because they had been annoying them for many years at school. The students told Teacher Ning Fan that it was amazing and their D class had finally shown and they had been waiting for this outcome for a long time. And after that, Teacher Ning Fan began to receive trust points from his students and he did not understand what was going on there and why they were happy. Student Zhang Tianyang said thank you to Teacher Ning Fan for always believing in him and mentoring him during his fight, and that's cool. Teacher Ning Fan asked Zhang Tianyang what he was talking about and it was still early and he would thank him after his arm was healed. Teacher Ning Fan told Zhang Tianyang that when this day comes, his strength will increase much more and none of the fighters will stop him. Disciple Zhang Tianyang told Master Ning Fan that he was right but still thank him for everything he did for him just today. Shi Feng told Teacher Ning Fan that he also had a mental problem and could he look and cure his problem later. Strongman Li was also glad that they had such a teacher and asked him if he could tell him which shoulder he should break to win. But at that moment a student came up to them and told both students to shut up and said that she would now explain how Zhang Tian won. The student said that Zhang Tianyang was originally strong and that is why he could use this method, and can others compare with him? Teacher Ning Fan thought that the student's lips were saying this, but she must also want him to instruct her along with them. Teacher Ning Fan approached the student and asked her to calm down and he said that he teaches with this approach and cures people's illnesses. The student told Teacher Ning Fan that it certainly sounds great, but can he really do it with other students in the group? Teacher Ning Fan asked the student how about he now instruct her so that she understands that he is only telling the truth. Teacher Ning Fan approached the student and asked her not to move and said that she would now see for herself that he did not lie to them at all. Teacher Ning Fan looked at her with his eye skill and learned that she had the skill of summoning power and most of it was in her hair. Teacher Ning Fan thought that her strength was really in her hair and it was strange and understandable that her strength was not as good as others. But then the student distracted Teacher Ning Fan and asked if he had finished looking at her and studying her because she wanted to hear the problem. Teacher Ning Fan asked her to calm down and said that he was finished and could also determine her problem if she really wanted to know. The student asked Teacher Ning Fan what problems she had and she was interested because she herself thought that she had no problems. Teacher Ning Fan told the student that he would tell her about her problem when they were in the training hall and she needed to wait a little while. The student told Teacher Ning Fan that it was great and she really wanted to find out quickly what her problem was and whether the teacher knew about it. And after that, Teacher Ning Fan began to shout and call all the students to the gym so that they could see the phenomenon with their own eyes. Teacher Ning Fan and his students approached the gym and thought that he would try his best to help the students solve her problem. Teacher Ning Fan looked at this room and thought that they were very lucky that there was still no one there and the hall was under their influence. But at that very second, a man began to approach them from behind and ordered all the students and Teacher Ning Fan to stand in the same place. The man said that it was a training room and he did not want them to go there now and said that they were not allowed to open the doors. The man looked straight into the eyes of Teacher Ning Fan and said that now they will come in and he and his group need to wait for them. All the interesting things in the school were happening now in the training hall and Teacher Ning Fan did not want to leave there with his students. Both teachers entered the training room and sorted things out between themselves, and no one wanted to give way to each other, and they argued. It was Chi Fun. He was a novice teacher of Class Shi, and he really didn't want the worthless Group D to be there with them. Teacher Ning Fan told Chi Fun that there was always a line, and maybe his mother didn't teach it, or maybe Teacher Chi is an orphan. Teacher Chi Fun asked Ning Fan, so what if they came first, because they can't even use a regular summoning spell. But a student from Teacher Ning Fan's group began to cast spells, and she easily cast the summoning spell that Chi spoke about. Teacher Chi Fun said that those few students had still mastered basic summoning spells, and he was surprised that they were able to. Teacher Chi Fun told his student Song Yen to let Mr. Ning Fan see the real power so that he could see it in all its glory. Student Song Yen agreed with his teacher and said that he would now quickly cast a spell and all the people in this hall would be surprised. And at that moment, the disciple Song Yang began to cast a spell and asked the disciples of Ning Fan's group to be careful and not faint from this. And then Song Yang created, using a spell, 2 golems which he made from stones and said that it was just fantastic and a miracle. The student realized that Song Yen could actually use a basic summoning spell on 2 stone golkmas, and that was good. Shi Feng told his friend that he remembers how the elder sister summoned this pile of stones for the first time, and it is simply impossible to ever forget. Strong Manly said that he agrees with his friend, and this is the most successful moment of the elder sister. It is only the summoning of pitiful golems. But then the older sister came running to them and told them all to shut up and said that she didn't want them to remember this anymore. Teacher Chi Fun smiled and told Teacher Ning Fan that now it was his student's turn to show what the student was capable of. Ning Fan told the student that using her blood was too much for them and she should use her hair, and that's cool too. Chi Fun laughed and said that about hair it's just a joke, and even the stupidest know that only blood can be a conductor of strength. Disciple Song Yang said that it was normal for Mr. Ning Fan to do such strange things that never work, and it was a shame. Teacher Ning Fan asked his student not to listen to them and said that she should only do what Ning tells him and nothing more. The student agreed with her teacher and said that she would try her best not to let her faithful teacher down. The student closed her eyes, and after that she pulled out one of her hairs and realized that she had to trust the teacher, and then everything would work out. After this, the student began to cast magic on this hair of hers, and something began to work out for her, and her hair began to shine with a very bright glow. And at that moment there was a huge roar in this hall, and all the people froze in surprise and thought what this girl had just done. And at that very second, suddenly a very huge stone golem appeared in front of them in this hall, and he was just a perfect creature. Teacher Chi Fun looked at this huge stone golem and could not understand what this student had just done and how this was possible. The student's huge stone golem stood next to Song Yan's golem, and the student also could not understand where this student had so much strength. The student herself was shocked and asked Teacher Ning Fan if she really called him. She turned out to be just perfect. The teacher pinched Song Yan and he asked him what he was doing, and the teacher said that was it really true, or was he just having such a dream? Zhang Tianyang stood next to the student and clapped his friend because no one believed in her, but she was able to surprise all these people in the hall. The student looked at the huge stone golem and thought that nothing was impossible in this life and you need to believe in yourself. Teacher Chi Fun told his student Song Yang that there really were 3 perfect golems standing there, and how could this be, because it's a miracle. Teacher Ning Fan told the student that it seems that Mr. Chi Fun simply does not believe his eyes because he underestimated their strength from the very beginning. Teacher Ning Fan told the student to make sure that Chi Fun felt the perfect golem on himself and believed that it was true. The student thought that Teacher Ning Fan told her the right things, and these people laughed at her in the beginning and now they did not move. The student smiled and told Teacher Ning Fan that she understood the teacher perfectly and would do everything as he said, and they would now receive. The student immediately began to move her fingers and immediately ordered her stone golems to attack the monsters that Song Yang had made. And at that same second, 3 huge stone golems began to quickly run towards the Song Yan monsters to deal with the monsters. Song Yan's stone golems stood in fear and realized that they could not do anything with such a huge monster, and their fate was sealed. And after one blow, the student's stone golems dealt with those Song Yan monsters and did not give them even a single chance to defeat them. Song Yan looked at this and tears involuntarily rolled out of his eyes because he thought that he could perform magic perfectly, but this turned out not to be the case. Teacher Ning Fan asked Chi Fun if he wanted to try again and said that he wouldn't mind trying the mega kill on him a couple more times. Teacher Chi Fun could not respond to Ning Fan's words and realized that he never thought that hair could increase her strength. Teacher Chi Fun looked at the student and wondered how Ning Fan could find out that such a huge and boundless power lies in her hair. Teacher Ning Fan approached the student and asked if she would now obey him and asked if he was right that she was a very strong fighter. Disciple Ting Wei told Teacher Ning Fan that it was boring and she did not want to listen to him, and he received trust points from Disciple Ting. Teacher Chi Fun asked Ning Fan what if he helped her develop then, and now he probably won't be able to use summon magic. Teacher Ning Fan asked Mr. Chi Fun if he could be the first to introduce him to what he can do because he wants to look at it. Teacher Chi Fun asked Ning Fan to stop talking nonsense and said that he would now show him what he was capable of and he would be surprised by it. Teacher Chi Fun made a small cut on his finger and said that now the fun will begin and they should be ready. And then there was a huge roar in the training hall and everything there was covered in dust and everyone was waiting for what this Teacher Chi Fun would show them. And then a lot of stone golems appeared in the hall and Teacher Chi Fun made them all, and he was glad that everything worked out for him there. Teacher Chi Fun told Ning Fan that with a basic spell he could summon an army of golems and it was not difficult for him at all. Chi Fun told Disciple Ting Wei that she should join them in the group, and Ning Fan asked if that was all he could do. And at that moment, Ning Fan's teacher told Chi Fun that he had made him wait in vain and immediately created a huge and evil golem. Disciple Ting Wei froze in surprise and was in shock, and she could not expect that Teacher Ning Fan was so strong and created a monster. Shi Feng and Strongmanly also thought that it was a beautiful stone golem that their respected teacher created, and it was wonderful. Teacher Chi Fun also opened his mouth and couldn't believe that Teacher Ning Fan was such a talent and how he was able to develop in a short time. Teacher Ning Fan smiled and thought that he really liked it when people underestimated him and then couldn't believe in his strength. Teacher Ning Fan ordered his huge golem to remove all these broken tiles and clear this hall of all stone debris. Teacher Chi Fun and his student Song Yang began to scream and thought that they were in vain challenging such a master as Ning Fan, and this was a mistake. After a couple of minutes, Song Yan's stone golems simply stood there and now showed no signs of life and did not move there anymore. Teacher Ning Fan sat on the head of Teacher Chi Fun's stone golem and thought about how else he could help his students develop. Teacher Chi Fun stood next to Ning Fan and told him to wait and said that very soon he would remember his group and regret it. Teacher Ning Fan thought that it was strange and why did Chi Fun's phrase seem familiar to him, but he couldn't remember who said it. Ning Fan's students approached the teacher and asked him to simply accept their respectful respect, and they were glad that he defeated Chi Fun. Ning Fan's students bowed to the teacher and said that now they were convinced that he was a master, and the teacher received trust points from the students. The system informed Ning Fan that he had accumulated 100 trust points, and she congratulated the owner now on the new skill of worshipping the master. This power lies in the fact that whoever the master uses this skill on, he will unwittingly perform this action without delay. Teacher Ning Fan was surprised and thought that this really was such a power and he should test this skill on some living person. And then the student Ting Wei approached the students and asked how long they still wanted to bow and said that the two of them could be even better. Teacher Ning Fan thought that student Ting Wei had a very stubborn mouth and decided that he would use this skill on her and look at her. Teacher Ning Fan sent rays to his student and the system told the master that he had activated the skill of worshipping the master on Ting Wei. Ting Wei at this time told the students that the two of them could continue to bow to the teacher, but she leaves from there and does not want to look at it. But suddenly, after using the skill, student Ting Wei could not leave there and she herself, unwillingly, approached the students. And a second later, the student Ting Wei fell next to the students and she also began to bow to Teacher Ning Fan for being so strong. The students thought, is this really called a not bowing, and was this skill better than theirs, and they didn't expect this from Sister Ting Wei. The students thought that they did not know that the elder sister was such a treacherous woman and she knew how to please Teacher Fang. Teacher Ning Fan thought that Ting Wei's student really bowed, but he was interested in the likelihood that this would happen. Teacher Ning Fan approached the students of his group and said that they should no longer bow and he was not such a vulgar person at all. But Teacher Ning Fan used the skill of worshipping Master Ning on his student Zhang Tianyan and sent his rays towards him. And then the student Zhang Tianyang began to approach the other students against his will and he did not know what was happening to him there now. Zhang Tianyang thought that it was very strange and he could not control his limbs there and stop, and it was magic. Zhang Tianyang fell to the ground after a couple of seconds and realized that he would now do the same as all the students in his group, and this was inevitable. And then the student Zhang Tianyang also fell next to the students and bowed to teacher Ning Fan for being such a wise and powerful type. Shifeng and Strongmanly couldn't believe it and said that it was a very graceful bow, and from this light they couldn't even open their eyes. Teacher Ning Fan thought that, however, only one student was standing aside and she must be so lonely right now, and he didn't want that. The student looked at teacher Ning Fan and thought that she did not want to join the students at all and she needed to leave quickly. The student thought that she would not worship teacher Ning Fan if she lay on the ground, and she did so in order not to do this. Strongmanly was very angry and thought that her method was even better than that of elder sister Ting Wei, and she wanted to please teacher Fang. Teacher Ning Fan did not think long and immediately used the skill of bowing to the master to Gu Shuiwei so that she would also bow to him. And then the student Gu Shuiwei began to approach all the students, and she realized that her method did not help her at all and she was doomed. Disciple Gu Shuiwei continued to move towards them, and she also bowed to Master Ning Fan at the same time, and she also saluted his strength. The disciples Strongmanly and Shifeng were furious and said that the disciple Gu Shuiwei lay down in advance to bow hard, but how did it happen? Teacher Ning Fan told the students that they were being so kind, but it was not necessary and he didn't want them to do it. Teacher Ning Fan told the students that when they are near him they can relax because he will never deceive his students. At this time, there was a showdown in Sun Xiong's class office, and he was very angry about the event that happened this morning. Teacher Sun Xiong hit the table with his fist with all his might, and he could not forget that event, and he wanted to quickly take revenge on the scoundrel Ning. Teacher Sun Xiong said that he wants to kill teacher Ning Fan for so brazenly humiliating his group in front of all the students. And at that moment, teacher Chifan came into the room and he was surprised, and he heard that teacher Sun Xiong was saying bad things about Ning Fan. Teacher Chifan wondered if Sun Xiong had also gotten it from Ning Fan because he was sitting on the table and couldn't just calm down in the morning. Teacher Chifan asked Sun Xiong why don't they unite and together they can defeat this scoundrel Ning Fan forever. The teachers sat in their office and discussed a plan on how they could together get rid of the one who constantly humiliated both of these teachers. Teacher Sun Xiong told Chifan that this Ning Fan was such an arrogant person after all, and now he just hates him. Teacher Chifan told Sun Xiong that he was right and he is still arrogant as a Class D teacher, and it was arrogant. Teacher Sun Xiong stood up and asked Chifan if he could tolerate this madness because the two of them did not deserve such treatment. Teacher Chifan told Sun Xiong that how can he tolerate such impudence, and he must take revenge for this enmity and Ning Fan will pay. But Teacher Chifan told Sun Xiong that it looks like Ning Fan has regained some of his strength, so it won't be so easy to humiliate him. Teacher Sun Xiong told Chifan that everything was fine and it would not be easy for Ning Fan to fully recover from these battles. Teacher Chifan asked Sun Xiong what he meant, and he wanted to hear from his friend a plan to eliminate him as soon as possible. Teacher Sun Xiong told Chifan that today they would do it, and he said everything correctly, and at that time a student from another group heard them. The girl thought that poor Ning Fan doesn't even suspect that these teachers are now thinking through a plan to destroy him, and this is bad. After a hard day at work, teacher Ning Fan was returning home and he thought that so many interesting events had happened that day. Teacher Ning Fan walked on the street and thought that he liked it, that today he established relationships with his students and they respected him. Ning Fan thought that this crazy teacher system was so powerful and it could change the student's strength in one day, and that was good. Ning Fan thought that it would be cool if his strength also increased, and then he was met by teacher Chifan and Sun Xiong and they met him. Teacher Ning Fan asked these teachers why they were waiting for him there, and maybe they wanted to invite him to dinner and sit as friends. Teacher Chifan and Sun Xiong were angry with Ning Fan and said that he misunderstood them and neither of them invited them to dinner. But teacher Sun Xiong told Ning Fan that he was not mistaken and they want to invite him to eat something and think that he will really like it. Teacher Chifan told Ning Fan that they would immediately feed him with their fists and were not sure that he would be able to digest them quickly. Ning Fan told the teachers that he understood their indignation and asked if they were against fighting in a place where everyone walked there. Teacher Sun Xiong asked Ning Fan that what was the difference, and no one was keeping him in this school and it would be better if he left there himself. Teacher Chi-fan asked Ning Fan not to blame them for the cruelty and said that he could only blame himself for not understanding them in the situation. Teacher Ning Fan was not at all afraid of these gentlemen and said that he understood them and said that he would ask them one last question at the end. Ning Fan asked teachers Chi-fan and Sun Xiong that the two of them really think that they can defeat him and are so confident of victory. Teacher Sun Xiong got angry and tore his clothes, told Ning Fan not to be so arrogant and said that he would be very sorry. Teacher Chi-fan asked Ning Fan how about defeating him in basic summoning and let him experience his true summoning power. Teacher Ning Fan at this time thought, can't he just use the skill of worshipping Mr. on teachers, and this is an idea. The teachers told Ning Fan that he was about to die and Ning activated the skill of worshipping the master on these teachers Sun Xiong and Chi-fan. And at the same second immediately after that, all the teachers immediately stopped and bowed to Ning Fan and no longer wanted to attack their opponent. The teachers continued to worship teacher Ning Fan and they could not understand what was happening to them and why they could not attack Ning. Teachers Chi-fan and Sun Xiong began to scream and asked what was happening to them at this time and why they could not get up from their seats. The girl ran to teacher Ning Fan and thought that it seemed like she couldn't leave him alone and she hoped that she wasn't too late. And then the girl noticed that all the teachers were bowing to teacher Ning Fan and she did not understand why they did this and now did not attack him. And immediately the girl realized that it looked like she had thought too much and she shouldn't have worried so much because he had already dealt with the teachers himself. Ning Fan smiled and asked teachers Chi-fan and Sun Xiong whether they would continue to fight or whether they would continue to bow at his feet. Teacher Sun Xiong told Ning Fan that they would finish him off anyway and now nothing would help him and they would get out of his skill. Teacher Chi-fan immediately took a knife and made a small cut on his finger and said that now Ning Fan will know that he made a mistake. Teacher Chi-fan told Ning Fan that they would not be human if they did not destroy him and would make every effort only for this action. Ning Fan told the teachers that they were saying everything correctly and they now had the right attitude and he was glad that they had already made conclusions. Teacher Chi-fan ordered Teacher Sun to summon his army of giant stone golems to get rid of this enemy once and for all. Master Sun Xiong said that he had to see if the stone golem army could defeat the two Chi brothers and his golem army. Teacher Ning Fan said that he didn't even intend to use this initial summoning skill and still didn't want to use it. Ning Fan told the teachers that he would defeat them using his most skillful tactics, which they all might not even know about. And at that moment, immediately after these words, teacher Ning Fan began to glow with all his might and Chi-fan and Sun Xiong could not understand what he was using. Teacher Sun Xiong closed his eyes and thought that it was a very bright glow and he couldn't even just look at this glow. Teacher Sun Xiong thought that this was the strange skill that Ning Fan was using now, and they had truly never seen such a thing. Teacher Ning Fan told the teachers that his most dominant call was approaching and they would now see it and be very scared. Teacher Ning Fan said that his dominant does not need any force guides and can exist independently without help. And then suddenly someone's hand began to appear from underground and all the teachers were very scared by this hand and thought who it could be. And a couple of seconds later, Death with a scythe appeared in front of the teachers and she looked straight into the eyes of those who now wanted to harm Fan. Teacher Chi-fan was very scared and thought what was this very tense feeling that he was experiencing and it was so strange. Teacher Ning Fan said that they would now start all the fun and simply snapped his fingers and said that they themselves were to blame for all this. And then teacher Sun Xiong's monster began to attack Ning Fan's monster and he hoped that his huge monster would destroy his opponent. But then, when no one expected it, Death with a scythe finished off the huge monster of teacher Sun Xiong with one stroke and it was easy. Teacher Sun Xiong could not understand how he could defeat the monster Ning Fan because nothing affected him and he was confused. But then Ning Fan began to approach teacher Sun Xiong and asked where he was looking now and swung with all his might to prepare a strike. And then Ning Fan dealt a powerful blow to the stomach of teacher Sun Xiong and told him that he should never be distracted from him during a fight. Teacher Sun Xiong screamed with all his might and was in great pain, and it was indeed a very strong blow from such an experienced fighter. Ning Fan told teacher Sun Xiong that his opponent was him and it was not he and teacher Chi-fan who came there to finish him off there. The next day at school everyone was discussing the news that yesterday the teachers of their school met with some robber and regretted. In the office of Class D, the students discussed this news and said that for them it was a very funny story and they were glad that it happened. The students said did they hear that teacher Sun Xiong and Chi Fun were injured and now both of them are in the hospital and are lying there. Strongman Li told his friend that he heard that these teachers were simply duped and they didn't even have a chance to see what a bandit looked like. And at that time, teacher Ning Fan came into the room and said good morning to all his students and wished that the day would be just as good. The strong disciples Li and Shifeng said good morning to teacher Ning and they were glad to see their respected and very strong teacher again. Zhang Tianyang also sat in the corner and said good morning to teacher Ning Fan and he was also happy to see him there and waited for the teacher's lesson to start. Ting Wei's student said that the morning was not at all good and that this annoying and harmful teacher Ning Fan found a good year in it. And student Gu Shuiwei just sat silently in class and didn't say a word to anyone and she felt good when no one was next to her. Teacher Ning Fan picked up the magazine and told the students that before starting the lesson they would take a roll call of who was in his lesson. Teacher Ning Fan held a roll call and all his students were in class, but one student was missing and he wondered why he was not there. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Zhang Tianyang if Chu Fun didn't come to class and why he didn't know this student well. Student Zhang Tianyang told the teacher that Chu Fun had not come to class for a month and he did not know the exact reason for his absences. Teacher Ning Fan said that then they would start the lesson and asked all the students who he should help today in developing their skills. The first students to raise their hands were Shifeng and the strongmanly, and they really wanted the teacher to help, but Gu Shuiwei also said that she wanted it. Teacher Ning Fan was happy and he immediately ran up to the student Gu Shuiwei and said that it was great and asked where she wanted to start. But Gu Shuiwei told teacher Ning Fan that she was not feeling very well and asked if she could go to the school's medical center now. Teacher Ning Fan first thought that student Gu Shuiwei also wanted to develop skills, but this was not the case and he allowed her to go there. Teacher Ning Fan began to think what was going on with his student Gu Shuiwei and how she felt and whether everything was okay with her. Disciple Shifeng and Strongmanly approached teacher Ning Fan and asked if they could continue because they wanted to become stronger than before. But teacher Ning Fan began to go to the door and told the students that for now they could study on their own and he would go and take a little walk there. Students Strongmanly and Shifeng thought what happened to teacher Ning Fan because his mood dropped so sharply and what influenced it. Teacher Ning Fan at this time went to the medical center to see if everything was fine with student Gu Shuiwei and what was her problem. Teacher Ning Fan walked up to the first aid station and wondered if his student was actually there and he should go into this room for this. And then teacher Ning Fan noticed that his student Gu Shuiwei was really standing in this first aid station and he wanted to ask her a few questions. The student stood behind the screen and told the teacher that he could enter there if he thought he needed it and she was not at all against it. Teacher Ning Fan thought was this normal and why did she just call him there and she clearly confused him with someone else. The student said that it was a very difficult decision and the teacher should hurry up before she was brave and then changed her mind. Teacher Ning Fan thought that student Gu Shuiwei respected him very much because he treated her very well and completely trusted the student. Teacher Ning Fan thought that he needed to use the master's eye skill to find out the real problem of his student Gu Shuiwei. But at that moment a doctor appeared in front of teacher Ning Fan with a very large syringe in his hands and asked the teacher what he was doing there. It was Dr. Li Qiao and she asked teacher Ning Fan why he came there and what he wanted to do with this cute student. And then teacher Ning Fan started taking pictures of student Gu Shuiwei and told Dr. Li Qiao that he was her teacher and he was a good person. They both took pictures of Gu Shuiwei as a nurse and said that this cosplay was perfect, but Gu Su secretly found herself another teacher. Dr. Li Qiao told student Gu Shuiwei that she had already taken enough photos and she could change back and come back. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Gu Shuiwei to remember to call him next time and he would prepare a few more outfits for her. Student Gu Shuiwei told Mr. Ning Fan that she was fine and asked her to go back to class and start the lesson and not be distracted. Dr. Li Qiao told teacher Ning Fan that if he could not teach her then he could bring her to teach the student. Dr. Li Qiao told Ning Fan that Gu Shuiwei's awakening rate is really low, so she can only train to become a doctor. Teacher Ning Fan asked Dr. Li if she really wanted to say that he could not teach and because of this he would show her his skills. And then teacher Ning Fan activated the ability of the master's eye on Gu Shuiwei and she had an unusual body and it was very rare. Gu Shuiwei can use a tenth of the magic of all ordinary people and is fast in casting high-level spells and magics. The system reported that Gu Shuiwei's body was unusual and she was also a spy for the Alliance of Special Abilities of the Divine Spirit. Ning Fan thought about this alliance, and wasn't their motto that controlled world of special abilities was not the second team? Dr. Li Qiao looked at teacher Ning Fan and asked him if he found anything interesting in a student like Gu Shuiwei. But suddenly teacher Ning Fan said that Gu Shuiwei was indeed a magical genius, but Dr. Li did not believe in the teacher's words at all. Student Gu Shuiwei heard these words and was shocked and asked the teacher if she was a genius because she herself had never thought about it. Dr. Li Qiao asked Ning Fan which Gu Shuiwei is a genius and she can't even use the very basics of healing magic. Dr. Li Qiao said that she doesn't want to be sarcastic, but Gu Shuiwei is the worst student she has taught so far. Ning Fan told Dr. Li that she doesn't understand and Gu Shuiwei is a genius in using destruction magic and not ordinary magic like everyone else. Dr. Li Qiao told Ning Fan that he was saying something unheard of and that practicing destruction magic was 10 times more difficult than healing magic. Dr. Li Qiao said that Gu Shuiwei's magic is lower than ordinary people and therefore she will never be able to use this destruction magic. Teacher Ning Fan asked Gu Shuiwei if she had used destruction magic before, but the student said that she was unfamiliar with it. Teacher Ning Fan patted student Gu Shuiwei on the head, congratulated her and said that she was now a magician of destruction and she was clearly a genius. Dr. Li Qiao asked Ning Fan to stop communicating with himself and said that she saw that he had no right to teach Gu Xiu. But student Gu Shuiwei asked Dr. Li Qiao to wait and she said that she wanted to trust Mr. Ning Fan and he was right. Dr. Li Qiao told student Gu Shuiwei that it was not at all difficult for her to teach her and they could continue to develop skills together. But at that very second a student appeared in the office and immediately asked for forgiveness from Dr. Li Qiao for disturbing her again. Dr. Li Qiao asked the student what happened to her and whether she had a fever and was this really the 5th time? Dr. Li Qiao told the student that her healing magic should have healed her long ago, but for some reason she still felt bad. Teacher Ning Fan heard this and thought, is it possible that healing magic cannot cure ordinary fever, and it was very strange. Ning Fan activated the master's eye on the student Zhang Qin and Dr. Li again tried to cure her with the help of a bright shining light. But teacher Ning Fan asked Dr. Li Qiao to continue and he said that she could not cure her and he would explain his guess to her. At this time, at the first aid station, Dr. Li Qiao started yelling at teacher Ning Fan and asked what he knew about medicine and whether he was really that smart. Dr. Li Qiao asked teacher Ning Fan what right he has to say that she cannot cure this sick student. Teacher Ning Fan told Dr. Li Qiao that he would easily explain this to her and said that he said this because the student is not even sick now. Disciple Zhang Qin asked teacher Ning Fan if she wasn't sick, but why did she feel so bad for many days? Dr. Li Qiao started shouting at teacher Ning Fan and asked whether the student was sick or not, and he says this to such an experienced doctor. Teacher Ning Fan told Dr. Li Qiao that there are some things that she really can never tell apart. Teacher Ning Fan asked the student if she had encountered the problem before and realized that her percentage of awakening had not increased. The student agreed with teacher Ning Fan and he told Bingo that he was right in his guesses and his logic works better than ever. Teacher Ning Fan immediately grabbed the doctor's coat and said that he would do everything possible to explain the lady's problem in detail. Teacher Ning Fan put on a robe and said that the student need not panic and it was not at all a terrible diagnosis as in the beginning. Teacher Ning Fan put on medical gloves and said that the reason for her fever was that the student's spiritual fire had already begun to awaken. Teacher Ning Fan told Dr. Li Qiao that her healing methods were stopping the awakening of the spiritual fire within this student. Dr. Li Qiao could not believe the words of teacher Ning Fan and she thought that she was doing everything right and helping student Zhang. Disciple Zhang understood what the real problem was and student Gu Shuiwei was surprised at teacher Ning Fan's knowledge even in this medicine. Student Zhang asked teacher Ning Fan what she could do about this problem and whether it could be eliminated or if it was already over. Teacher Ning Fan asked the student not to worry and said that he could fix it now, but she should not be afraid of him. Tears involuntarily rolled down from the student's eyes and she asked teacher Ning Fan to help her because it was already difficult for her to live with this disease. Teacher Ning Fan patted the student on the head and said that it was just trifles and he would instantly help her fix this minor problem. Dr. Li Qiao told teacher Ning Fan that she should look at what he would do and how he would help the student. Teacher Ning Fan smiled and told Dr. Li Qiao that then he would give her a free lesson and she could watch him and learn. But after that, they all came to the school cafeteria together and Ning Fan asked everyone to just trust him and said that he knows what it is. They chose food in the cafeteria and sat down to try this tasty and healthy school food, but everyone did not understand how it would help them. They all sat together and ate the food and said that it was very tasty and they did not think that food in the dining room could be so tasty. And at that moment, Dr. Li Qiao began to burn her mouth and she asked Teacher Ning Fan why they eat such hot and spicy food there. Teacher Ning Fan asked Dr. Li Qiao not to be so polite now and asked her to just silently eat the delicious food. Student Gu Shuiwei told Dr. Li Qiao that Mr. Ning Fan told them that he would use this method to awaken her fire within. Dr. Li Qiao asked if ordinary hot food could awaken her, and then a strange thing began to happen to Student Zhao. And then suddenly Student Jang soared into the air and she began to glow very brightly and thick smoke came out of her and it was so strange. Dr. Li Qiao was shocked to see what was happening to Student Zhang and asked what was happening and was Ning Fan really right? And then flames began to come out of Student Zhang's hands and she immediately, without delay, told Teacher Ning Fan that her strength had already increased. But Teacher Ning Fan said that what a pity this is, because Disciple Zhang's awakening only increased by 5% and that's so little. But Student Zhang was very happy and told Teacher Ning Fan a huge thank you and that was enough for her and she was delighted. The student quickly ran from there and told the teacher that she would use this method to continue awakening her power. Dr. Li Qiao couldn't believe it and asked how it was possible and how she easily developed her powers in this cafeteria. Teacher Ning Fan looked at Dr. Li Qiao and asked her if she believed him now that he told her the truth and never lied. But Dr. Li Qiao was furious and told Teacher Ning Fan that he was just lucky and she still doesn't believe a single word he said. Teacher Ning Fan told Dr. Li Qiao that it's okay if she doesn't believe and he really needs only his students to believe in him. Teacher Ning Fan told student Gu Shuiwei that she had now seen what he could do and how he could help other students in schools. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Gu Shuiwei to go from there and said that he would open the door to a new world for her if she herself allowed him to do so. Student Gu Shuiwei thought and told Teacher Ning Fan that she agreed to his proposal and was now very interested. After that, Teacher Ning Fan and Gu Shuiwei came together to the training place where many students were already training with all their might. Disciple Gu Shuiwei looked around and did not understand why Teacher Ning Fan brought her to the training place and what he wanted. And at that very second, some guy came up to him and told them that Mr. Ning Fan himself had really come there to watch them. But Teacher Ning Fan was not happy to meet this person and asked Gu Shuiwei if she had heard some kind of dog barking in this hall. And after these words from Teacher Ning Fan, the guy got very angry and he thought that he had humiliated him in front of all the students of the school and that was rude. The guy told them to quickly leave there and said that this training place was for mages of destruction and said that they were not welcome there. Teacher Ning Fan pointed to student Gu Shuiwei and asked the guy what about her because she had great potential and hidden talent. Teacher Ning Fan asked the guy if he was really afraid that he would destroy this place and create such a mess there that they wouldn't be able to handle it. But after these words the guy started laughing and said that it was very funny and it's good that he appeared there to joke. The student said that this Gu Shuiwei does not even know how to use ordinary healing magic and came there for the sake of destruction magic. The student said that Gu Shuiwei was funny and had a very crazy teacher and the student also followed in the footsteps of his teacher. Teacher Ning Fan became very angry at these words and told everyone there that they could insult him but his students should always be respected. The students hugged each other and began to cry, laughing at the words of her teacher and saying that they felt very strange after the menacing words. Student Gu Shuiwei asked the teacher if she could really do this alone without the help of her teacher Ning Fan. Teacher Ning Fan told student Gu Shuiwei that she can do anything but she must always believe in her teacher. And then teacher Ning Fan asked student Gu Shuiwei to come closer to him and whispered a few words in her ear and she listened to the teacher. After this, teacher Ning Fan asked student Gu Shuiwei if she remembered everything and she told the teacher that she remembered all the words. The guy asked Ning Fan not to worry and said that he had a little sister and she could make the first move in this battle. The guy said that her skills in using middle-class magic are less than the possibility of him being struck by lightning there. But then suddenly the guy looked at the student Gu Shuiwei and froze in surprise because he clearly did not expect to see what he just saw. Gu Shuiwei stood right in front of him and she began to gather all her energy into a single hole to strike this guy from the hall. Gu Shuiwei thought that all these students had clearly underestimated her and this would be their big mistake and soon they would beg them for help. And a couple of seconds after Gu Shuiwei collected all the energy, she directed them towards all the students who were standing in the hall. And then there was a huge roar and green and very bright lightning struck everywhere and it destroyed everything that was in this room. The guy looked at Gu Shuiwei's actions and was speechless and almost went crazy because he realized that he was wrong and she was very strong. The guy told teacher Ning Fan that it was impossible and how was this weak student Gu Shuiwei able to hit them with such lightning. The guy told Ning Fan's teacher that the percentage of her awakening was even less than 10% and how she uses such magic. Teacher Ning Fan asked all the people if they really only looked at the percentage of awakening because it was not an indicator of a fighter's strength. Teacher Ning Fan said that the value of his students is not determined by these boring numbers because they already have hidden potential. Gu Shuiwei was very happy to hear such words from her teacher Ning Fan and today he helped her a lot and revealed the hidden powers in her. The guy got angry and told Ning Fan that his value had already been determined long ago and he and his students were not even worth 1 copper coin. Teacher Ning Fan told the guy that he himself is the one who has been under his foot all this time and no one cares about such a person. The guy was furious and told teacher Ning Fan that he would now punch him in the face and then see how he would be so rude to him there. The guy boldly told teacher Ning Fan that even if he was punished today, he would still fight him and shut his mouth forever. Teacher Ning Fan realized that this guy thought that he was the coolest fighter there and he loves to give such guys life lessons. Teacher Ning Fan told the guy that if he was so confident in himself then he should try to beat him, otherwise he is just a talker and a liar. Teacher Ning Fan just wanted to approach this impudent guy, but student Gu Shuiwei reached out to him on the back and asked him to wait for her. Gu Shuiwei asked Mr. Ning Fan to just go back and not make trouble in this place and just leave from there silently. Teacher Ning Fan patted student Gu Shuiwei on the head and said that she was his best student and that she was also wise. But teacher Ning Fan told the student that as a teacher, he must fight back if his student was insulted and this was his personal code. Teacher Ning Fan began to approach this guy and told student Gu Shuiwei that everything was fine and she didn't have to worry about him. Teacher Ning Fan realized that the teacher's crazy system helped them increase their strength, but he also recovered a little during this time. Teacher Ning Fan thought that this should be enough for him to fight them now and teach them a great lesson in life. Teacher Ning Fan called this guy to him with his finger, which upset this guy and said that he was waiting for this impudent person to come to him. Teacher Ning Fan asked him just not to tell him that he was intimidating him and he could really launch his attack first in this battle. The guy began to cast a spell and told Ning Fan that she would make him immediately regret what he just told him and answer for his words. The guy used 5th level lightning magic and sent an electric attack and a powerful lightning charge towards Ning. Ning Fan just silently looked at this fighter's attack and thought that they were really strong, but this was an easy attack for such a master. Teacher Ning Fan told the fighter that he thought that there would be something powerful but as always his wait was in vain and he was disappointed in him. And at that moment, teacher Ning Fan simply put a ball in front of him that did not allow any rays to reach the teacher and protected. The fighter was very surprised by this and thought that teacher Ning Fan was a very experienced fighter and knew how to immediately activate such protection. Teacher Ning Fan thought that it looks like he overestimated his opponent and underestimated the system and his strength does not end there and that's good. Teacher Ning Fan defended himself from all his opponent's attacks and said that he would now take it out on him in full and now it was his turn to attack him. And then teacher Ning Fan began to conjure lightning. The ion immediately began to glow and it looked fantastic and he looked like a hero. Ning Fan's teacher told his opponent that it was lightning magic, but only at the 8th level and was much stronger than his enemy's attack. Teacher Ning Fan smiled and told his opponent that this was the real wrath of thunder and he could watch it and learn from it. The fighter looked at all this and thought how this was possible and why he didn't understand that teacher Ning Fan was also very strong and challenged. Student Gu Shuiwei was worried about the teacher and asked him to be careful with this attack that he wanted to inflict on the enemy now. Teacher Ning Fan used the lightning flash skill and said that now he would direct an attack towards the fighter and check his defense. The fighter froze in surprise and no longer knew what he could do and how he could defend himself from such an attack, and realized that he was mistaken and this was the end. And then teacher Ning Fan sent a lot of lightning towards the opponent and they all hit this fighter, and he could not defend himself from his attack. The fighter lay on the ground and could no longer even get up because he received enormous damage, and the battle was over and Ning Fan won there. Ning Fan realized that this was great and he returned most of his power back, and from now on he will always update the system. Teacher Ning Fan looked at the other fighters and ordered them to get out of there right away along with the fighter whom he had just defeated. The fighters told teacher Ning Fan that they understood him, and immediately they took their friend in their arms and dragged him with them to the hospital. Teacher Ning Fan told student Gu Shuiwei that from now on no one would even be able to bully her when her teacher Ning was next to her. Student Gu Shuiwei told Mr. Ning Fan that she wanted to ask him something and would be glad if he would answer her question now. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Gu Shuiwei what was wrong and what happened, because she could calmly ask the teacher anything. Student Gu Shuiwei asked Mr. Ning Fan if she would be as strong as him because it was incredible how he defeated the fighters. But teacher Ning Fan told student Gu Shuiwei that of course she would not be as strong as him, and he would explain to her why this was so. Teacher Ning Fan told student Gu Shuiwei that the fact is that his students should be stronger than him, and he sincerely wanted this. Teacher Ning Fan wanted to continue his motivational speech, but at that moment Gu Shuiwei turned away from him and he did not understand what it was. Student Gu Shuiwei took off her glasses and just stood silently in this place and did not want to turn to teacher Ning Fan and was ashamed. And then a notification appeared in Ning Fan's system that he had received trust points from student Gu Shuiwei, and she already believed in teacher Ning. Teacher Ning Fan approached her and saw that Gu Shuiwei was crying, and she told him that this is the first time that someone believes in her so much. Ning Fan told student Gu Shuiwei that the teacher wants to tell her something now and she should listen to him and not interrupt now. And teacher Ning Fan told student Gu Shuiwei that she was really cute when she didn't wear glasses and anyone could fall in love with her. Student Gu Shuiwei started laughing and told teacher Ning Fan that he could make anyone laugh if he wanted to. Teacher Ning Fan asked the student to stop crying and said that it was time for them to go because their lesson had not yet ended, and they left from there. At this time, in the Group D office, all the students were still sitting in their places and waiting for their faithful teacher Ning Fan to return. The student said that a lot of time has already passed and why Mr. Ning Fan has not returned yet, and maybe something happened to him. Shifeng told his friend the strongmanly that he was saying everything correctly and teacher Ning Fan must have gone there to look for student Gu Shuiwei. The student said that they should still look at their older sister when talking about appearance because she was the standard of beauty. The student asked two students to stop talking nonsense and said that they better sit down and do their homework. Ting Wei told the students that at least they had good eyesight, and this made her happy because they could see anything and anywhere. And at that very second, teacher Ning Fan appeared in the classroom along with this student Gu Shuiwei and said that they had returned and were glad to meet. Strongmanly and Shifeng quickly ran to the teacher and said that they had already begun to worry and it was good that he returned to class safe. And then the strongmanly and Shifeng saw how the student Gu Shuiwei had changed and she became so cute without glasses, but they had not seen this before. The student said that it was so cute and it seems that they just unwittingly fell in love with one very beautiful and sweet lady. But immediately after these words, student Ting Wei appeared behind the students and the students immediately fell silent after that and stood quietly in the classroom. But the student Ting Wei began to shout at the students and asked both of them if they really wanted their death from her strong and tough fists. But at this time, the student Zhang Tianyang was quietly standing next to Gu Shuiwei and she slowly began to approach him to talk to the student. Gu Shuiwei approached Zhang Tianyang and said hi to him, and he was also happy to meet her, but they were embarrassed because they were both shy. Teacher Ning Fan looked at student Zhang Tianyang and student Gu Shuiwei and was glad that they finally started communicating and were not sitting there. At this time, the fighter ran into the director's office and told Director Ma that he should help him because recently an obvious disaster had happened. The fighter who was struck by lightning by teacher Ning Fan stood next to him in that director's office and asked him to look at what Ning had done to him. Director Ma Dashan thought, is it really Ning Fan again, and maybe he has regained his strength because he was not so arrogant before. The fighter said that he simply hated teacher Ning Fan and asked Director Ma Dashan to take some measures against this insolent. Director Ma Dashan asked the fighter not to worry and said that even if he regained his strength, he would not allow him to rise there. Director Ma Dashan told the fighter that Ning Fan and his students would leave Xian Sha Academy without a doubt, and he was completely sure of it. The next day, an important message was made at Xian Sha Academy and all groups had to go down and look at the school's news. The students and the teacher of Group D quickly went down and went outside and decided to check the place where all the important news from the academy was hanging. The ad stated that their academy had made investments and if there were less than 7 people in the group, they would be expelled. Zhang Tianyang read this ad and thought what kind of stupid news and some strange investments it was, and it was a scam. Ting Wei told Zhang Tianyan that only their class does not meet this requirement in the entire Xian Sha Academy, and this is very strange. Teacher Ning Fan read this announcement and immediately picked it up and thought that Principal Ma Dashan and other people were clearly bullying. Teacher Ning Fan quickly tore this piece of paper and said that this appeal was only for their class D and it was unfair. Teacher Ning Fong said that they could really just destroy the dreams of the students, and besides Chu Feng there are 6 people in their class. Student Gu Shuiwei told the teacher that he said everything correctly and this means that they still need one person to save. Teacher Ning Fan said that the management must think that no one will come to their class, so they set such a condition. Teacher Ning Fan told all the students that he was going to go to the Fong family now, but for now they could study on their own and he would think about it. Strongman Li was upset and said that they again had to study at school on their own without a teacher, and he was already used to him and did not want anything else. Disciple Shi Feng told his friend that he agreed with him 100% and really Teacher Ning Fan couldn't go on business after school. Teacher Ning Fan told his excellent students that after all classes there is free time and they can study there together. Gu Shuiwei approached Zhang Tianyang and said that she was now going to the training ground to learn more magic skills. Gu Shuiwei asked Zhang Tianyang if he would go with her so that they could train and practice their skills together. Zhang Tianyang told Gu Shuiwei that he agreed and it was a great idea because Teacher Ning Fan also wants them not to sit idle. And then the student Ting Wei appeared there and said that she also wanted to go and train and Strongman Li and Shi Feng should go with her. But the students refused this offer and said that they also wanted to be there with Gu Shuiwei and Ting Wei could go to the hall. Student Ting Wei was very upset and beat up these 2 students who had the audacity to talk to her in such a rude tone. The stone golems of Disciple Ting Wei quickly dealt with these 2 students and after that she herself went to the training hall. At this time, Teacher Ning Fong finally found a house where his student Feng was supposed to live and it looked like he was at the right address. Teacher Ning Fan stood in front of the door and thought that this should be Chu Feng's family and it was in this apartment that he should live there. Teacher Ning Fan pressed the bell and he hoped that he was not mistaken and unmistakably came to the address of his student who did not come. And then the front door began to open and Teacher Ning Fan immediately noticed something very strange that he could not yet explain to anyone. A woman stood in front of the teacher and held a cross in her hand and asked Ning Fan who he was and why he came to their apartment today. Ning Fan told the woman that he was Chu Feng's teacher and he came there only to visit his student because he didn't come. The woman told Teacher Ning Fan that he had finally come there and asked him to look at her child Chu Feng and explain it to her. Teacher Ning Fan wondered if his student was bewitched or something like that and he was interested to know the reason for this. The woman took Ning Fan's teacher to Chu Feng's room and in the middle of the room there was some kind of box and everywhere in the room it was dark. Many of Chu Feng's students' things stood untouched, and it became clear to the teacher that no one had touched anything in this room of Chu for many days. Teacher Ning Fan looked down and asked the woman if he thought correctly that it was Chu Feng and she agreed with her son's teacher. Ning Fan's teacher and Chu Feng's mother stood in the room and looked at the box that stood motionless right in the middle of Feng's room. The woman said that since Chu came home from school a month ago, he hid in the box and after that he didn't say a word from there. The woman asked Teacher Ning Fan whether the body of her son Chu Feng had been bewitched, but Ning Fan said that there was nothing like that. Teacher Ning Fan asked the woman not to worry and said that he would talk to her son now and he would quickly come out of this box. Teacher Ning Fan immediately entered the room and quickly slammed the door from the inside so that his student's mother could not enter this room. Ning Fan approached the box and said that it was his teacher Ning Fan and Chu Feng should come out so that they could talk to him face to face. But Chu was simply silent and did not answer the teacher's questions, and Ning Fan thought that it looked like there would need a different method for the student. And then teacher Ning Fan looked menacingly at the box and asked Chu Feng if he was forcing him to resort to violence, and he was glad. Teacher Ning Fan quickly grabbed this box and began to shake it with all his might and said that he forced him to use his brute strength. And after that, a sound was heard in the box in front of teacher Ning Fan, and the teacher realized that his student Chu Feng seemed to be afraid of the teacher. Teacher Ning Fan quickly grabbed that same box and opened it immediately and said that now his student must explain to him what happened. Teacher Ning Fan saw that his student Chu Feng was sitting inside the box in a black mask, and he asked him what he was wearing. Teacher Ning Fan told student Chu Feng that he didn't care and just wanted him to tell him how he felt and let him examine him. And then Ning Fan's teacher began to use the master's eye to look at Chu Feng and determine what was wrong with him. Chu Feng is a speed mage and he loves flying objects, and secretly from everyone he is trying to learn the magic of flight, but the magic was not at all clear. Chu Feng was not brave enough, and this leads to an unsuccessful transition to the last level and for a bold flight without falling. Teacher Ning Fan thought that Chu Feng loved flying objects, and this was obvious, but how could he solve the student's problem with courage? Teacher Ning Fan looked at the eagle poster in his student Chu Feng's room and thought maybe he should try to do this after all. And at that moment, Chu Feng again began to crawl to his box in order to again hide there from everyone and so that no one would ever disturb him. But teacher Ning Fan quickly took off the mask from disciple Chu Feng and asked where he was going again and asked him to stay there and not move. Chu Feng asked Mr. Ning Fan to let him go and said that those students who fall while running are already failures. Teacher Ning Fan looked at his student and realized that he didn't want to do anything at all and was mentally crushed, and that was bad. Teacher Ning Fan walked up to his student and sat down next to him and began to think about what to say to him to cheer up Chu Feng a little. Teacher Ning Fan asked the student if he would come to school, and Chu Feng told him that he did not want to leave his house. Chu Feng told teacher Ning Fan that even if he hit him or yelled at him or threw him out of the window, he would not return to school. But at that moment, when Chu Feng did not expect this at all, teacher Ning Fan approached him and grabbed his pants and began to lift Chu. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Chu Feng how he knew that he was going to throw him out of the window and said that he guessed it right now. Student Chu Feng started yelling at teacher Ning Fan and said that it wasn't that he didn't want to go to class and that the problem was something else. Teacher Ning Fan told Chu Feng that it was already too late to change anything and now he would feel how birds actually fly in the sky. And at that very second, teacher Ning Fan threw Chu Feng out of the window and he said that the student must try hard, otherwise he will quickly fall down. Chu Feng continued to fall down and teacher Ning Fan ran next to him and made sure that everything was fine with his student in the fall. Disciple Chu Feng looked down and noticed that he was already approaching the ground and thought that nothing could save him, and he closed his eyes. But after a couple of seconds, teacher Ning Fan asked Chu Feng to open his eyes and said that he would be very surprised by what he would see there now. Suddenly, disciple Chu Feng noticed that he did not crash, but was simply floating in the air and thought that it was incredible and he did not die now. But then teacher Ning Fan jumped next to the student and told Chu Feng that his flight magic had almost reached its last obstacle. Teacher Ning Fan told Chu Feng that what he lacks to make his flight incredible is the position and he should just improve. Disciple Chu Feng was surprised and asked teacher Ning Fan if it was only because of this that he threw him out of the window, because he thought that he was already a corpse. Teacher Ning Fan told student Chu Feng that he said everything correctly and thought that this student was also very talented and he was a warrior. Teacher Ning Fan asked disciple Chu Feng to remember that later he will also fall when he runs and he must be prepared for this. But teacher Ning Fan told Chu Feng that now even if he falls, nothing will happen to him because now he can just fly up. After that, teacher Ning Fan sat and watched martial arts on the phone and thought that these fighters had very neat technique. Teacher Ning Fan was flying above the ground on his student Chu Feng at that time and was pleased that he was able to help the student with his skill. Teacher Ning Fan looked at the heavens and said that this life was simply wonderful and it was a sin to complain about anything on this earth. Teacher Ning Fan looked down and told student Chu Feng that they were almost at the school and he should recognize his Xian Academy. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Chu Feng to start landing slowly and he should go to class because he was behind on his topics. At this time, students had already begun to gather in the football stadium along with the treadmill to begin the tournament between groups. Teacher Liang Fei asked student Li Zhen to try to break the Shi class record this time and said that their main goal was there. Teacher Liang Fei asked student Li Zhen to run faster and try to break another record because he was capable of all this. Disciple Li Zhen asked teacher Liang Fei not to worry and he should remain calm because he will not let Mr. Liang down there. Teacher Liang Fei asked all the students to be ready and said that the running will begin now and they should be at the start now. And then when teacher Liang Fei gave the command that the students should already start running and the student Li Zhen began to run there faster than anyone else. Li Zhen turned around and said but he will see who can now break his record because he thought that it was completely impossible. But at that very second, next to the student Li Zhen and teacher Ning Fan looked at the runner and thought that he clearly did not expect to see them there. And in a matter of seconds, teacher Ning Fan quickly disappeared from his field of vision and student Li Zhen was in shock because he did not understand what it was. Disciple Li Zhen froze in place and could not move, and he realized that he had just found a person who broke his record. And then the student Li Zhen noticed that he was not wearing clothes and they flew off him when Chu rushed next to him at high speed. At this time, an elite car stopped near the Xian Sha Academy and the driver told the boss that they had already arrived at their destination. The guy told the driver that he did everything right and he opened the car door and began to get out to inspect what was there. The guy thought it was really the Xian Sha Academy, which he had heard about many times from his friends and it seemed that it was true. At this time, the students of Group D were engaged in the training room and practiced their skills and developed to become even stronger. Strongman Li and Shifeng stood and asked teacher Ning Fan to come back quickly and not make them cry and miss their kind teacher. But student Ting Wei told them both to shut up and said that even if teacher Ning Fan did not return, they could study there themselves. But at that moment when the students asked the student Ting Wei, that guy came into this training hall, arriving in an elite car. The guy approached the student Ting Wei and asked if she knew where the academic department that he needed so much was located. Student Ting Wei asked this guy if he really just started asking her about it and is not afraid of getting hit in the face by the group. The guy asked student Ting Wei if they really wanted to hit him and said that even in his fantasies he could not imagine such an outcome. Strongman Li began to throw himself at this guy and asked why he was insolent to their older sister and did he really want to die there for those words of his. But the guy just smiled and thought that these students didn't even know who they wanted to fight with and that's why everyone had a lot of courage. Strongman Li wanted to hit this impudent guy, but the guy immediately quickly put up a defense in front of him and did not allow Disciple Li to hit him. From such a shock wave, the Strongman Li flew several meters away from this strange but very strong stranger and was very surprised. Strongman Li fell to the ground with all his might and he thought that at first he had underestimated this man, but he turned out to be a very powerful fighter. The guy approached the Strongman Li and said that he had already warned them all before his blow that they would not be able to hit him, but they did not believe him. Disciple Ting Wei asked this guy if he really wanted a fight and attacked them so fiercely and pulled out one of his hairs for the golems. Ting Wei's student immediately created her huge stone golems and told the guy that she would keep him company in this fight now. The guy was not afraid at all and looked at the stone golems that Ting Wei had now created and thought that these students were very brave. Disciple Ting Wei asked the guy not to worry and said that she promises him 100% that she will not kill him in battle. The guy asked the student Ting Wei if she really thought that her small pebbles could break his barrier and he wanted to look at it. The student of Ting Wei got ready and told the guy that then they will now check which of them is stronger and whether his defense will withstand this attack of hers. And at that very second, all the stone golems of the student Ting Wei immediately began to run towards the guy to strike and so that he would suffer. Two huge stone golems struck this guy, but his protective barrier didn't even shake and the guy was very calm. But suddenly, after the first blow, the stone golem's arm immediately broke and they could no longer cope with its powerful defense. Student Ting Wei froze in surprise and thought that how was this possible and even her stone golems could not cope with the guy. The stone golems of Ting Wei's disciple recovered and continued to strike at the guy's defense in the hope of breaking the guy's defense. The stone golems struck, but they broke over and over again and simply could not offer anything to this guy who was strong. The guy started to yawn and asked the student Ting Wei if this is all she can do and it seems her teacher was not so good and they are all weak. Zhang Tianyang was furious at the stranger's words and asked him what he just said and how he had the audacity to do it. The guy asked Zhang Tianyang if he didn't like it when they talked about his teacher and then let him show him what the teacher taught him. Gu's student Shui Wei also started doing magic, and she also didn't like that this man was saying such bad things about their teacher Ning. Disciple Gu Shui Wei used the lightning burst technique and immediately sent a lot of glowing lightning and thunderstorms towards this person. But the guy didn't even move from his place and just silently looked at all the unsuccessful attempts of the students to break his powerful protective barrier. Zhang Tianyang looked at this and he was very angry at the arrogant guy who thought that he was stronger than everyone in the world, but that was not the case. Zhang Tianyang quickly ran towards this guy and immediately wanted to strike him so that he would finally shut up and leave from there. Zhang Tianyang began to throw a lot of blows, but his defense still withstood even such strong blows and did not even crack yet. Zhang Tianyang was surprised and thought that what was still wrong with this protective barrier that not a single attack from the students could break. Zhang Tianyang realized that all these attacks were useless against this man, and he decided not to waste his strength on strikes anymore. Zhang Tianyang stood next to his students and they all could not understand how they could cope with this very powerful person. The guy told the students that they all exceeded their expectations and he admired their teacher and their courage, and he clapped for these students. Ting Wei's disciple thought that this man was strong, but they could still find his weak point if they tried hard with her students. The guy told the students that if they are not satisfied, they can call their teacher so that they can have a fair fight together. Ting Wei's student asked this man who he was and did he really know their teacher and did he think he could defeat Mr. Ning. And at that very second, Teacher Ning Fan appeared in the training hall and he was flying on Chu Feng and said that it seemed that now someone was calling him there. The guy was in shock and thought what he just saw, and was Teacher Ning Fan really flying on his student Chu Feng, and this is so strange. Teacher Ning Fan immediately jumped down and thought that it seems that when he was not there, many events happened and he will soon find out everything. Chu Feng immediately crashed with all his might onto the floor, and Teacher Ning Fan immediately told the student that he would teach him how to land there carefully. The guy asked Ning Fan if he was their teacher and said that these students he taught were not as good as he thought. Teacher Ning Fan was very angry and told the guy that he would make him take back his words and he would regret that he said it out loud. And then student Gu Shui Wei approached Teacher Ning Fan and said that he should forgive them and they could not cope with this person now. Zhang Tianyang told the teacher that this man's defense was very strong and they were all unable to break his powerful protective barrier. Teacher Ning Fan told the students that there is no such shield that cannot be broken and they are simply using the wrong fighting methods. The guy started laughing and told Teacher Ning Fan that then let him tell his students the exact method on how to bypass the powerful protection. Teacher Ning Fan told this guy that this is what he is talking about, and he began to use the Master's Eye skill on this person Xie Tiangu. Xie Tiangu was a defense mage and awakened 40%, and his weakness was the conductor of the barrier forces, and experienced ones can break it. Teacher Ning Fan found out all the information he needed in a few seconds and told Xie Tiangu that it was all over with him now. Strong Manly showed Teacher Ning Fan his bruised hand and asked him to see what this idiot did to him, and he is very arrogant. Disciple Shi Feng told Teacher Ning Fan that he should not just let this bastard go and he should be punished for everything he did. Xie Tiangu started laughing and asked Teacher Ning Fan to look at his pitiful students who could only complain to him. Teacher Ning Fan told Xie Tiangu that the only pitiful ones there were him and the person who loves to fight but can only hide there. Xie Tiangu asked Teacher Ning Fan what he was telling him, and he was not at all afraid that he would now receive powerful blows for such words. Teacher Ning Fan asked the strong Manly and Shi Feng to approach him and said that he would teach them how they could defeat the fighter Xie Tiangu. Teacher Ning Fan told his students that they should fight back if someone humiliated them and should not put up with this insolent person. Teacher Ning Fan used the Master's Eye on Shi Feng and realized that he was an expert in controlling human minds with destruction magic. But Shi Feng's magic could not destroy a person's consciousness, and Ning Fan thought what kind of consciousness magic was this that could not destroy him. Teacher Ning Fan studied Li Su and he was a mental magician but so weak in strength, and he realized that these two were useless at the time of battle. But then Teacher Ning Fan thought that they should wait for him for a couple of seconds, and it seems that he understood how to improve both. Teacher Ning Fan asked Li Su and Shi Feng to stand closer and give him another look and used the eye skill on both students. Teacher Ning Fan studied both students at the same time and he understood what was the matter, and it seems he understood how to solve this problem. The students asked Mr. Ning Fan if they could now become stronger because they really want to continue to develop as fighters. Teacher Ning Fan told the students that of course they both could become stronger and he would help them in this matter and they would be better fighters. And then Teacher Ning Fan pointed his finger at Xia Tiangu and told his students that this man had just humiliated them all and bullied them. Teacher Ning Fan ordered his students to defeat Xia Tiangu and they can all defeat him if all students act together. Teacher Ning Fan called all his students and gathered them in a circle and he told them the whole plan and they said that they understood everything the teacher. Teacher Ning Fan pointed his finger at Shifeng and Strongmanly and said that the two of them would lead the rest of their students and all their friends. Strongmanly told Mr. Ning Fan that he did not know their strength yet and they were not sure that they could defeat this master Xia Tiangu. Shifeng's disciple said that even if they knew Xia Tiangu's weakness, they still couldn't fight him because he was much stronger. The teacher hugged his students and said that if the two of them acted together and worked together, they could defeat him. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Shifeng to use his destruction magic to control the mind of friendly. Ting Wei's student thought that Teacher Ning Fan really wants them to use the magic of destruction and what is he doing at this time? Strongmanly, if Teacher Ning Fanning himself spoke about this, he believes him and asked his friend Shifeng not to feel sorry for him and just act. Shifeng told his friend Li Su and said that he also trusts Teacher Ning Fan and they can already take action before it's too late. And at that very second, Shifeng began to use the technique of destruction on his friend Li Su and something began to happen to him and everyone was shocked. And now the disciple Shifeng began to control with the help of his friend Li Su and he began to move at the behest of his friend and this is great. Strongmanly began to dance and Shifeng realized that his destruction of his mind worked well and he could control the actions of his friend. Teacher Ning Fan told student Shifeng that he must control Strongmanly to attack Xia Tiangu and the student understood the teacher's words. Xia Tiangu asked them not to say that he was offending someone and he was standing there just like that and allowing all the students to attack him now. And then the Strongmanly began to rush at Xia Tiangu and he thought that they were trying in vain anyway, but they still believe in their strength so much. Strongmanly began to hit Xia Tiangu's protective barrier a lot, but his defense was still able to withstand all of the students' blows now. Xia Tiangu said that he had already told them that they would not be able to break his barrier and wondered why disciple Li's strength increased so suddenly. Shifeng's disciple told Xia Tiangu that he was wrong about them and they were all just warming up and now it was time for the real battle. Strongmanly continued to hit Xia Tiangu's protective barrier without stopping, and he did not get tired of delivering such heavy blows. Xia Tiangu smiled and said that he liked to see them all throwing punches and not being able to break his best protective barrier. But suddenly at that moment a crack appeared in Xia Tiangu's protective barrier and he was surprised and thought what was happening there and what it was. And a second after that, Strongman disciple Li broke Xia Tiangu's defense and dealt a powerful blow to his face and he couldn't believe it. Xia Tiangu flew away somewhere to the side from such a strong blow and crashed very painfully into the wall, and none of all the people could believe it. Xia Tiangu lay on the floor and thought how this was possible because these students were such weaklings before, but they became strong. Teacher Ning Fan asked Xia Tiangu not to give up so easily and said that this is not all and they can continue the fight even until the night. Xia Tiangu stood up and looked at Teacher Ning Fan and realized that he was a very good teacher and had prepared all his students well. But immediately disciple Zhang Tianyang came running to Xia Tiangu and he dealt him a powerful blow to his stomach and said what those words were. After this, Ting Wei's disciple hit Xia Tiangu in the face with the huge fist of her stone golem and he was in great pain from this. And immediately after that, disciple Gu Shuiwei used her lightning technique and she hit Xia Tiangu with a bolt of lightning and hit her. After such heavy blows, Xia Tiangu lay on the floor and could no longer move and continue the fight against these Ning disciples. Zhang Tianyang asked Teacher Ning Fan if they had gone too far with the blows and the teacher asked them to calm down and said everything was fine. Student Ting Wei told Teacher Ning Fan that bad-mouthing other people is bad and he should worry about the class falling apart. Teacher Ning Fan said that they will solve all these problems and everything will be fine and so it will be with everyone who attacks them ever again. Teacher Ning Fan began to leave home and on the way home he thought that he seemed to have forgotten something but could not remember what exactly. At this time, Principal Ma Dashan looked at student Xia Tianji's documents and said that he didn't know that a Class C student would be transferred there. Director Ma Dashan said that now he will have happiness on his face and now someone can put teacher Ning Fan in his place. And at that moment, the beaten Xia Tiangu entered the director's room and he asked him if he was the manager of the Ma Dashan Academy. Director Ma Dashan started shouting at Xia Tiangu and asked him who he was and what right did he have to call his name in his office. The guy told the director that he was a transfer student of Xia Tiangu and he was there on the orders of the school and wanted to meet him in the morning. Director Ma Dashan did not believe this man and began to study his documents and realized that this was indeed the same student Xia Tian. Principal Ma Dashan smiled and told Xia Tiangu that he was the same student and asked what happened to his face and his body then. Xia Tiangu told Principal Ma Dashan that he shouldn't worry and that he just accidentally fell down the stairs and injured his face and body. Principal Ma Dashan asked student Xia Tiangu if he wanted him to give him a tour of the school and introduce him to everything. Xia Tiangu said thank you to Principal Ma Dashan, but this was not necessary and he asked him if he could choose his class at school. The principal told Xia Tiangu that of course he could go to any of the classes he wanted to go to and they would be very happy to see him. Xia Tiangu immediately said goodbye to the director and immediately slammed the front door and said that he would soon choose the best group for himself. Principal Ma Dashan told his man that a Class C student had just come to him and he could choose any class in his school. Principal Ma Dashan thought that he had recruited a good student and kicked out a good-for-nothing teacher, and it was just great. At this time, teacher Ning Fan entered the admissions office and they had an important announcement for this impudent teacher Ning. The man told teacher Ning Fan that his class would be dismissed soon anyway and he should be ready to give the students these forms. But suddenly teacher Ning Fan tore up this document and asked this man not to worry and said that their class would never be dismissed. The man told teacher Ning Fan that he was very sorry and no one but idiots would come to his worst class in this school. But then Xia Tiangu appeared in this office and said that he wants to join teacher Ning Fan's class and this is his desire. The man was surprised and asked the guy if he wasn't the genius student who transferred from another Xia Tiangu school and he was glad to meet him. The man told Xia Tiangu that he doesn't know yet and Ning Fan is the most worthless teacher and his class is the weakest in this academy. The man told student Xia Tiangu that he had enormous talent and should move to Class C where only the best teachers were gathered. Xia Tiangu asked the man if it wasn't said that he can choose any class he wants and he wants to go to Ning Fan's class. Teacher Ning Fan said to Xia Tiangu that he really thinks that if he wants to join, he can just take him into his class. The man was very surprised by such words from teacher Ning Fan and he knew that Xia Tiangu is the most talented fighter and how can he not take. Xia Tiangu told teacher Ning Fan that he had heard that his class needed one more person otherwise the class would be disbanded. Teacher Ning Fan told student Xia Tiangu that he was asking for forgiveness from him and said that his disbanded class would not take him now. But Ning Fan's teacher told Xia Tiangu that he was the only one in the whole school who could teach him how to turn his abilities into a heavy attack. Teacher Ning Fan said that it seems that this is not destined to come true and Xia Tiangu asked what he could do to be accepted into this class. Teacher Ning Fan said that it was easy and he should say once that he asks Mr. Ning Fan to accept him into his class. Xia Tiangu told Mr. Ning Fan that he was asking him to accept him into his class and he wanted to learn all these skills. Ning Fan told Xia Tiangu that he must say again, "The almighty Mr. Ning Fan, please accept the humble him into your class." Xia Tiangu thought and told the almighty Mr. Ning Fan to accept him humble into his class and he will behave well. Ning Fan told Xia Tiangu that he should repeat and tell this almighty and beloved Mr. Ning to accept the stupid and humble. Xia Tiangu told the almighty and beloved Mr. Ning Fan to accept a humble and stupid student like him Xia Tiangu into his class. Xia Tiangu called Ning Fan the almighty beloved and the best and most beautiful in the world and the man could not understand why Xia Tian was doing this. After this, teacher Ning Fan finished his sandwich before starting his lesson and thought that he was very hungry during this time. After finishing his sandwich, teacher Ning Fan entered the classroom and thought that today he too had a hard day ahead of him with his best students. Teacher Ning Fan said good morning to all the students and said if all the students were gathered in the classroom, they can already start the lesson with them. Principal Ma Dashan was standing in the classroom and he was very angry and asked Ning Fan why he was still in the classroom which had already been disbanded. The director of the Xin Sha Academy, Ma Dashan, ordered Ning Fan to pack his things and quickly write a letter of resignation from this academy. Strong Manly asked his friend if it was all over and they would no longer study with their best teacher Ning Fan, and this was a tragedy. Student Shifeng told a friend that when they finally met a teacher like Mr. Ning Fan, they immediately wanted to fire him from there. Student Gu Shuiwei was also very upset, and teacher Ning Fan really helped her to believe in herself and develop her talent, and he was already kicked out. Teacher Ning Fan told Principal Ma Dashan that how can his class be dismissed if it is full and there are not enough more seats. Principal Ma Dashan asked teacher Ning Fan why his class was full and he was crazy and who could even come to this class. Teacher Ning Fan told Principal Ma Dashan that now he should remember his name and said that it was that new student Xie Tiangu. Principal Ma Dashan started laughing with all his might and asked Ning Fan if he was joking, and the teacher had a great sense of humor. But at that moment, a student Xie Tiangu appeared in the class and the director Ma Dashan told Ning Fan that a student of class C would not come to this pit. But suddenly the director noticed that class C student Xie Tiangu sat down in this class and he was completely shocked and could not logically explain. Student Ting Wei told Principal Ma Dashan that he was not mistaken and it was not a dream, and at that second a student from their group, Xie Tian, entered their class. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Xie Tiangu how he dared to go straight there when he was late and had to leave and enter with permission. Xie Tiangu obediently got up from his seat and went and stood at the door and asked teacher Ning Fan if he would allow him to enter the class, and he was late. Teacher Ning Fan told student Xie Tiangu that he was an obedient and good student and he could come to class and he forgives being late. Principal Ma Dashan ran up to Xie Tiangu and said that this was the worst class at Xin Sha Academy and he would better transfer him to class C. Student Xie Tiangu thanked the principal for such an offer, but said that this was not necessary and he remained in this class. And then a man came into the class and told student Xie Tiangu that he had already given him student documents and he was now at Xin Sha Academy. Principal Ma Dashan began to strangle the man and asked why he didn't report to him when Xie Tiangu came to teacher Ning Fan's class. The man said to Principal Ma Dashan that wasn't he the one who said that he doesn't need to report whatever class Xie Tiangu chooses? Teacher Ning Fan asked Principal Ma Dashan and the man to leave the class if they wanted to fight because he still had to teach a lesson. Director Ma Dashan told Ning Fan that he was not finished yet and they should have an important conversation and he should draw conclusions. Teacher Ning Fan told Principal Ma Dashan that he would accompany him at another time, but now he should teach a lesson to the people. The principal was furious and he left the class, and the man asked the Principal Ma Dashan what they should do with the impudent teacher Ning Fan. Director Ma Dashan ordered his man to call their finance director there, and he had a plan and Ning Fan would regret it. After this, teacher Ning Fan brought all his students into the hall to develop their skills and discover their hidden talent and strength. Student Ting Wei asked why Xie Tiangu joined their class and asked if they could find anyone other than this person. Xie Tiangu told student Ting Wei that on the contrary, she should say thank you to him, because thanks to him, this class has not yet been disbanded. Strongman Li and Shifeng told Xie Tiangu that he was just a loser and he was lucky last time and now he will not be able to defeat them in battle. Zhang Tianyang told the students that from now on they will study together and they must work together to achieve results with the group. And then teacher Ning Fan stopped and asked all the students not to quarrel, and it was better to all listen together to what he was about to tell them. Teacher Ning Fan said that he wanted to say a few words to his new student Xie Tiangu and said that now his protective barrier is vulnerable. Teacher Ning Fan told Xie Tiangu that if the opponent attacked the crack in his protective barrier, it would be easy for him to break the barrier. But teacher Ning Fan told student Xie Tiangu that at the same time he could use a double barrier to defend himself even better. Teacher Ning Fan told Xie Tiangu that one barrier was to protect himself and the other was to protect the weak part of his protective barrier. Zhang Tianyang said that as he expected from Mr. Ning Fan, only he could think of this and he knew all the problems of all the students. But Xie Tiangu told Ning Fan that this would involve changing the structure of the barrier and he didn't know if he could do it at all. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Xie Tiangu not to worry and he should just believe in himself and he can do it without any problems. Xia Tiangu agreed with teacher Ning Fan and said that he would still try to do this and it would be good if he succeeded. Xia Tiangu closed his eyes and began to put up his protective barrier around himself, and he slowly began to follow Ning Fan's instructions. And after a couple of seconds, Xia Tiangu managed to make a double protective barrier and he closed that crack and his defense was already impenetrable. Xia Tiangu was very happy and told teacher Ning Fan that he couldn't believe it, but he did it and closed the weak point in his defense. Disciple Chu Feng approached disciple Ting Wei and told her to now try to attack brother Xia Tiangu's defense and check the defense. Student Ting Wei was happy and said that she would be happy to do this and they would find out whether teacher Ning Fan's advice helped this student in the class. And the student Ting Wei immediately created a huge stone golem, and she said that now she will know what a powerful blow is and feel it. Disciple Ting Wei created a sharp drilling end in her stone golem and quickly walked towards the new disciple Xia Tiangu. Ting Wei dealt a powerful blow to Xia Tiangu's protective barrier with her huge stone golem and thought that this should be enough. But to the surprise of many students with Xia Tiangu's protective barrier, now nothing happened and the golem's arm, on the contrary, immediately broke. Ting Wei's disciple couldn't believe that Xia Tiangu's protective barrier could withstand such a strong blow, and now she was very surprised. Teacher Ning Fan watched all this and realized that he had now managed to improve Xia Tiangu's protective barrier and he was happy about it. Ting Wei's student fell to the ground and couldn't believe that she couldn't defeat this impudent Xia Tiangu, and she was angry. Student Xia Tiangu approached student Ting Wei and said that now he was the best in the class and even she could not break through his defense. But Xia Tiangu told Ting Wei that there was no need to be proud of the fact that out of all of them, Ting Wei was the strongest, and that was a fact. Ting Wei's student was very angry and she asked Xia Tiangu if he really wanted to die and said that she could easily arrange this for him. Xia Tiangu asked teacher Ning Fan if he could make him even stronger, and he wanted to defeat the entire school and even those who were in class D. Teacher Ning Fan told Xia Tiangu that there was no limit to learning and he still had a lot to learn and train without stopping. Teacher Ning Fan told all the students that they all have unique skills, so he will teach everyone to develop these talents. Teacher Ning Fan told all his students that they should all finish the first stage and should become stronger than even class A. Teacher Ning Fan told all the students that he still wants them to develop again and raise their levels and not be lazy to work. Zhang Tianyang and Gu Shuiwei thought that teacher Ning Fan really wants them to further develop their skills and become stronger. The strongman students Li and Shifeng also thought that the teacher wanted them to be as strong as anyone, and Ning Fan received trust points. Teacher Ning Fan pointed his finger at student Zhang Tianyang and said that they will start developing with him and he wants him to improve too. Teacher Ning Fan told Zhang Tianyang that he was the only one with the power of that class C, but he was affected by his injury and would heal it first. And after that, teacher Ning Fan said that he had nothing more to say to the students and the class was free and they would return to this issue tomorrow. Teacher Ning Fan told student Zhang Tianyang that they should meet him tomorrow and he wanted to tell him a few words about his health. At this time, there was a meeting of all the teachers of Xian Sha Academy and they discussed all matters and, first of all, they were interested in Ning Fan. Teacher medium Zhang Wenlong said that he believed that they had all heard about teacher Ning Fan and knew that he worked at their academy. The medium teacher Zheng told Zhang Wenlong that he heard that Ning Fan fought with the C-class teachers and was in no way inferior to all of them. The medium teacher Li Jizheng said that it seems that the director of the academy, Ma Dashan, is also very tired of such an arrogant teacher Ning Fan. Teacher medium Yun Ruosher asked all the people if they all called them there because of Ning Fan and how did he harm Director Ma so much. Zhang Wen said that Ning Fan provoked Director Ma so he will be punished and this is the best time to help Director Ma. Teacher Zheng was said that he heard that Director Ma Dashan has already gone to look for the Director of Finance and will they be late for this? Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that there was no need to worry about those pathetic employees from the finance department and he already had an idea. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that the students of this teacher Ning Fan developed very quickly and were already able to discover their talents. At this time, teacher Ning Fan returned home and he was resting on his bed and thought that he could finally take some rest there. Ning Fan was resting in his bedroom and said that he was comfortable and he should rest, but then he would have a lot of different work. And then Ning Fan remembered that he was so busy with students that he forgot to improve his level and had not studied the mad teacher system for a long time. Teacher Ning Fan looked at the mirror and said that he was the handsome one and he wanted to take a better look at himself and enjoy his beauty. And at that very second, Ning Fan activated the master's eye on himself and wanted to check what needed to be corrected in himself and what level he had. Teacher Yun Ruoshi told the student to move to her class and said that this weakling teacher Ning Fan will not be able to teach anything. A student in her class, Lu Ming, said that if she were Ning Fan, her conscience would not allow her to stay in this school and she would leave. Teacher Ning Fan stood in front of them and thought how he could harm all these teachers so much that they all hated him so much. Teacher Ning Fan told Teacher Yun Ruoshi that the one who told him that earlier is still in the hospital and cannot move. Ning Fan and Yun Ruoshi looked at each other and realized that they were both strong teachers and therefore neither of them wanted to give in. Teacher Yun Ruoshi told Ning Fan that he had not yet regained his strength. She overestimated him and thought that he was so strong. Teacher Yun Ruoshi thought that she thought correctly and the one who once harmed Ning Fan remains a legend and they recognize his strength. Teacher Ning Fan thought that he himself simply knew that he had not fully recovered his strength, but how could Yun Ruoshi know about his strength? Student Gu Shuiwei was angry and told Teacher Yun Ruoshi that they had all become better people thanks to Ning Fan and she would not allow him to be insulted. Disciple Lu Ming told Gu Shuiwei that she said that she was quite good and asked if she wanted to fight her alone. Teacher Ning Fan told student Lu Ming that she could fight Gu Shuiwei and asked who in this school is afraid of such a fighter. Teacher Ning Fan watched student Lu Ming and realized that this student seemed to have a little courage and was not afraid to fight. Teacher Ning Fan approached student Gu Shuiwei and whispered something in her ear and gave her tips on how she could defeat such a fighter. After this, Teacher Ning Fan left the student Gu Shuiwei and he and Lu Ming remained face to face and began to prepare their techniques with her. Disciple Lu Ming took a fighting stance and told Gu Shuiwei that she could attack her and she was not at all afraid of her blows and power. But at that moment, student Lu Ming noticed a very bright glow in front of her and was surprised and thought that it was because she was not ready. And a second later, lightning struck student Lu Ming directly and she immediately flew in the other direction from such a blow from student Gu Shuiwei. Teacher Yun Ruoshi asked Gu Shuiwei how she did it because her student Lu Ming was not even ready at that time and did not expect. Student Lu Ming was lying on the ground and she could no longer get up and said that Gu Shuiwei was very fast and it was cool. But then student Gu Shuiwei noticed that Teacher Yun Ruoshi began to slowly approach them and wanted to take revenge on Teacher Ning. Teacher Yun Ruoshi started using her technique and told Teacher Ning Fan that she underestimated his students and it was a mistake. Teacher Ning Fan looked at Yun Ruoshi menacingly and thought that he would never allow her to harm his students. Teacher Yun Ruoshi quickly ran towards Ning Fan and said that she still did not know the limit of his strength and it was interesting. Teacher Ning Fan asked Yun Ruoshi if she was mocking him and said that they could sit down and talk like adults. Student Gu Shuiwei thought that Teacher Ning Fan had a very strong and fast destruction spell and then everything would be fine. And then Teacher Ning Fan earned trust points from student Gu Shuiwei and realized that he was just waiting for this and was grateful to student Gu. Teacher Ning Fan thought that this was very timely and it was enough for him to make his move with this Yun Ruoshi. Teacher Ning Fan also began to cast spells and he used 6th level technique and fire magic to take this Yun Ruoshi by surprise. Teacher Yun Ruoshi looked at this action of Ning Fan and thought that it was impossible and how could she overlook such an attack. Teacher Ning Fan used the Fire of Flaming Heavens technique and immediately sent this smoke directly into the face of Yun Ruo, who was running without stopping. After that, Teacher Yun Ruoshi stopped and she stood with a black face and realized that Teacher Ning Fan was very strong as she had heard. Teacher Ning Fan told Yun Ruoshi that nothing is impossible and if she disagrees with him then she is not so experienced as to understand it. Teacher Yun Ruoshi was very bored by Ning Fan's clever words and no longer wanted to listen to this nonsense from this impudent scoundrel. Teacher Yun Ruoshi continued to use the technique and she told Ning Fan that he was confident in himself but now it will all disappear immediately. Teacher Yun Ruoshi told Ning Fan that now he would lose to her and sent her huge fireball straight at student Gu Shuiwei. Teacher Ning Fan rushed to Gu Shuiwei and thought that this Yun Ruoshi was clearly a psycho and he no longer had any trust points left. And at that very second there was a huge roar and an explosion occurred, and teacher Yun Ruoshi thought that now Ning Fan was definitely dead. But suddenly two silhouettes began to appear in this house from the explosion, and teacher Yun Ruo thought that how could they protect themselves from the explosion. Teacher Ning Fan stood in the protective barrier with student Gu Shuiwei and thanked God that he had just received trust points. Teacher Yun Ruoshi was surprised, and she thought how Ning Fan could activate the protective barrier because his strength was almost running out. Teacher Ning Fan asked Yun Ruoshi if she really dared to attack her student Gu Shuiwei and how the teacher was so mean. Teacher Ning Fan got angry and used the advanced technique of summoning the Scarlet Flame Demon to attack that vile Yun Ruoshi. After this, teacher Ning Fan used an advanced technique to make a werewolf appear there and help him defeat Yun Ruoshi. Teacher Ning Fan continued and used the still advanced battle magic of Scarlet Heavenly Lightning Deity and immediately became energetic. The fiery demon along with a huge werewolf began to run towards Yun Ruoshi, and she realized that she could not defeat them all. Teacher Yun Ruoshi began to receive strong blows from monsters and thought why Ning Fan was so strong because he was weak. Teacher Ning Fan's monsters continued to beat up teacher Yun Ruoshi, and student Gu Shuiwei thanked Ning Fan for saving her. Teacher Ning Fan patted student Gu Shuiwei on the head and said that the person who dares to offend his students has not yet been born. Then disciple Zhang Tianyang ran there and asked Gu Shuiwei if she was okay and if she had suffered at the hands of Yun Ruoshi. Student Gu Shuiwei told Zhang Tianyang that she was fine and asked him not to worry about her and just quickly calm down. Student Lu Ming approached her losing teacher Yun Ruoshi and asked her not to be angry and they would take revenge on all these people. They started to leave from there, and Yun Ruoshi told teacher Ning Fan that this was not all and he would remember her and it would hurt him too much. And after Yun Ruoshi and her student left there, Ning Fan immediately suggested that Zhang Tianyang leave there and then heal his hand. Zhang Tianyang was surprised and asked the teacher if this healing was really possible because he thought that he was already doomed. Teacher Ning Fan told Zhang Tianyang that if he told him that it was possible, then he should know that it was already definitely possible. Zhang Tianyang stood in front of teacher Ning Fan, and the teacher then began to prepare to help Zhang and so that he would believe in all his words. Teacher Ning Fan began to do something with Zhang Tianyang's hand, and the student asked the teacher if he was sure that this method would help him. Ning Fan told Zhang Tianyang that of course he wants to help him and he must now force himself to use his right hand as well. Teacher Ning Fan told Zhang Tianyang that in order to make life easier in the future, he needs to take the first step and the first path to healing. Ning Fan told Gu Shuiwei that he will now teach her the ice destruction skill and should attack Zhang and he will use his right hand. Student Gu Shuiwei told teacher Ning Fan that she understood him and immediately stood in front of Zhang Tianyang in a fighting stance for her attack. Gu Shuiwei started using the ice destruction technique and she told Zhang Tianyang that they could start their battle without stopping. Gu Shuiwei began to cast spells and icy and very sharp weapons began to appear there, and the student quickly learned a cool technique. And after a couple of seconds, sharp ice spears began to fly towards the student Zhang Tianyang. He looked at them and did not know what to do. The sharp ice spears continued to fly towards Zhang Tianyang and he simply covered them with his left hand and did nothing there. But at that moment the ice ones disappeared and they turned into small snowflakes that could not harm Zhang Tianyang's health. Teacher Ning Fan was surprised and asked Gu Shuiwei what she was doing and why she stopped attacking Zhang Tianyang, and there was no command. But disciple Gu Shuiwei told teacher Ning that she just didn't want to hurt Zhang Tianyang and therefore didn't attack him 100%. Teacher Ning Fan was very angry about this and thought that they would never be able to help Zhang Tianyang with such methods and would never cure him. Teacher Ning Fan told student Gu Shuiwei that they were just trying to help Zhang Tianyang with his hand together and they wouldn't help him that way. Teacher Ning Fan told Gu Shuiwei that if she really wanted to help Zhang Tianyang, then her attacks should now be harsh. Zhang Tianyang thanked Gu Shuiwei and said that he could do it and she could continue to attack him now without fear. After this, disciple Gu Shuiwei stood in front of Zhang Tianyang and she asked him if he was now ready to repel all her attacks. Zhang Tianyang told Gu Shuiwei that he was ready and she could safely start attacking him with her new and powerful combat technique. Gu Shuiwei told Zhang Tianyang that now there will be no mercy and he must be ready to repel all her dangerous attacks from now on. Gu Shuiwei again used the ice destruction technique and she sent many sharp blocks of this ice towards Zhang Tianyang. Zhang Tianyang swung his right hand with all his might through the pain and thought that now he would definitely be able to repel all of Gu Shuiwei's attacks. But suddenly, all those huge blocks of sharp ice crashed into Zhang Tianyang's face and he was unable to defend himself against any of her dangerous attacks. Student Gu Shuiwei saw this and asked Zhang Tianyang to just be careful and at least somehow protect herself from all her dangerous attacks. Student Zhang Tianyang immediately fell to the ground with all his might and thought that it looked like this was the end of his training and he had failed completely. Gu Shuiwei quickly ran to Zhang Tianyang and asked why he didn't block her attack and said that she didn't want to hurt him. Teacher Ning Fan thought that this plan of his had turned into a complete failure for Zhang Tianyang and now he would have to try something new. At this time, in the Class B office, a discussion was going on between all the teachers and they thought, was Yun Ruosher really right now? Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that it was nonsense and how Ning Fan had not yet recovered but was already using his new skill with all his might. Teacher Zhenghua asked how this was possible because this Ning Fan was not a weakling and how could he become such a strong fighter. Teacher Yun Ruosher told all the teachers that they can go and check it themselves if they don't believe her, but Ning Fan is very strong at this time. Teacher Zhenghua froze in surprise and thought that it seems they were all very wrong about Ning Fan and somehow he was able to become much better. After that, Teacher Zhang Wenlong held this academy's document about the notification of Class D in his hands and wanted to say a few words to everyone. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that their Xian Sha Academy put study first and the school committee decided on Class D. Teacher Zhang Wenlong handed this document to Teacher Zhenghua and he said that he was now entrusting this matter to him and it should work. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that even if one student fails the test, he will be expelled and Class D will be disbanded after the test. At this time, Zhang Tianyang and Teacher Ning Fan came to the school infirmary and wanted to talk to Dr. Li Qiao about his health. Dr. Li Qiao said that she is an experienced healer and does Ning Fan really think that she cannot cure that brat Zhang Tianyang? Teacher Ning Fan simply looked at Dr. Li Qiao and did not understand what certificates she was talking about and what levels they were. Dr. Li Qiao said that it was level B and didn't Ning Fan himself tell her to cure Zhang Tianyang's student and what is he waiting for there now? Ning Fan used the Master's Eye skill on Dr. Li Qiao and learned that she is an expert in healing and erosion and can hit without a miss. Ning Fan saw a note that said that she was a spy for the coalition of godly mutants and this was interesting to Ning. Dr. Li Qiao began to treat the hand of disciple Zhang Tianyang and now she used enlightened healing to heal Zhang. Dr. Li Qiao untied the hand of student Zhang Tianyang and studied his injury and could not understand what the problem was in Zhang's hand. Dr. Li immediately became very angry and Ning Fan could not understand why Dr. Li Qiao was so angry now and what happened to her. Dr. Li Qiao told Ning Fan that Zhang Tianyang had no problems and was a healthy guy and why was he injured. Dr. Li Qiao asked Ning Fan why he then brought the smelly Zhang Tianyang there to bother her just because of this boredom. Teacher Ning Fan told Dr. Li Qiao that he only needed her to play along with him and this should help his student Zhang Tianyang. Dr. Li Qiao told Ning Fan that she was such a healer who had a lot of experience and how could she deceive his student. Teacher Ning Fan asked Dr. Li Qiao if she was sure that she was exactly at the level at which she always considered herself. Dr. Li Qiao was surprised by the words of Teacher Ning Fan and asked him what he meant and why he doubted her such a level. Teacher Ning Fan told Dr. Li Qiao that she is a C-level healer of the coalition of pious mutants, the energy of healing and also erosion. Teacher Ning Fan told Dr. Li Qiao that she can use this to make someone lose their memory for a short time and he knows. Dr. Li Qiao got angry and asked Ning Fan what he didn't know yet and how Ning knew so much interesting information about her. Teacher Ning Fan told Dr. Li Qiao that he knew everything he needed to know and nothing else was any secret to him. Dr. Li Qiao did not understand how Teacher Ning Fan was able to find out everything about her past and asked him how he found out all the secret information. Teacher Ning Fan told Dr. Li Qiao that he would not tell her anything and asked her not to bother his student and better help him in this matter. But then Dr. Li Qiao waved her hand and told Ning Fan that since he already knew her secret, she could no longer leave the teacher alive. Dr. Li Qiao told Ning Fan that he shouldn't have found out her secret and she wanted to hit him with her technique to end him forever. But teacher Ning Fan easily defended himself from her blow and said that they communicated so well with her, and why did she suddenly let go of her hands. Dr. Li Qiao told Ning Fan that she would see if he could move his lips after receiving such a blow from her. Dr. Li Qiao continued to attack teacher Ning Fan, but he deftly dodged all her blows and thought that she was evil. Teacher Ning Fan looked straight into Dr. Li Qiao's eyes and thought that she was doing it in vain because she wouldn't have any chance anyway. Teacher Ning Fan grabbed Dr. Li Qiao's hand and said that she was trying in vain and would not be able to hit such a strong fighter like himself. But Dr. Li Qiao thought that she had a chance to win, and all this time she continued to strike at Ning Fan but could not hit. Teacher Ning Fan smiled in her face and told Dr. Li Qiao that she was not his rival and she needed to stop doing this. But teacher Ning Fan told Dr. Li Qiao that as long as she listens to her, he will help her keep her secret and the doctor can be calm. Dr. Li Qiao told Ning Fan that every person was her friend and this was just a small request, and of course she would help teacher Ning. Dr. Li Qiao thought that teacher Ning Fan would also pay, and she told him that let them remove the seal on student Zhang Tianyan. Teacher Ning Fan told student Zhang Tianyang that after a serious conversation with Dr. Li, they decided to replace his arm now. Dr. Li Qiao asked Zhang Tianyang not to worry and said that it would be quick and after that he would be able to develop his level. Zhang Tianyang was very surprised and thought that he was still a little scared, but he hoped that they could help him now. Student Zhang Tianyang was lying in bed and he prepared himself for the fact that he would now be cured and he would be able to use his hand without any problems. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Zhang Tianyang not to worry, and they knew what they were doing and he just needed to trust the masters of the matter. Dr. Li Qiao agreed with teacher Ning Fan and said that he could believe Ning Fan's words and he was right and they would not harm him. Teacher Ning Fan said that he almost forgot and he should ask Zhang Tianyang's opinion about his hand and only then start all this. But Dr. Li Qiao said that Zhang Tianyang could no longer move because she injected him with an anesthetic solution for surgery on his arm. Dr. Li Qiao looked at Zhang Tianyang and said that she would pretend that he agreed to this and they could start the process. Teacher Ning Fan told Zhang Tianyang that his right hand was no longer working and he wanted to remove it so that he would no longer worry about it. Teacher Ning Fan told Zhang Tianyang that this hand was indeed not bad and they could make him a superhero after joining. Teacher Ning Fan said that after all, this was the right hand of the martial arts king who had never lost and was very strong. Zhang Tianyang began to squeeze his hand and now he was able to do it and he could use any techniques and many strikes. Zhang Tianyang looked at his right hand and could not believe that he could now move this hand, and he did not believe it at all then. Disciple Zhang Tianyang swung and wanted to test the power of this new hand and wanted to hit the wall to test the power of his blow. And then there was a huge roar in the room and Dr. Li Qiao outside was in shock and thought what was happening there and what were they doing there. Dr. Li Qiao ran into this room and asked them what they were doing there and did they really want to destroy this place of Xian Sha Academy. And then Dr. Li Qiao's gaze fell on one place and she could not believe that it was true and her mind was simply lying. Teacher Ning Fan smiled and said that they seemed to have achieved success with her and was happy to now see such a result from Zhang Tian. Disciple Zhang Tianyang broke the wall in this building with one blow and he was even able to break the adjacent wall and all the people there froze in shock. Student Zhang Tianyang told teacher Ning Fan that the hand he transplanted to him was simply amazing and he was happy with the operation. Teacher Ning Fan told Zhang Tianyang that his hand was actually improved and they did not change it and deceived him a little now. Teacher Ning Fan told student Zhang Tianyang that he and Dr. Li Qiao just wanted him to believe in himself again and they succeeded. Zhang Tianyang was surprised to learn such a detail and asked teacher Ning Fan if it was true and he couldn't believe him now. Teacher Ning Fan asked Zhang Tianyang to put in more effort later and then he could become even stronger and a very cool fighter. Zhang Tianyang couldn't believe his luck and told teacher Ning Fan that he would work harder to make him even more powerful. Teacher Ning Fan agreed with student Zhang Tianyang and said that then they could leave from there and not bother the respected Miss Li Qiao. Teacher Ning Fan said about this broken wall and she always loved the students and therefore should not take it to heart. Dr. Li Qiao said that of course not and what is he talking about and she is happier than ever after the student recovered from the disease. Teacher Ning Fan began to leave from there along with Zhang Tianyang, and Li Qiao thought that Ning Fan would regret everything and she would take revenge. At this time, a guest whom he had been waiting for so long came to the office of Director Ma Dashan, and he was glad to see this person at the academy. It was Director of Finance Lu Huibei, and he told Ma Dashan that this scoundrel Ning Fan had caused him trouble and would be punished by him for it. Lu Huibei told Director Ma Dashan that he would make Ning Fan unhappy, and Ma Dashan was happy and said that he would not forget this. The student stood outside the office and thought why in recent days Ning Fan has been causing trouble to many people and now even to the director. The girl thought whether this was due to the fact that their marriage was dissolved because of her father, and she realized that this time she had to help him. The girl wanted to leave from there, but suddenly teacher Yun Ruoshir was behind her and asked her to wait, and she now had a conversation with her. Teacher Yun Ruoshir asked Miss Shi if she was standing and wanted to talk to Principal Ma Dashan standing right outside his office. At this time, student Shifeng was telling his friend that they really had a test again and said that they would slide even lower if they didn't pass the test today. The strongman student Li said that their class D was already at the bottom, and if they slide even lower, they will disappear and they will definitely be closed forever. The students looked at the announcement to their class and thought why they were so pathetic and always wanted to be either closed or kicked out. Xia Tiangu sat and said that this class of degenerates bores him so much, and they all think that they were strong, but all these students are weak. Xia Tiangu told the students that they were a bunch of geeks, and he himself hoped that the test would not be too easy and they would not be able to pass it. Ting Wei didn't like Xia Tiangu and she asked if he wanted a fight, but he said that they couldn't even break his protective barrier. Student Ting Wei thought why everyone in the class always has to wait for teacher Ning Fan and whether this person plans to come there today. And immediately after these thoughts, the door opened and the student Ting Wei was very surprised and wondered if teacher Ning Fan had heard her thoughts. Teacher Ning Fan walked into the classroom with Zhang Tianyang and said that they were all already in the classroom and he was very happy to see them all there. Teacher Ning Fan began to approach his desk and said that then today they can start a new topic, and it was very interesting. And then teacher Ning Fan noticed that there was an announcement on his desk and he wondered if Director Ma Dashan had already managed to take action. Teacher Ning Fan saw that their class had to pass this test in order to continue learning and so that their skills would improve. Student Ting Wei asked Ning Fan if this is why they are doing this, because he got into a fight with the class teachers and now they are testing the group. Ting Wei's student asked teacher Ning Fan not to tell them that he was clumsy and he should try and solve the problem. Teacher Ning Fan froze in surprise and was shocked after such words from student Ting Wei and thought that his students had become so impudent. At the same time, teacher Yun Ruoshir was talking to Miss Shi and she simply asked her if she was looking for Principal Ma Dashan in the corridor. Teacher Yun Ruoshir said that the people outside are staring at the street from the classroom and they know about all the affairs in the academy. Miss Shi told teacher Yun Ruoshir that nothing happened and she was just passing by the office of the powerful Principal Ma Dashan. Teacher Yun Ruoshir listened to her and asked her when Director Shi plans to return from Luoying Academy, and they were already waiting for him there. Miss C said that her dad is actually participating in this competition this year and therefore this event may take some time. And at that moment, Director Ma Dashan's door opened and someone started to come out, and they had already finished talking with Director Ma. Finance Director Lu Huibei saw teacher Yun Ruoshir and Miss Shi standing there next to the office and was very surprised to see them. Director of Finance Lu Huibei smiled and said that what a coincidence it was and he did not expect to see such people at the academy. But Miss Shi immediately said goodbye to Lu Huibei and said that she still had a lot to do and they would see each other again, but she had to leave now. Teacher Yun Ruoshir also said that she had important things to do and started leaving there and didn't even say hello to Principal Lu Hui. Director of Finance Lu Huibei froze in surprise and he did not understand why these women left there so quickly and what they were discussing. Teacher Yun Ruoshir walked into Principal Ma Dashan's office and told him that she checked on Ning Fan this morning and he was not fully prepared. Principal Ma Dashan asked Yun Ruo if Ning Fan didn't boast about his abilities and the Class C teacher was beaten by him recently. Teacher Yun Ruoshir looked at Principal Ma Dashan and wondered if he could doubt her words and not even believe the lady. Teacher Yun Ruoshir told the principal that she tested Ning Fan with her royal eyes and how dare he doubt her. Director Ma Dashan was scared and told Yun Ruoshir that he never doubted her and asked what they could do to him now. Teacher Yun Ruoshir said that she had already asked Zhang Wenlong to check on him and they would only wait for the King's Eye's decision. At this time, teacher Ning Fan and his students came to the training hall, but they were met at the entrance by Mr. Lu Huibei. The director of finance told teacher Ning Fan that it was a coincidence that he met him there and how many years and how many winters had already passed. Teacher Ning Fan told Lu Huibei that they had not seen him for a long time and thought that he had such a stupid laugh and it was disturbing him. The director of finance asked teacher Ning Fan if he and these students had come there to use the school's training hall. And then the director of finance told Ning Fan that unfortunately the equipment in the gym was being repaired and they would not be able to train. But suddenly, Ting Wei's disciple pushed the finance director away from there and told him to step aside and not stand in Ting Wei's way anymore. Student Ting Wei pointed her finger at the other people in the hall who were currently training and asked why they were training then. But Lu Huibei told disciple Ting Wei that those tools that could be used were already occupied and all the others were broken. The director of finance asked teacher Ning Fan to monitor his students and said that he would not be able to pay for the renovation of this hall. The finance director wondered if teacher Ning Fan wanted to use the hall today even after he insulted their director Ma. The director of finance said that then they must carry out repairs in the training area and they need to leave and close the door to this room. Teacher Ning Fan thought that if it weren't for the value of trust recently, he would have already been crippled and she helped him a lot. Disciple Chu Feng told teacher Ning Fang that the training base was inaccessible and it would be better for them to conduct a theory lesson with the group. Teacher Ning Fan was surprised and asked if they would also test theoretical lessons in addition to fighting in a round with a fighter. The students asked teacher Ning Fan if he really didn't know this and they said that he was indeed a reliable teacher for their friendly group. The students told the teacher that this is an assessment of theory and skill and if they show one of them then they will all have to leave this academy. Ting Wei's student said that teacher Ning Fan is a great person and not some kind of scumbag and asked him if she is saying everything right now. Teacher Ning Fan asked his students how this was possible because he had planned everything for a long time and now he needs to change plans. And at that moment, Miss Shi appeared in front of teacher Ning Fan and she asked him if he was okay and what happened to him recently. Miss Shi asked teacher Ning Fan not to worry and said that she would help them with the training room and other necessary equipment. Ning Fan was surprised and thought, isn't this the ex-wife of the previous owner of this body, and it seems this girl was an exemplary student. Strongman Li told his friend that this was the legendary madam and Shifeng told his friend that it was none of his business and they had better keep quiet there. Disciple Ting Wei told Ning Fan and Miss Shi that even in such a very difficult time for them, they also flirt with each other in such a place. Miss Shi told Ning Fan that he could just tell her if she needed her help and she would always be happy to help him and his group. Teacher Ning Fan smiled and told Miss Shi that in that case, he had one request for her, but he was not sure that she would agree. Teacher Ning Fan asked Miss Shi to come to his house tonight and said that he had an important errand for her. Miss Shi was surprised and she thought what Ning Fan needed and what he wanted to tell her about and she was waiting for him to finally say it. And then Ning Fan told Miss Shi that she should come to his house to help his students with their theory lesson and preparation. Miss Shi told Ning Fan that of course she would come to his home and would be happy to help these students to pass the exam successfully. Teacher Ning Fan told the students that they should come to his house in the evening and tomorrow they will have special practice for the test. Teacher Ning Fan said that tomorrow Saturday no objections will be accepted and all students must be there on time. Teacher Ning Fan said that he reminds and none of them should miss class and Miss Shi was surprised by his cold attitude. After that, teacher Ning Fan stood in front of the mirror and thought that he should see how many trust points he had earned today. Ning Fan saw that he had gained 110 trust points and thought that first he needed to restore his awakening a little. And for 100 trust points, Ning Fan increased the awakening by just 1% and wanted to see how much more effective the awakening was. Ning Fan first wanted to use the Liaoyuan Heavenly Fire technique to test how 1% could increase strength. And at that very second, Ning Fan managed to light a fire on his finger, but this was not what he expected to see after improving his powers. Ning Fan looked at this fire and wondered if this was an improvement and why then the fire was so weak that it could not be used. Ning Fan was waiting for his students at that time and thought that they should all have been studying together, but where could they have gone now? Teacher Ning Fan thought that his students should have come there, but they were very late and it was so unlike them. And at that very second, teacher Ning Fan noticed that all his students had arrived there, but he was surprised because he did not expect this from his students. Teacher Ning Fan saw a huge van there and asked Xia Tiangu what he brought there and did he really think that they came for a picnic? Xia Tiangu told teacher Ning Fan that this was a limited edition of this year and there were a lot of vans like his all over the world. Student Ting Wei heard this and said that the picnic was a pretty good idea and she wondered what she could do about it. And then Ting Wei began to fry meat on a stone stove and teacher Ning Fan asked her if she had already started cooking barbecue meat. Strongman disciple Li started cutting vegetables for the dish and said that this picnic was the best idea and they should prepare a delicious meal. And then the student quickly prepared an excellent salad and asked teacher Ning Fan to try it and said that it was a very tasty salad. Shi Feng controlled his friend Li Su and teacher Ning Fan thought that these two were also not right in the head and were crazy. But teacher Ning Fan thought that at least Gu Shuiwei and Zhang Tianyang should have practiced and developed their abilities. But they also made drinks from ice and teacher Ning Fan thought that they really only use magic for fruit ice. Teacher Ning Fan asked all students to stop doing these strange things there and better prepare to train to the fullest. But then Ning Fan called Miss Shi and she ran behind him and said that she was late and asked him to forgive her for this inconvenient moment. Miss Shi told Ning Fan that she bought the milk tea that he loves so much and he should sit down and drink it before this workout. Ning Fan took this tea and sat next to his disciples and said that the picnic was a good idea and then they would start business in the afternoon. Teacher Ning Fan wanted to say a few more words to his students, but Miss Shi interrupted him and said that she wanted to tell him something now. Miss Shi told Ning Fan that their marriage was finally over and she could be free after being married to him for so many years. Ning Fan was very surprised by Miss Shi's words and asked her what she just said, but she smiled and said that it doesn't matter. Miss Shi asked Ning Fan to try to restrain himself and just not create problems and then everything will be fine with him and his students. Ning Fan said that he would try and agreed with Miss Shi and thought that she constantly did not tell him something and it was strange. Ning Fan thought why she asked him to restrain himself because he already tried to keep a low profile and always remained a modest type. Ning Fan said that this special regimen is divided into self-preparation followed by a theoretical lesson at night and they are ready. Ning Fan said that during the self-preparation period, he will indicate all the shortcomings of each student based on their abilities and skills. Student Ting Wei said that they understood him and the teacher can already be calm and they will do everything without problems and any difficulties. Strongman disciple Li told teacher Ning Fan that they should only train after they had eaten well and had a full stomach. Xia Tiangu took out something and told everyone that it was the most popular device on the market and it was just an amazing thing. Xia Tiangu told the students that they just needed to open it and it would release a furious magical attack that was very powerful. Xia Tiangu said that this magic also automatically flows into the person who will use this receiver in his hand. Xia Tiangu told the students that as long as they use this device for training, their defensive magic will no longer be equal. But suddenly at that moment, teacher Ning Fan approached Xia Tiangu's student and hit him on the head and said that this toy is useless. Xia Tiangu told teacher Ning Fan that he simply does not understand and his equipment is the most advanced of all available. Teacher Ning Fan asked Xia Tiangu if the device could teach him to attack and asked all the students to quickly approach the teacher. Teacher Ning Fan told all the students that they would all teach Chu Feng how to defend himself and he was very surprised why they wanted to teach him. Teacher Ning Fan told Chu Feng that last time he did not teach him how to land and today he will now teach him how to crash land. Ning Fan said that the second skill could be difficult and he could learn the magic of flight himself and his heart was calm and he was ready. Disciple Chu Feng told teacher Ning Fan that defensive magic has nothing to do with flying and how can he compare skills. But at that very second, teacher Ning Fan began to quickly fly towards his students Xia Tiangu and Chu Feng and they were surprised by the action. And then a deafening explosion thundered and he landed right on these students of his and they were not ready for such an attack from teacher Ning. Teacher Ning Fan told the teachers that this way an emergency landing was now made and they were able to see it in action. Teacher Ning Fan stood in the protective barrier and said that although the second skill can only show about 70% of the first, but if they use protective magic during an emergency landing, it will prevent them from getting hurt and they will all be saved. Chu Feng could not find words for these helpful words from teacher Ning Fan and he said that it was amazing and their teacher was simply the best. Ning Fan said that in order to help them quickly master the defense magic, Xia Tiangu will control the attack of the equipment in the direction. Disciple Chu Feng said that he was ready and told Xia Tiangu that he could attack him and after the words of the teacher, he was ready for everything. Xia Tiangu said that the protective shell is simply an expansion and application of internal strength and they need to protect themselves at that moment. Xia Tiangu told Chu Feng that he had adjusted his attack speed and he needed to pay attention to his evasion, and Chu Feng understood him. Xia Tiangu said that if Chu Feng's disciple was ready, then they could already start, and he immediately pressed the button in this cool equipment of his. And at that same second, many combat and bright rays were directed towards Chu Feng, and the student now had to protect himself from these rays. Chu Feng saw these battle waves and thought that there would be something simpler there, but it seems that he was very mistaken and he realized it. Chu Feng put up a protective barrier in front of himself in flight and he began to defend himself from these dangerous rays, but so far it was difficult for the student. Chu Feng began to fly to another place so that these bright rays could not hurt him, and he had a high flight speed and was hiding. But there were a lot of these battle rays and they began to hit Chu Feng's defense, and he thought that he needed to hurry to hide. And at that moment, a crack appeared in Chu Feng's defense and he realized that it would not withstand, and soon his protective barrier would already break. And then there was an explosion and Chu Feng's protective barrier burst and he began to fall down and had already lost control, and these attacks were dangerous. But teacher Ning Fan watched all this and he immediately used his skill and sent his protective waves towards Chu Feng. Xia Tiangu watched his friend Chu Feng fall and thought that if no one helped him, he would fall to the ground and die now. But Ning Fan's teacher's protection held Chu Feng and prevented him from falling and getting hurt, and Ning Fan thought that he had been ready for this all along. Teacher Ning Fan told all the students that only in battle they could become even stronger, but it was impossible to learn this from books. Teacher Ning Fan looked at the strongman students Li and Shifeng and he said that next was their turn and they should be ready. Teacher Ning Fan told the students that he had prepared a special lesson for both of them and was sure that they would be very happy after it. Strongman Li and Shifeng began to be afraid because they both did not know what teacher Ning Fan had prepared for them, and it could be a difficult task. Ning Fan told Shifeng that his mental erosion magic is needed to control people and he needs to control people more. But at this time, the strongman Li handed his friend a chicken leg and said that he should eat and he would have more energy and be full. Teacher Ning Fan ran to them and immediately took the chicken leg from the strongman Li from his hands and asked them to pay more attention to this lesson. Teacher Ning Fan told Li Su that he would teach him the abilities and ways to develop spiritual power and he should do everything at once. Shifeng grabbed Li Su from her hands and ate it and asked his friend if he could listen to the words of the teacher and for once in his life not think about any food. Strong Li just noticed that his friend snatched his food from his hands and he couldn't believe that someone stole his delicious food from him. Strongman Li began to get angry at Shifeng and asked what the disciple had just done and how much impudence he had to snatch his food from him. Strongman Li began to attack Shifeng and began to ask him to quickly spit out his chicken leg and not eat his delicious lunch now. But Shifeng immediately began to control the mind of his friend Li Su and he immediately stopped and was glad that he was in a hurry with this magic of his. Shifeng made the strongman Li start hitting himself in the face and teacher Ning Fan asked these students to stop fighting and calm down. Teacher Ning Fan told these students that he already knew well what they should improve and what aspects the students should train. Teacher Ning Fan approached student Shifeng and whispered in his ear about what he should improve and what problems he had committed before. Strongman Li came to his senses and teacher Ning Fan asked him to move away from there for now and train a little, and soon the strongman's turn would come. Shifeng began to use the technique and everything began to work out for him, and the strongman Li told his friend that he learned this skill very quickly. Shifeng thought that he clearly felt the increase in spiritual power and it was a pleasant feeling and he was glad that he was evolving. And then suddenly Shifeng realized that it forgot the next step for this technique that teacher Ning Fan talked about, and it was bad. Shifeng realized that now he had become so heavy and began to fall down, and teacher Ning Fan was surprised and thought what was happening to him. Teacher Ning Fan picked up Shifeng and asked what happened to him, and he said that he was fine and just forgot about the steps of the exercise. Shifeng asked the teacher if it was acceptable to stop while developing spiritual power, and Ning asked him to rest for now. After this, teacher Ning Fan approached the student strongman Li and said that his friend Shifeng had finished and now it was time to teach him too. Li Su thought about what he could say to the teacher and he asked Ning Fan if he could allow him with one very simple request. Strong Manly asked teacher Ning Fan how about he wait until Shifeng gets better and then train. Ning Fan told Li Su that he should follow the method he taught him and he would feel that his fighting spirit began to stagnate. Ning Fan said that then he would draw out his hidden potential and Li Su would pass the test, and the Strong Manly began to bow and ask to teach him. Teacher Ning Fan told Li Su that he would teach him, but first he himself must remove all the food that he now has and not be distracted. Strong Manly said that this was the last meal and teacher Ning Fan asked him not to eat it for now and first go and run all 10 laps. Teacher Ning Fan told Li Su that until he develops his body and passes the test, he forbids him to eat such food, and this is an order. Teacher Ning Fan watched his student Li Su run while he himself ate all his chicken legs and he felt very good. Strong Manly began to cry and he told teacher Ning Fan that it was his chicken leg and he ate it and now he himself will remain hungry. Strong Manly continued to cry that he didn't have a chicken leg left and didn't even look where he was running and stepped on his lying friend Shifeng. Teacher Ning Fan thought that he should find out what all his other students were doing now, and he looked at the aggressive student Ting. At that time, student Ting Wei was sitting quietly and reading some book and did not disturb anyone at that moment and did not try under the feet of the students. Student Ting Wei was sitting near a tree while other students were doing exercises that their teacher Ning Fan had recently given them. Ning Fan told student Ting Wei that she was studying quite diligently and she asked the teacher why he was there and not next to the students. Ning Fan's teacher told Ting Wei that she had been teaching her summoning technique for a while now and why don't they learn life summoning. Disciple Ting Wei was surprised by such words from teacher Ning Fan, and she immediately asked teacher Ning Fan what kind of interesting call it was. Ning Fan told Ting Wei that life calling was already an advanced level summoning technique and it was different from those other summoning techniques. Teacher Ning Fan told Ting Wei that the difference is that it is in this life summoning that the monster will evolve along with the summoner. Disciple Ting Wei was very interested in learning more information about this call of life and she wanted to quickly learn this technique. Teacher Ning Fan said that each person's summoned monster from the life summon was unique and they were not like anyone else. And at that same second, suddenly a very scary figure appeared behind teacher Ning Fan, which looked like death itself with a scythe. Ting Wei was very surprised and thought what it was and was it really a technique for calling life, and if so then she was amazed by it. Teacher Ning Fan pointed his finger at his monster and asked Ting Wei if she also wanted to learn how to summon such strong monsters. But student Ting Wei told teacher Ning Fan that it was nonsense and she was not interested in all this and she herself knew how best to develop talent. Teacher Ning Fan told Ting Wei that after this he would teach her the method of summoning life and wondered if she could speak normally to him. A couple of minutes later, Ting Wei's student also began to learn a new technique for summoning life, and she did not hope for her success now. Ting Wei did everything just as teacher Ning Fan taught her and thought it would be cool if she also had the same scary monster. Student Ting Wei had almost finished her spell and she really wanted to summon a dragon so that it would be powerful and huge and everyone would be afraid. And at that very second, the student Ting Wei's hand began to glow and she could not believe that she was really able to fulfill the call of life. And at that moment a very small bird appeared in front of her in her hands, which looked like an ordinary chicken, and it's so sad. Ting Wei's disciple told this monster that he definitely did not meet her standards and threw him with all her might right into the face of teacher Ning Fan. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Ting Wei why she did it because it was so cute and you need to be quite careful with it. Teacher Ning Fan told Ting Wei that he completely forgot to tell her and the food of the summoned monster is her aura and they will feed on the aura of the owner. And then when the student Ting Wei did not expect this, teacher Ning Fan said that she needed to quickly feed the monster with her hair. And then the summoned monster climbed into the head of the student Ting Wei and began to do everything with her hair and she wanted the monster to simply disappear. Ting Wei's student said that it was unforgivable and she wanted to drive away her monster, but he did not want to leave her head. And then suddenly the student Ting Wei noticed that this monster had pulled out her hair and a large and terrible bald spot had formed on her head. Ting Wei said that it was just horror and began to run away from there with all her might, and teacher Ning Fan looked at it all and was in complete shock. Student Ting Wei continued to run and wanted her monster to leave her behind because she no longer liked him at all and was causing her problems. And then Xie Tiangu approached teacher Ning Fan from behind and grabbed him by the shoulder and asked the teacher to give him a minute of his attention now. Xie Tiangu told teacher Ning Fan that this trash Chu Fong was already able to learn defense and asked if it was time for him to teach him attacks. The next day on House Heng, the students, along with teacher Ning Fan, continued to train their skills to become the strongest. Teacher Ning Fan quickly grabbed his chicken leg from the hands of student Li Su and said that today's lesson will be the theory of history and it is important. But at that very second, teacher Ning Fan turned around and noticed someone's hair behind him and got scared because the student Ting Wei approached there quietly. Teacher Ning Fan realized that it looked like his student Ting Wei was already starting to cope very well with her summoned cute monster. And then a cute chicken appeared in front of teacher Ning Fan and he thought that all the summoned monsters were terrible beasts. Teacher Ning Fan asked Ting Wei why she hid behind the hood and said that her clothes were not suitable for training. Teacher Ning Fan asked the student why and from whom she wanted to hide there and said that she had nothing to fear in this place. The summoned monster continued to attack student Ting Wei and she asked her monster to stop touching her and leave her alone. Student Ting Wei told her monster that he could wait for her and she would do it herself and pulled out one of her hairs for the monster. Ting Wei started feeding her pet and she told the monster that he only knows how to eat and can't get enough of her hair, but he's cute. Teacher Ning Fan looked at all this and told Ting Java that her summoned monster, even though he was a baby, had a huge appetite. Ting Wei told teacher Ning Fan that if she knew that she would lose all her hair, she would never have taught the call of life in her life. Teacher Ning Fan told Ting Wei that it was so cute and as long as she was being evaluated there, he would help solve the problem. Teacher Ning Fan thought that there must be a plant for hair growth, but he forgot what it was called and wanted to remember everything. And then teacher Ning Fan looked at Miss Shi and he immediately had an idea and hoped that Miss Shi could help him with his trouble now. Miss Shi saw that Ning Fan was looking at her and froze and thought that something was wrong with him now and he was thinking about something important. Ning Fan thought that Miss Shi is a C-level teacher and she should know about all the news regarding hair growth and everything related to it. And then Miss Shi quickly approached teacher Ning Fan and she asked Ning Fan if he was okay and maybe there was something wrong. Ning Fan asked Miss Shi if she knew information about a plant that could be used to grow hair and he himself forgot. Miss Shi told Ning Fan that there is a place where a plant grows for fast hair growth and many people told her about it. But in the cave where this flower grows, it is guarded by one monster and therefore none of the people dared to go there to find the plant. Miss Shi told Ning Fan that this is a very dangerous place and he should not go there at all because he could easily get hurt in this mountain. Ning Fan told Miss Shi that it was good if it was dangerous there and thought that in their days he felt like he didn't have enough trust points. Ning Fan asked Miss Shi if she wanted to accompany him there and she said that of course she would do it because he himself could not go there. But Miss Shi told Ning Fan that first he had to help her with something and she would now tell her what her request was for him. Ning Fan told Miss Shi that he would do it without any problems because they needed this hair growth and otherwise he would not have gone to such a place. Miss C took a stick and said that when a person practices then he gives his best and then does a variety of things. The students froze in surprise and were shocked and thought what Miss Shi was up to and was teacher Ning Fan really not against this matter? Miss Shi poked Ning Fan with a stick and said that a practitioner must understand the meridians in his body and then everything will be fine with him. Teacher Ning Fan stood there and wondered if Miss Shi really wanted him to help her with exactly these things and it was a shame. After that, Ning Fan and his students returned to the academy and thought that today they would have a useful time and he would teach people. And at that moment, someone behind Ning Fan's teacher told him that he got there early today and they didn't expect him to come to school. The teacher told Ning Fan that it was useless and even if he came early, he would still be fired if his group did not pass the academy test. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that they were all teachers of the academy and they need to give teacher Ning Fan at least some face and remember. Student Zhang Tianyang was furious at the teacher's words about Ning Fan and he asked them what they said and whether they were afraid to get it to the fullest. But teacher Ning Fan approached student Zhang Tianyang and asked him not to worry and said that they would all pass the test with ease. Teacher Ning Fan thought that if it were not for the insufficient number of support points, he would have long ago taken care of all the people. And at that very second, Teacher Yun Ruosher came out to them and said that their time was up and they should all go to the testing ground. Teacher Ning Fan asked all the students not to waste time on these flies and go and get their grade and then return to their class. Teacher Zhang Wenlong thought that this time the test paper was specially for Ning Fan's class and he was in vain hoping for students. All of Ning Fan's students walked into the office along with teacher Yun Ruoshi and sat down and began to prepare for this academy exam. Teacher Yun Ruoshi told all the students that the exam is starting and they must be ready already, otherwise they will all be expelled from the academy. Zhang Tianyang was afraid and thought that they obviously could not answer these questions because they were very insidious and they did not know the answers. Strongman Li was also surprised and thought immediately after looking at these tests why the questions were so difficult and how they could solve them. Disciple Shifeng went to work and said that he was afraid that they were doomed as a group and there was no way to find any answers to these questions. But at the same time, teacher Yun Ruoshi approached the student Shifeng and she told him to raise his head and sit up straight and not be distracted. Teacher Yun Ruoshi said that you cannot whisper during the exam, otherwise she will kick him out of class and he will be immediately expelled from their academy. Teacher Yun Ruoshi told the students that cheating is also forbidden, and if she notices this, she will immediately reward them with 0 marks for it. Teacher Ning Fan was standing near the door at this time and was waiting for the end. All his students would finish this test and hoped that they would all cope with it. And then the bell rang and the lesson was over and teacher Ning Fan really hoped that all his students would come out and be glad that everything was over. And immediately after that, teacher Yun Ruoshi came out into the corridor and she told everyone that the time was up and the exam was over and everyone was free. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told Ning Fan that this test was over and wanted to see if he could continue to be arrogant. Teacher Zhang Wenlong immediately grabbed the paper from Yun Ruoshi's hand and he wanted to see how pathetically Class D failed and he was so happy. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that he would eat the table if these Ning Fan students could pass and suddenly he immediately froze in surprise. Teacher Zhang Wenlong saw with his own eyes that all of Ning Fan's students received good scores on the test and thought how this was possible. Teacher Ning Fan said that it seemed like all his students did very well on the test and he had no doubt about the success of his Class D. Teacher Ning Fan told teacher Zhang Wenlong that he looked disappointed and said that someone said that he wanted to eat the table. Teacher Zhang Wenlong was furious and he began to squeeze the document and said that these Ning Fan disciples were just cheating and it was not fair. Ning Fan asked teacher Zhang Wenlong why he thought it was dishonest and Yun Ruoshi herself was watching all his students. Teacher Zhang Wenlong got angry and began to leave there and did not want to believe that Ning Fan's students coped with this and this is a miracle. Finally, teacher Zhang Wenlong told Ning Fan that they would see how he dealt with him on the field and he was waiting for this moment. Teacher Ning Fan asked his students and wanted to hear the truth from them and asked if they cheated in this test and how they passed it. The students smiled and told teacher Ning Fan that of course they all didn't cheat and with their minds and his knowledge they passed this test. Teacher Ning Fan told the students that it was good and he thought that Diao Yushui's results according to theory were not bad and they were great. Teacher Ning Fan said that student Chu Feng should be the first to receive a mark for the race and he told the teacher that he understood him and would pass it. Teacher Ning Fan said that this track was not suitable for their Class D at all and Xian Sha Academy specifically wanted them to lose. But Zhang Tianyang said that for Chu Feng this should not be a problem at all and disciple Gu Shuiwei wished him good luck in this race. Teacher Zhang Wenlong met with teacher Lu and asked what he was doing there because he did not expect to see him at their Xian Sha Academy. Teacher Lu told Zhang Wenlong that he came there because the Cherry Blossom Academy competition had arrived and he was there to train them all. Teacher Lu Guangyuan asked teacher Zhang Wenlong what he was doing there and he also did not expect to see him at Xian Sha Academy today. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told Lu Guangyuan that the school is starting to charge the D-grade assessment and they still need a speed test track. Teacher Zhang Wenlong asked teacher Lu Guangyuan if he wanted to see how this test would go for student Ning Fan. Teacher Lu Guangyuan said that of course he wanted to look at former Class C teacher Ning Fan and thought that he would fail there. Teacher Lu Guangyuan was wondering how teacher Ning Fan and all his students would cope with this track and he was a failure in life. After that, they left and Chu Feng asked teacher Ning Fan if he knew who the person who spoke with teacher Zhang Wenlong was. Teacher Ning Fan asked Chu Feng not to think about this person and better put all his strength and thoughts into his test and show them the level. The first assessment test of Class D and the teacher was Zheng Ming and this student who was assessed on speed ability was Chu Feng. The assessment is done in the form of a competition and students can do whatever they want but just have to reach the finish line on time. There were spherical objects on the track that would explode when touched, and the explosion would spray paint in all directions. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that student Chu Feng should start when he counts back from 3, and he will already start counting. All the students, together with teacher Ning Fan, supported Chu Feng's friend and wished him good luck and that he quickly reach the finish line. Chu Feng looked at his friends and thought that with such people he could not be afraid of anything and they could always help him with a problem. The man asked Chu Feng if he really wanted to beat him in speed and said that he was a youth and could drink milk better. Chu Feng was angry with the man and wanted to say a few polite words to him in response so that he would know that the young man could hurt him too. And at that very second, teacher Zhang Wenlong said that the countdown was over and the participants could start the race and no longer wait for his command. Chu Feng wanted to shout at the man, but in a second he had already disappeared and Chu Feng was surprised that this man ran so quickly from the start. Chu Feng looked and saw that the man was already far away from him and thought that he was really fast as he himself said. The man said that Chu Feng was really trash and defeating this worthless weakling was as easy as shelling pears and how he agreed to it. But turning around, the man noticed Chu Feng behind him and was very surprised, and the speed of this child was super, and why is he so fast? The man said that they would see how Chu Feng would bypass what he had prepared for him, and this disciple clearly did not expect such a gift now. The man increased his speed and touched all the colored objects and told disciple Chu Feng that he had prepared this gift for him. And at that very second, all colored objects began to explode in front of Chu Feng and he could not understand what it was and how it could happen. The man himself ran past these bursting objects and disciple Chu Feng was far behind him and did not understand that this was planned. Teacher Ning Fan was shocked and said that the man stepped on the balls, increasing the speed and causing an explosion to interfere with Chu Feng now. Chu Feng closed his eyes and paint splashed on him and he thought that this man was very mean and he had just cheated there. Chu Feng opened his eyes and thought that it was mean and the man was very fast and he could not dodge the explosive colors. The man said that garbage will remain garbage forever and after he takes care of Chu Feng, his teacher Ning Fan will be kicked out. The man continued to run towards the finish line, and disciple Chu Feng had already begun to catch up with him little by little, but it was still so difficult for him. Chu Feng noticed that the man was still there and thought that he was still in the race and no one should underestimate the disciple of Ning Fan himself. Chu Feng began to quickly move next to the bursting balls and he walked around them all so as not to get dirty and not fall behind his opponent. Chu Feng was serious about winning this race today and not losing to such a vile person as this scoundrel coward. Student Ting Wei was furious and said that teacher Zhengming always touches the machines and interferes with Chu Feng and it is so unfair. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that as long as he did not spray paint, everything was fine, even if he touched organs it was not a foul. Teacher Zhengming said that so what, Chu Feng was fast and if he does not beat him by at least 30 seconds, he will already be a loser. Chu Feng told teacher Zhengming that he was considered the worst in the class but he was even worse than him because he relied on such petty tricks. Teacher Zhengming said that people like Chu would never be able to defeat him and they would lose to everyone all their lives. Teacher Zhengming began to prepare a strike against Chu Feng and he said that scum like him should already be kicked out of their Xian Sha Academy. Chu Feng looked at this ball that was flying towards him and thought that it was too fast and he would not be able to dodge this attack. And at that moment there was a huge explosion on the racetrack and all the people were in shock and could not understand what could just happen there. Teacher Zhengming was happy and said that now it was all over and this Chu Feng raced well with him but he still lost. And at that very second, teacher Zhengming saw that a silhouette began to appear in the thick of the smoke and he was surprised and thought that this could not be. And when teacher Zhengming did not expect this, Chu Feng appeared there and said that Ning Fan wanted him to learn an important defensive magic. Teacher Ning Fan said that teacher Zhengming raised his hand to the student and asked if this was according to the rules and where the judges were looking. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told Ning Fan on the monitor that he said that while they are on the track, everything is allowed without exception. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told Ning Fan that even if this paint stuck to the protective shield, it would also need to be counted in the end. Teacher Ning Fan said to Zhang Wenlong that these scoundrels will really count if the paint sticks to the protective ball of his student Chu. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told Ning Fan that everything was exactly like this and it was all according to the rules and he understood everything correctly from the very beginning. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told Ning Fan that he had said so, but at that very second Ning Fan ran there and opened Zhang Wenlong's door. Disciple Ting Wei at this time thought what kind of climax it was and where Ning Fan suddenly disappeared because he was just sitting next to her. And at that moment, teacher Ning Fan already spoke through the monitor and said that he had an important message for his student Chu Feng. Teacher Ning Fan told Chu Feng that teacher Zhang Wenlong said that he can do whatever he wants on this route and he is free. Chu Feng thought that if this was really the case, then now teacher Ming would see that he was also capable of very good deeds. And then teacher Ning Fan told Chu Feng to use his emergency landing and Chu Feng understood his teacher and was ready. Chu Feng began to quickly approach teacher Ming and he also continued to run and think that he had already won and it was a matter of time. Teacher Ming heard a sound behind him and he decided to turn around and saw something that made him nervous and turned pale there. Teacher Ming saw that student Chu Feng was falling on top of him and realized that he would not have time to get away from there and he was doomed and the end. And at that moment there was a roar and the whole earth shook there and all the spectators thought that it was very strong and even scary. Everything in this arena was covered with dust and no one could see anything until all this dust from the impact dissipated and disappeared. Chu Feng at this time put his foot on the face of teacher Ming, who was lying on the ground and after such a blow could no longer get up. Chu Feng removed his foot from teacher Ming's face and realized that it was all over with him and he could leave the bastard alone and get out of there. Disciple Chu Feng crossed the finish line and said that he had won this race. Teacher Ming was still lying on the ground and did not get up. Ning Fan's disciples said that Chu Feng won and it was very great and all the critics could only buy away from this stress. Shi Feng raised his hand up and was very happy that Chu Feng shut everyone up and won the race, although at first no one believed in their student. Teacher Ning Fan said that Chu Feng's evaluation was finally over and his student did not let him down and passed 100%. But then teacher Zhang Wenlong approached Ning Fan and said that this does not count and Chu touched cars and attacked the teacher and this is against the rules. Teacher Ning Fan asked Zhang Wenlong if he told him that everything would be fine with them no matter how long they stayed in this arena. But teacher Zhang Wenlong made a surprised face and asked Ning Fan did he talk about this and he can't remember these words. Teacher Ning Fan got very angry and asked Zhang Wenlong if he wanted him to help him remember and light a flame on his finger. But at that very moment someone approached them and he ordered them both to stop and no longer shout at each other in this place. It was teacher Lu Guangyuan and he told Zhang Wenlong that this disciple of Ning Fan did everything according to the rules and he honestly won there. Teacher Lu Guangyuan approached Zhang Wenlong and let them all consider that Ning Fan's disciple passed this test and he agreed. Teacher Lu Guangyuan asked Ning Fan who would have thought that he could teach students such unusual levels and this is the class. Teacher Lu Guangyuan told Ning Fang that he should be promoted to class C and said that but now it was war as before. Zhang Wenlong told Ning Fang that teacher Lu Guangyuan said that they had passed the test and should start a new round of testing. Teacher Ning Fan told Zhang Wenlong that he was ready and they could already start a new round and they were happy about all the academy tests. Teacher Zhang Wenlong announced through the monitor that the students who passed this round should prepare for another test of their academy. And then student Li Su raised his hand and told teacher Ning Fan that he wanted to ask him something and he only had one question. Strongman Li asked teacher Ning Fan if he could be the first and he said that he couldn't wait any longer and was very tired of waiting. Teacher Ning Fan told student Li Xiu that he allowed him to do this and he could go there first and he had great faith in his glutton student. Teacher Ning Fan thought and he hoped that these couple of days of all their training would help him achieve the results that he wants. And then the psychological exercise competition began and Lei Fei's student and Ning Fan's student Li Su entered the ring to evaluate. Teacher Ning Fan asked Li Su to squat for just 10 seconds when it all started and then get up and hit him. Teacher Zhang Wenlong approached his student Lei Fei and said that only he and Dong Lei remained from their class and all hope was for them. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told student Lei Fei that he hopes that he can pass this exam and he will take revenge on this guy Ning Fan. Disciple Lei Fei told teacher Zhang Wenlong that he would strictly follow the evaluation rules and not break them at the time of this battle. The presenter asked all the people to sit down and said that a new exam would begin now and the students would show them a master class. Disciple Lei Fei looked at Li Su and said that he was in no condition to be assessed now and he advised him to give up before it was too late. Li Su asked the teacher to hurry up and complete the assessment and said that he was already hungry and was ready to eat anything now. Fighter Lei Fei jumped on Strongman Li and said that it was too late and then he would give him a little bliss and the scent of his fist. Fighter Lei Fei swung and delivered his blow, but Li Su dodged and he could not hit him and it was unexpected and very fast. Fighter Lei Fei was surprised by this and thought what this Li Su was doing and maybe he didn't want to fight at all and was only forced to do it. Fighter Lei Fei noticed that his opponent Li Su was just squatting at that time and asked him what he was doing and disgracing them there. But Li Su did not pay attention to the fighter Lei Fei at all and simply continued to count to 10, and the fighter was confused by such an idiot. And immediately counting to 10, Li Su stood right in front of the fighter Lei Fei and he could not explain what his opponent was doing and why he was counting. And then Li Su noticed that something began to happen to him and he couldn't believe whether teacher Ning Fan's advice really worked in this battle. Student Li Su's legs began to shake and he thought that it was all for nothing if he so weak-willedly lost to the teacher's sworn enemy. And at that very second, student Li Su swung and wanted to hit fighter Lei Fei, and he asked him to just give up and not disgrace himself in the ring. But suddenly Li Su was able to hit the rival fighter Lei Fei and he himself could not believe that he was able to get such a fast fighter. Fighter Lei Fei flew to the side from such a strong blow and crashed into the wall with all his might and could not understand how he missed this blow from Li. Disciple Li Su also fell to the ground and he could not believe that he was able to deliver his blow to the fighter and was confused but very happy. Fighter Lei Fei was very surprised and thought that didn't Li Su lose consciousness and where did he get such terrible and wall-destroying power? Teacher Zhang Wenlong was shocked and asked fighter Lei Fei what he was doing and asked not to stop the fight and continue this assessment. And fighter Lei Fei told Zhang Wenlong that as a teacher he knows his limit in grading and said that he doesn't really want to say it. Fighter Lei Fei said that he would have to admit it and said that he had already lost in the fight today and that fighter Li Su was really strong. Teacher Zhang Wenlong was very annoyed with him. He thought that this fighter Lei Fei was a weakling and could not cope with some garbage. Li's friend Xu Shifeng was happy and said that they had won and he asked Strongman Li to hurry up and said that he had a surprise. Disciple Shifeng told his friend Strongman Li that he had prepared chicken drumstick for him and by winning he deserved this delicious dinner today. Shifeng held his favorite chicken drumstick next to Strongman Li and asked if he could smell the smell coming from this chicken. Strongman Li smelled the drumstick and he had a beastly appetite and he already wanted to try the taste of juicy chicken again and he laughed evilly. And then Li Su began to throw himself at Shifeng's friend's leg and said that he was mistaken and it was his shin and he shouldn't bite him and that's bad. Shifeng began to run away from his friend and Li Su ran after him and asked him to let him bite this shin because he was very hungry now. And after a couple of minutes, Li Su sat in the room and ate a chicken leg and he felt very good and did not want to stop eating food. Shifeng asked the strongman's friend Li why he became so aggressive and he didn't like it and therefore he would no longer give him delicious food. And then they announced that the assessment would now begin and a student from class D Shifeng should be ready for the test that would begin soon. Shifeng stood very tired after these runs with his friend Li Su and he wondered if it was already his turn to be assessed. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that when the situation is finally resolved his evaluation, his situation as an outstanding teacher will be better. But the guy asked teacher Zhang Wenlong not to worry and he also didn't want this student to take the assessment and was against it. Teacher Zhang Wenlong announced that teacher Ji Zheng and student Shifeng will participate in this spiritual evaluation and they will begin soon. Teacher Ji Zheng told Shifeng that they should resolve all their issues here and now and he did not want to drag out this battle with Shifeng. And at that moment, teacher Ji Zheng directed his magic towards Shifeng and it looked very strong and mesmerized people. Zhang Wenlong thought that Ji Zheng's spiritual magic was not far from actualization and the spiritual attacks were not the same as ordinary people could. Teacher Zhang Wenlong thought and he wanted to see how this time Ning Fan listened to leave Xian Sha Academy but forever. Student Ting Wei said that she was scared and this teacher was the strongest in the school and Shifeng will not win this match and that's all. Teacher Ji Zheng smiled and said that now his magic should go forward in the direction of Shifeng and then everything will be fine. After these words, teacher Ji Zheng sent his big monsters at Shifeng and they walked towards Ning Fan's student Shifeng. Shifeng realized that this was not good and he needed to figure out how to neutralize the strengths of this magician because he was very cool. Shi Feng covered himself with his hand and realized that the strongest fighter was put up against him, and it seemed that Xin Sha Academy wanted them to leave. Shi Feng watched as this magic of teacher Ji Zheng passed through him, and it was difficult to conjure and it took years. Shi Feng realized that this was a fierce attack, and if he stood still and did nothing, then he and his entire group would be expelled from the school. And then suddenly Shi Feng noticed that huge fireballs that Ji Zheng had created appeared in front of him, and they were very dangerous. Teacher Ji Zheng simply pointed his finger and said that his magic would go forward again if Shi Feng thought that this was not enough. And then huge fireballs began to fall on Shi Feng, and he began to quickly run away from there to hide somewhere from this magic. But Shi Feng thought about it and realized that hiding is not the best tactic, and he won't be able to defeat Ji Zheng this way, and therefore he needs to think. Shi Feng continued to run and realized that he needed to find a chance to attack Ji Zheng when he would not expect him to attack. Teacher Ji Zheng smiled and asked Shi Feng if he really wanted to attack him there, and said that it was so funny and he was a comedian. Shi Feng realized that this did not work, and he needed to first distract him in order to deliver his powerful blow and take him by surprise at that second. But teacher Ji Zheng asked Shi Feng if he really wanted to distract him, and said that this could not be done and he was already ready. And then 3 huge ice blocks appeared in front of Shi Feng, and 3 Ji Zheng stood there, and he asked Shi where his distraction was. Teacher Ji Zheng told Shi Feng that he didn't have to try because he still knew all his attacks in advance and it was all useless. And at that very second, teacher Ji Zheng sent very sharp ice spears at Shi Feng, and Shi Feng realized that things were very bad. The ice spears reached Shi Feng, and he could not defend himself from them and lay on the floor and could not get up and continue this unequal battle. Teacher Ji Zheng said that it was so much fun, and he liked the fact that this student Shi Feng did not want to give up and carried himself with dignity. But teacher Ji Zheng said that they should finish the beating, and he was already tired of hitting this dog and he was subjected to. Teacher Ji Zheng began to approach Shi Feng and wanted to deal the final blow to him with the help of his monster and end the fight. The hand of the monster teacher Ji Zheng had almost reached Shi Feng, and he thought that this would all be over and this was the easiest fight. Shi Feng continued to lie on the floor and showed no signs of life and seemed to have passed out after the recent heavy attack from teacher Ji Zheng. But at the moment when the monster's hand almost reached him, Shi Feng suddenly woke up and said that he had to hold on for the sake of his friends. Shi Feng put his hand in front of him and began to defend himself from such a large hand of the monster Ji Zheng, and it was very difficult for him now. But Shi Feng stood up and continued to raise the monster's hand so that it could not crush him, and he screamed and strained with all his might. Shi Feng said that if Li Su's friend won, then how can he lose? And if he loses, then their best class D will be disbanded. Teacher Ji Zheng listened to these words and asked Shi Feng if this was not great news, and asked him to hurry up and lose the fight. And then the huge monster of teacher Ji Zheng grabbed Shi Feng in his hands and wanted to crush this daring and brave student Shi. But suddenly, at that very second, something began to shake in the monster's hand, and he could not completely crush Ning Fan's pathetic disciple Ji Zheng. Teacher Ji Zheng was very surprised by this and thought that it could have happened that his powerful monster could not crush the weakling Shi. But at that moment, Shi Feng crawled out of the monster's hand and sent his battle rays straight into the face of teacher Ji Zheng and told him a surprise. Shi Feng asked teacher Ji Zheng to let him borrow his power for a while and told his magic to move forward without stopping. Teacher Ji Zheng shouted and could not understand what was happening there and how he could make such a mistake, and realized that everything was Shi Feng's plan. Ji Zheng's monster, under the influence of Shi Feng, swung and hit the teacher himself with all his might and was able to accurately hit such a master. Teacher Ji Zheng crashed straight into the ceiling with all his strength and was in great pain and did not want to get up and continue the fight. Teacher Zhang Wenlong called Ji Zheng useless trash, and Ning Fan told him that these students were good, and he was calm. After that, teacher Ji Zheng fell to the floor and he could no longer even move and just lay motionless, and he passed out from this blow. Shi Feng was happy and he said that he won, and if you think about it, wasn't it Li Su's laugh and after Ning Fan received trust points? And Shi Feng actually heard Li Su laugh, and he said that teacher Ning Fan's techniques are so powerful and he doesn't need to leave the academy. Shi Feng approached his best friend Li Su and said that he was so tired after the fight that he could barely stand on his feet and now he would fall. Li Su hugged his friend Shi Feng and said that he needed to eat to replenish his energy and gain strength after such a fight. Feng said about this laughter during the assessment and asked Li Su if he was in it and why he laughed then and what happened to him. Li Su asked Feng if he really heard this, and he fainted during the assessment and thought that he had lost, but after his words he was happy. Disciple Ting Wei ran up to the strongman Li and asked how he could react to it this way and was he really a strange person? Feng told Li Su that this is how it was and said that he himself would arrange a feast in honor of him, and the strongman Li was very happy with such a gift. Teacher Zhang Wenlong was looking at the monitor at this time and said that they were continuing the assessment and the next assessment would be on call. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that as long as he appears, all the victories they previously won will be in vain, and Ning Fan infuriates him so much. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told the man that when he rises he should not make the same mistakes as Li Jizheng, and this is a lesson. The guy told Teacher Zhang Wenlong that it was just Class D and what could they do to such an experienced fighter like himself. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told Leng Xiangyu that in the next assessment, Teacher Wei Feng himself will personally test their class. Student Ting Wei approached Teacher Ning Fan and said that they could already start the test and asked why all the students were so scared. Teacher Ning Fan wished good luck to the monster in taking care of Wei Feng, and he will help his uncontrollable person become smart and save everyone there. Ting Wei's disciple turned around and told Teacher Ning Fan that it was all because of him, and she then tried the call of life and regretted it. The host said that this spiritual evaluation would be conducted by that Teacher Wei Feng, and the guy stood there and was confident in his abilities. The presenter said that they would be testing Class D student Ting Wei, and she thought that she should cope with such a task easily. The student Ting Wei said that everything was ready and began to cast a spell, and immediately she summoned an army of stone golems and she believed in them. The ground under the feet of Ting Wei's disciple began to tremble, and even all the concrete blocks began to break, and Ting Wei's magic worked well. And at that very second, huge stone golems began to appear in front of the enemy, and he realized that she had learned several magics. The guy told Ting Wei that she practiced the basic technique of this level and looks like she has power, but she made a mistake. The guy asked Ting Wei how dare she come there with such little skill, and her teacher is trash that he didn't warn her then. But the guy made a small cut on his finger and said that he would show her the highest summoning technique, and he was sure that she would be delighted. And at the same second when this guy's fiery blood reached the floor, a huge and powerful fiery monster began to appear from there. The huge fire monster was very strong, and he could break even stones with one blow and was not afraid of anything and only wanted to fight. The huge fire monster began to roar loudly, and the student Ting Wei realized that this was a terrifying force, but she was not afraid at all. Ting Wei ordered her stone golems to go forward to attack and not spare this huge monster, and thought that they had a chance in battle. Two huge stone golems grabbed the fire monster from both sides and did not want to let go and wanted to start their attack. But the fire monster didn't like it, and he looked at the golem that was hanging on his hand and couldn't do anything with it yet. And then the fire monster bit off and tore off the hand of the stone golem, and he did not want them to hang on him and interfere with his movement and attack. The fire monster began to shake the stone golems off of him, and he moved his hands in all directions and wanted to remove the golems that were interfering with him. And at that very second the fire monster hit the golems on the ground with all his might, and they broke into pieces, and he was able to become much lighter. The guy told Ting Wei's student that it looked like she was lucky and ordered his fire monster to go straight to Ting Wei's student. The fire monster began to move towards Ting Wei, and he wanted to end this girl once and for all and not leave her a chance to succeed. But the student Ting Wei calmly stood there, and she smiled and immediately pulled out one of her hairs and said that her opponent would now regret it. And Ting Wei began to glow, and it was so bright that even the fire monster covered its eyes so as not to look at such a glow. Student Ting Wei smiled, and she was sure that she would give this opponent a surprise because he thought that she was a weak fighter. And after that, Ting Wei dealt a powerful blow to the face of this fire monster to those whom she had just given birth to, and the opponent did not expect this. The guy was surprised and didn't believe his eyes and asked how this was possible and how Ting Wei managed to make such a monster like this. In front of the opponent stood the huge monster Ting Wei, and he was very powerful, and he had huge hands and he had few weaknesses. Ting Wei's student asked her opponent if he really said that she had a low level of summoning and maybe the teacher himself had dropped out once. And after these words, Ting Wei ordered her monster to destroy her rival because she didn't like him and thought that he was stronger than the others. Teacher Ning Fan was surprised and wondered if Ting Wei was able to learn this too, and realized that it looked like she had been working hard all this time. After the owner's command, the monster Ting Wei swung and now wanted to destroy the fire monster that wanted to attack Ting Wei. The huge monster Ting Wei began to gather all his strength in his fist so that his blow was powerful and knocked out the monster immediately. The fire monster wanted to defend himself from the blow of the Ting Wei monster, but he realized that he would not have time to block his fast-flying hand. And at that moment the monster Ting Wei dealt a powerful blow right to the face of the fire monster, and sparks flew from such a blow from the monster. The fire monster was lying on the ground and recovering from such a blow, and its owner thought that he should not have underestimated the strength of the student Ting. The guy thought that there was a little leeway, but it was still far from his advanced summoning technique, and it was still early. And after that, the owner ordered his fire monster to break this pile of stones that dared to hit a monster like him. The fire monster saw a goal in front of him, and his task was only to immediately break his opponent and do so in order to win. The fire monster brought its blow to the Ting Wei monster and hit him, and a fierce fight began between them, and none of them gave up. The Ting Wei monster took the blows well and stood firmly on his feet, and Ting Wei told him that he must defeat this scoundrel and finish him off. The huge monster Ting Wei began to swing with all his might and again began to gather all his power in his hand so that one blow would be enough. The fire monster no longer wanted to move, and he realized that things were bad, and it seemed that now he could not do anything with the enemy. And at that moment, the huge monster Ting Wei dealt a crushing blow to the fire monster and slammed it into the ground so that it would lose. After such a blow, the fire monster disappeared from there, and the Ting Wei monster completed its task and dealt with its enemy forever. Student Ting Wei was happy and said that they won, and she knew that she could do it and her monster was her good weapon. But her opponent only grinned viciously and immediately made a small cut on his finger and asked Ting Wei if they had defeated the enemy. The guy's blood turned into snakes and they began to crawl on the ground, and he said that the real call is not a game with stones but something cooler. These small snakes began to envelop the huge monster Ting Wei, and the opponent said that this was the original call and it was incredible. Snakes crawled into any place of the huge monster Ting Wei, and at that time he could not do anything with them and was a powerless monster. Ting Wei told her opponent that it was not bad, but he should at least wait a little and not rush, and she has not finished this fight yet. The snakes almost completely enveloped the huge monster Ting Wei, and she still said that this was not the end, and the opponent rejoiced early then. The snakes completely enveloped and did not allow the huge monster Ting Wei to move, and the opponent said that even in this magic there were different levels. Ting Wei looked at all this, and her opponent said that he was doing this so that she would understand what was really the worst thing. The student looked at her huge monster and realized that this opponent of hers was very strong, and at the beginning he did not waste his strength and power. And at that moment, the cute and small monster Ting Wei began to be sucked into this whirlpool of snakes, and he asked her for help and salvation. The cute monster Ting Wei thought that he was doomed and nothing would help him, but Ting Wei began to pull the monster towards her so that he would not disappear. Student Ting Wei hugged her cute monster and asked the huge monster to come back and fight and not spoil all her plans at this time. Teacher Ning Fan looked at this and thought why the summoned beast Ting Wei did not awaken and did not understand what the problem was now. And at that moment, when all the people thought that the student Ting Wei would no longer be able to do anything from the whirlpool of snakes, some beast looked. Ting Wei saw this and realized that not everything was lost, and in vain all the people wrote her off early and thought that nothing would help her there. And at that very second the snakes wanted to cripple Ting Wei, and she thought that she would not be able to defend herself from their attacks and she would suffer from these snakes. But when Ting Wei didn't expect this at all, her cute monster hit this snake who wanted to attack and saved its owner from harm. After this blow, the cute monster fell to the ground and could no longer get up and help his owner, and he suffered from this fall. Student Ting Wei turned around and asked her cute monster why she was so stupid and said that this was not her match and slaughter. Ting Wei's student was angry about this, and her opponent had already become almost invulnerable and watched the actions of the stupid woman and did not want to give up. Ting Wei was angry with this scoundrel and asked how he dared to hit her cute and harmless monster and said that it was so bad. But her opponent only watched her, and after her words he sent his dangerous snakes in her direction and thought that this should be enough for her. The snakes wanted to attack the student Ting Wei, and she was not afraid of anything and only watched when these stinking snakes came closer. And when these dangerous snakes came almost close to the student Ting Wei, she dodged their attacks and did not allow herself to be broken by the villain. After this, Ting Wei began to quickly run towards her enemy in order to personally deal with this vile coward without any magic. Ting Wei ran to her opponent and said that now they will decide everything there, and waved her knife and made a cut on her opponent. But Ting Wei looked at the place where she had now cut and was in shock and could not find words for this and what was happening there. The student Ting Wei saw that snakes had already accumulated in the place where she cut with a knife, and they quickly healed this wound of her opponent. And after that, the opponent began to pull the student Ting Wei by her hair, and she could not do anything and just screamed, and she was in so much pain. The opponent began to raise Ting Wei and said that she really had a temperament, but alas, she was doomed to failure and it was not his fault. Ting Wei told her opponent that this might not be the case, and suddenly, immediately after these words, she cut her hair and freed herself. The cute monster Ting Wei was lying on the ground at that time and could not help his owner, but he wanted to save her and defeat that enemy. Ting Wei's hair began to fall on this cute monster, and he knew that he was useless and wanted to close his eyes and not look at the torment. And at that moment when Ting Wei's hair fell on her cute monster, it began to glow, and it was an incredibly bright light, like from the sun. Ting Wei's rival looked at this glow and could not understand what was happening there now and why it began to glow so much out of nowhere. Disciple Ting Wei also looked at this light and could not explain what was happening there and where such a bright and warm light could come from. Teacher Ning Fan thought what it was, and could it be that the one he was thinking about wanted to wake up, and it was great and just in time for class. In this bright glow, a silhouette began to appear, and it looked like a phoenix bird, and people were wondering what kind of strong monster this was. But after a couple of seconds, that same cute and harmless monster Ting Wei appeared in this place, and such a powerful aura emanated from him. Teacher Ning Fan and student Ting Wei froze in surprise and couldn't believe their eyes, and could it really be that cute monster? Ting Wei's rival told her that now everything would be over and that no one would be able to help her, and sent many snakes towards the student. The snakes first wanted to deal with the cute monster Ting Wei, but he very cleverly ran away from them and did not allow them to harm themselves and bite him. The cute monster Ting Wei jumped high and headed straight to where Ting Wei's opponent's eyes were visible, and everyone didn't know what he was doing there. Ting Wei's opponent was shocked because he noticed that this cute monster was almost close to his weak point, and he did not expect it. The cute monster Ting Wei immediately struck her opponent, and he began to fall down, and the monster broke through his impenetrable defense from his snakes. The opponent collapsed to the ground and asked his snakes to stop this monster because he didn't like him at all and ruined all his plans. The opponent started screaming and asked his snakes to come to him quickly and stop this vile chicken from letting Ting Wei defeat him. But the cute monster Ting Wei continued to cause her opponent all sorts of trouble, and he sat on his head and began to strike. A hematoma appeared on the head of his opponent Ting Wei, and he fell to the ground and asked the cute monster Ting Wei to stop attacking him. The cute monster Ting Wei returned to his owner's shoulder, and Ting Wei was glad that she had such a brave and fearless monster like him. Teacher Zhang Wenlong called all the people a bunch of idiots and said that they can't defeat a few trash students, and shame on them. Yun Ruosher asked Teacher Yin to evaluate the next round and immediately say whether they have a chance to defeat the students from this group. Teacher Yin asked Teacher Zhang Wenlong to let him just evaluate this round and said that he knew a lot of information about them. Teacher Zhang Wenlong turned around and asked Teacher Yin what he could find out that could help them defeat these brave Ning students. Teacher Yin told Zhang Wenlong that Ning Fan's magic shown to him last time during training was already at a completely different level. Teacher Yin asked Teacher Zhang Wenlong to let him at least try, and Zhang asked him what he planned to do with him. Teacher Yin said that during the evaluation he will spare no effort, but the evaluation will lead to accidents and he will take all of them upon himself. Zhang Wenlong told Teacher Yin that since he was willing to contribute to the assessment, he would agree and hoped that he would do everything. Teacher Yin asked Zhang Wenlong to be confident and said that he would not let him down and everything would be fine and he would be very happy in the end. And after that, Teacher Zhang Wenlong announced that now this grade is an attack magic grade and the students should be ready. Zhang Wenlong said that the first participant was the class teacher Dong Lei, and everyone knew that this teacher was strong in martial arts. And against him, Class D student Gu Su Wei came up for evaluation, and everyone knew that she was unremarkable and was a weak fighter. But then Ning Fan came to the microphone and asked Gu Shui Wei just not to worry, and she uses little magical power and that's bad. Ning Fan told Gu Shuiwei that it was possible for her to use so many types of offensive magic and there were also room for surprises. Ning Fan asked Dong Lei to save face and the teacher told Ning Fan that he was lucky then, but today luck is no longer on his side. Teacher Zhang Wenlong asked the students to start grading and teacher Dong Lei said that he would try to do just that first. And after that, teacher Dong Lei sent his storm whirlwind towards Gu Shuiwei, but she did not move and just stood there in place. And Zhang Tianyang watched this fight and was worried about Gu Shuiwei, and he only asked her to dodge quickly and said that she would suffer now. Gu Shuiwei confidently continued to stand in place and told Zhang Tianyang that there was no time for this and she herself knows what she is doing there. Gu Shuiwei immediately started using the ice rain and lightning fury technique and two techniques at the same time. That's cool. Gu Shuiwei thought that what teacher Ning said was true and her spell speed was her greatest strength as a fighter. Gu Shuiwei used the technique to manifest through him so that she could stop the storm vortex directed by teacher Dong. But teacher Dong Lei also did not want to lag behind her and he destroyed her defense against his blows and Gu Shuiwei realized that he was also very strong. Teacher Dong Lei told Gu Shuiwei that her speed was indeed not that slow and it had to be recognized like all fighters. Teacher Dong Lei began to prepare his attack and he said that he was interested and wanted to see how she would dodge it. Gu Shuiwei noticed that something began to happen to the ground above her and she was shocked and thought that this was really an electric chase. Teacher Dong Lei told Gu Shuiwei that this was not all that he could imagine her and sent strange red waves in her direction. Gu Shuiwei covered with her hand this red beam that Dong Lei sent her and thought what kind of incomprehensible thing it was and what he wants. And then the huge ice of Gu Shuiwei began to melt and she thought that these were red rays in order to pay such things in the cold. And Gu Shuiwei noticed that in her protective ice barrier she was immediately delighted to see a huge hole where anyone could crawl through there. Gu Shuiwei looked to the side and was surprised because she clearly did not expect to see this and wanted to see her enemy and talk. But the place where teacher Dong Lei stood was empty and Gu Shuiwei wondered where he could have gone in the midst of their battle and what happened to him. Teacher Dong Lei at this time was quietly and unnoticed hiding behind an ice block and had already begun to prepare to strike his heavy blow on the student. Teacher Dong Lei had almost landed his blow on Gu Shuiwei, but she still had not seen his attack and did not think that he could be there. Teacher Dong Lei opened his hand and used a very dangerous technique on student Gu Shuiwei and afterward did not regret the student at all. Gu Shuiwei received such a heavy blow and she froze in place and did not move for a couple of seconds and it was a very sneaky blow from her back. After this, teacher Dong Lei told Gu Shuiwei that he felt like Ning Fan didn't teach her properly and she was a weak fighter. After such a blow, student Gu Shuiwei fell to the ground and stopped moving, and Zhang Tianyang got scared and said that it was against the rules. Zhang Tianyang kept saying that it was against the rules and that teacher Dong Lei used a sharp weapon and it was so mean. Zhang Wenlong said that it was just a small incident during the evaluation and teacher Long failed to withdraw his hand in time. Zhang Wenlong asked them not to make a fuss about this and at that moment teacher Ning Fan ran to him and grabbed him by the scruff of the neck. Teacher Ning Fan asked Zhang Wenlong what he told Dong Lei before the fight and said that he was sure that it was Zhang who provoked him. Zhang Wenlong told Ning Fan that he had to find something against him before threatening him and he had no evidence. Ning Fan asked teacher Zhang Wenlong to hurry up and quickly stop the evaluation first, because now it didn't matter at all. But at that moment, teacher Lu Guangyuan approached them and asked them to stop fighting again and removed Ning Fan's hand from Zhang Wenlong. Teacher Lu Guangyuan held Ning Fang's hand and said that this would indeed happen during the entire assessment and this is a fact. Teacher Lu Guangyuan looked at the arena and told Ning Fan that it was incredible but it seemed like his student didn't want to lose in the arena. Teacher Ning Fan turned his head and looked at the arena and noticed that student Gu Shuiwei stood up and he asked if she was hurt. Disciple Gu Shuiwei had one of her eyes damaged and she told Ning Fan that he didn't have to worry about her and everything was very good with her. Teacher Zhang Wenlong looked at them and told Gu Shuiwei that this was enough and she was unable to participate in this test. Gu Shuiwei said that everything was true but he talks so much and this will only happen if teacher Dong Lei himself loses the fight. Gu Shuiwei told everyone that she was fine and they should continue the assessment as quickly as possible and bring it to the end. Teacher Dong Lei told Gu Shuiwei that then he had no choice and he would be forced to do what he did not want to do at first and changed his mind. Dong Lei attacked Gu Shuiwei and said that since she did not want to give up, he must now personally finish this fight. Teacher Dong Lei used the technique and created a weapon for himself from fragments of stones like a club and wanted to hit Gu Shuiwei with it. Gu Shuiwei looked at how Teacher Dong Lei wanted to hit her and realized that she had to defend herself if she did not want to die in battle. Teacher Dong Lei hit Gu Shuiwei with all his might, but she managed to create a shield of ice for herself and he could not hurt her as much as in the beginning. Gu Shuiwei was thrown a couple of meters from such a blow and she immediately pulled herself together and realized that she needed to respond with something to the teacher's blows. And Gu Shuiwei immediately used her fighting technique and sent sharp ice spikes towards Teacher Dong Lei and fought back. Teacher Dong Lei froze in surprise because he did not expect that she would be able to respond to him with her attack and it seemed that he would not be able to repel. And at that same second, all the ice spears reached Teacher Dong Lei and all the people could not believe that the wounded Gu Shuiwei was standing well. Gu Shuiwei herself was also surprised and wondered if her spears had reached the target and realized that it was great and she was still in the game. Teacher Dong Lei was frozen in place and many people were sure that he would not be able to continue this fight with Gu Shuiwei. But suddenly Teacher Dong Lei burst into flames and asked Gu Shuiwei if she really wanted to attack him with petty tricks. Teacher Dong Lei smiled and told Gu Shuiwei that she could continue to dream of defeating him and it was not that easy. Gu Shuiwei realized that the ice magic was completely contained by his fire and decided to use another technique and sent a flash. Gu Shuiwei sent lightning bolts directly at Teacher Dong Lei, but he easily defended himself from all of her attacks and wondered if this was all. Teacher Dong Lei told Gu Shuiwei that her strength was only the rapid use of magic and her arsenal was limited. Teacher Dong Lei told Gu Shuiwei that now he would show her the most clear example of how to use magic and directed the rays. Gu Shuiwei began to defend herself from this battle ray from Teacher Dong Lei, but every time it was more difficult for her to defend herself and she was weak. And at that same second there was a huge roar and everything around was covered in smoke because the beam reached Gu Su's ice shield and it was a reaction. Gu Shuiwei thought that she could no longer defend herself in any way and she realized that there was no way she could defeat this Teacher Dong Lei. Tears involuntarily rolled down from Gu Shuiwei's eyes and she realized that she had never felt so weak and only wanted to run away. But at that moment, Gu Shuiwei seemed to feel like a child and someone approached her and she asked if it was her own dad. The man walked into a dark room and asked Gu Shuiwei if she had failed again and disappointed her own father again. Father told Gu Shuiwei that if she is like this, can she be part of the Gu family and his daughter should have the best skills in the world. The father told Su Wei that her marriage with Zhe Yang had already been arranged and said that she was the worst in the worst class and could not heal anyone. But teacher Ning Fan started yelling at Gu Shuiwei and told the student to fight and said that she could still win and she was strong. And immediately after these words of teacher Ning Fan, Gu Shuiwei opened her eyes and came to her senses and realized that she needed support. Gu Shuiwei realized that she had a chance to defeat Teacher Dong Lei and she just needed to believe in her strength and not doubt her skills. Teacher Dong Lei told Gu Shuiwei that she had already given up and he was wondering why she stood up again and did not give up in battle. Gu Shuiwei exhaled and thought that it seemed that Teacher Dong Lei was completely underestimating her and this was to her advantage and she could surprise him. Gu Shuiwei looked menacingly at Teacher Dong Lei and said that she would never admit defeat and would fight until the end to the death. Teacher Dong Lei told Gu Shuiwei that all she can use against him is an ice wall and he already knows about her skills. Gu Shuiwei told Master Dong Lei that he was right and she started using the ice wall technique to defend against his attack. Teacher Dong Lei was angry and asked the student to stop fighting him like that and better give up so that she wouldn't get hurt again. But Gu Shuiwei did not listen to Teacher Dong Lei's words at all and the student continued to use the ice wall technique and believed in herself. And at that moment, Gu Shuiwei put a heavy and very strong wall in front of her and thought that Teacher Dong Lei would be difficult to pass. But Dong Lei told Gu Shuiwei that this wall would not save her and began to quickly run towards her with his furious and fiery attack. Teacher Dong Lei broke Gu Shuiwei's defense in a second and broke through the ice wall and ran straight towards the student to finish her off. But Gu Shuiwei was calm and as soon as Teacher Dong Lei approached her, she again began to build an ice wall there. Teacher Dong Lei noticed that a huge ice block began to fall on him from above and he thought that this student could fight back anyone. And at that very second, a huge ice wall fell straight into Dong Lei, and the teacher did not expect this, and Gu Shuiwei now took him by surprise. But Gu Shuiwei didn't want to stop at all, and she continued to use the ice wall technique again and nothing else. Teacher Dong Lei thought that this student tried so hard, and she didn't seem to understand that all her attacks were useless in their battle. Teacher Dong Lei broke the ice wall and jumped straight into Gu Shuiwei and said that now everything will be over and no one will save her. Teacher Dong Lei swung and struck a strong blow at Gu Shuiwei, and she felt his power and the fact that he knew so many techniques and skills. Gu Shuiwei flew to the side and thought that Dong Lei thought that after such blows she would give up, but he was very mistaken about her. Teacher Dong Lei wanted to finish off this arrogant but brave student, and he was already tired of striking, but she again built a wall. Gu Shuiwei continued to create ice walls without stopping and thought that Dong Lei should not think that it was all so useless. Gu Shuiwei surrounded Teacher Dong Lei with a wall and began to put another wall on top, and the teacher could not understand what she was planning there. And at that very second, Gu Shuiwei seemed to have locked Teacher Dong Lei in an icebox and wanted to see how he would get out of there. But Teacher Dong Lei, on the contrary, got angry and told Gu Shuiwei that he had already told her that ice magic was useless against the master. And immediately after these words, Teacher Dong Lei smashed all the huge ice columns of Gu Shuiwei with one blow and quickly got out of there. Zhang Tianyang watched this fight and told all the students that he could not see through the fog that was due to the ice and fire in the arena. Teacher Dong Lei told Gu Shuiwei that with skills as insignificant as hers, she could only delay him and not attack him there. But it was at this moment that Gu Shuiwei changed her technique and already began to use thunderstorm, and Dong Lei was surprised by such a change in her fighting technique. Gu Shuiwei sent lightning directly to the place where Teacher Dong Lei stood and thought that this should be enough to defeat him. Teacher Ning Fan said that Gu Shuiwei used water vapor to create electricity but realized that it would only hurt Gu Shui. Everywhere in the arena it was very foggy, and after a couple of minutes the silhouettes of the fighters who were evaluating and fighting there became visible. The smoke began to clear and Teacher Dong Lei stood in the arena, and he had already suffered greatly from this blow and slowly began to come to his senses. Student Gu Shuiwei also suffered greatly from her thunder technique, and she also began to come to her senses and hoped that this would be enough for him. And at that very second, Gu Shuiwei rushed down and all the students realized that her friend had no strength left and she could barely stand on her feet. And immediately after that, student Gu Shuiwei fell to the ground and she had completely passed out and devoted all her strength to the thunder technique. And after a couple of minutes, Teacher Dong Lei and Gu Shuiwei both fell to the floor and they were very tired, and it looked like the fight was over between them. Zhang Wenlong told Teacher Lu Guangyuan that student Gu Shuiwei fell and she failed the assessment and it was all over and Ning Fan lost. Zhang Tianyang quickly ran up to Teacher Zhang Wenlong and said that it was obvious that Gu Shuiwei had passed this test and won. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told Zhang Tianyang that student Gu Shuiwei couldn't even stand up, and doesn't that mean she lost the fight? Zhang Tianyang said that this was nonsense and wanted to attack Zhang Wenlong, but Teacher Ning Fan stopped him and asked him to calm his nerves. Zhang Tianyang agreed with Teacher Ning Fan and he said that they better go and check how Gu Shuiwei is doing there. Zhang Tianyang left there and Zhang Wenlong asked if the student dared to raise his hand against the teacher and was not afraid that Zhang would be expelled. And at that moment, Teacher Zhang Wenlong wanted to leave there but couldn't do it and realized that Ning Fan had clearly done it and was interfering with him there. Ning Fan swung his weapon and almost hit Teacher Zhang Wenlong, and he was very scared and did not know why he did this. Ning Fan touched his finger to the side of his terrible monster and he asked Zhang Wenlong not to worry and everything was fine there. Ning Fan put a barrier in front of Teacher Zhang Wenlong and did not let him leave and said that today he will help him stretch his bones. But then Teacher Lu Guangyuan appeared in front of Ning Fan and told him that in the past he was not such a cruel person and kind. Teacher Lu Guangyuan told Ning Fan that a lot of time has passed since the incident with his family, and is he still stuck in the past? Ning Fan asked Teacher Lu Guangyuan not to pretend that they were close and he would always wave his hands in front of him and get in the way. But Teacher Lu Guangyuan asked Ning Fan to calm down and said that his student Gu Shuiwei had already gotten up and he should think about her. Teacher Lu Guangyuan looked at the monitor and asked Zhang Wenlong if there were any other objections when Ning Fan's student passed the exam. Teacher Lu Guangyuan repeated his question and asked Zhang Wenlong if there were any other objections, and he said that they had no objections. Zhang Wenlong thought that it was bad, and how did Yun Ruoshi's teacher dare to lie to him about Ning Fan not being fully recovered yet. At this time, Zhang Tianyang entered the arena and asked Gu Shuiwei how she was feeling and what kind of help she needed, and he was so worried. Zhang Tianyang told Gu Shuiwei that they should hurry up and he should take her quickly to the infirmary and the doctors will help her there immediately. Zhang Tianyang took Gu Shuiwei on his back and she asked the student if she passed this exam, and Zhang Tianyang said that she passed it. Gu Shuiwei finally exhaled and was happy and told Zhang Tianyang that it was good, and immediately after that she already closed her eyes. Teacher Zhang Wenlong informed everyone that next comes the defense assessment and the students must be ready for this test and everything will begin soon. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that the evaluator of this exam will be Teacher Feng Chang, and he himself will personally take the test from student Ning Fan. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that the student who will now be evaluated is a student from Group D Xia Tiangu, and he was a beginner. Teacher Ning Fan supported his student Xia Tiangu and asked him to just go there and remember what he had learned and show them the class. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that by withstanding attacks for an hour or knocking out the teacher, that person will be given a pass. Zhang Wenlong thought that Feng Chang has rare strength and the master's spell gives him the opportunity to increase his strength 50 times. Zhang Wenlong thought that Feng Chang was invincible, and the teacher asked Xia Tiangu if he was ready to fight him. Teacher Feng Chang told Xia Tiangu that if he was ready they could already start, and immediately attacked him with his attack and technique. Teacher Lu Guangyuan looked at this battle and he was surprised and thought that he did not expect that the battle would be so interesting and exciting. Teacher Zhang Wenlong also looked at this fight and he was surprised because he also did not expect that Xia Tiangu would look good there. And Teacher Ning Fan was yawning at that time because from the very beginning he was completely confident in his student and they were preparing for battle together. Ning Fan watched as Master Feng Chang continued to attack Xia Tiangu, but he put his best protective barrier in front of him. Teacher Feng Chang thought that this student had skills and thought that while he remained enchanted, he continued to gain strength. Xia Tiangu asked Teacher Feng Chang if this is the first time he got so angry and maybe he wants to find a person to stall for time. Teacher Feng Chang began to attack Xia Tiangu's protective barrier even harder, but he asked the teacher not to lose heart and stay strong. And at that very second, Xia Tiangu put a chair there and sat down in it with a book in his hands and a glass of wine and told Feng Chang that they would continue. Teacher Feng Chang thought that this guy was happy early and he will see when in half an hour his strength will be 50 times higher. Xia Tiangu thought that this strength could not even compare to the strength of the teacher used during practice, and he was very strong. 2 days earlier, Ning Fan had told Xia Tiangu that trash Feng Chang had already learned how to defend himself, and isn't it time for him to learn how to attack? Teacher Ning Fan told Xia Tiangu that now he will see how far he can expand the shield so that his defense will be even better. Xia Tiangu asked Teacher Ning Fan why he should expand his shield, because then it would become thin and when expanded, the protection would drop sharply. Teacher Ning Fan told Xia Tiangu that if he wants to not only always defend but also attack, then he must do what he tells him. Xia Tiangu agreed with Teacher Ning Fan and said that he believed in him and he could always give useful advice for winning the exam. Xia Tiangu's student began to expand his protective barrier and Teacher Ning Fan began to notice that he was slowly able to do this. Xia Tiangu told Teacher Ning Fan that this was his limit and he could no longer expand the protective barrier and it was so impossible. Teacher Ning Fan told student Xia Tiangu that it was not bad and he should try again, and his protective barrier began to crack. And after a couple of seconds, Xia Tiangu's protective barrier broke and he immediately asked the teacher what about attacks and whether he would teach it. Ning Fan's teacher told Xia Tiangu that he should wait, and when he can hold his guard, he will teach him how to attack all these enemies. Xia Tiangu told the teacher that he would try to do it and began to try his best and train his protective barrier skills. At this time, Zhang Wenlong quickly ran into the infirmary along with Gu Shuiwei and asked Dr. Li Qiao to help him, and she was injured. Dr. Li Qiao turned around and asked Zhang Tianyang which of all Ning Fan's disciples was injured and how she could have gotten this injury. Zhang Tianyang asked Dr. Li Qiao to come and help Gu Shuiwei and said that she would not last long after such serious injuries. Dr. Li Qiao was shocked to see the students and asked Zhang Tianyang to hurry up and take Gu Shuiwei to her treatment room. Dr. Li Qiao came into this room and asked all her other friends to wait outside, and they agreed and waited for Gu Shui. Dr. Li Qiao asked who could have beaten Gu Shuiwei to a terrible state and said that she would inform the leader to close the school. Gu Shuiwei told Dr. Li Qiao that the reason she was so injured was because of her own stubbornness and courage. Dr. Li Qiao told Gu Shuiwei that she was not suitable for undercover work and she would send someone else to guide her into this league. Dr. Li Qiao wanted to leave there to tell the right people about it, but Gu Shuiwei immediately grabbed her hand and asked her not to go. Gu Shuiwei told Dr. Li Qiao that she didn't want to and she couldn't go back, and asked Dr. Li to listen to all her words first. The students were still waiting for this operation to end and Gu Shuiwei would be healthy and they could congratulate her on winning the test. Student Ting Wei told Zhang Tianyang that he has no choice and she knows that he is worried but must be prepared for his assessment. Zhang Tianyang told Ting Wei that until the next round, he will work very hard and will be ready and win everyone in this tournament. Zhang Tianyang told Ting Wei that the fact was that those scoundrels from Xian Sha Academy deliberately arranged this with Gu Shuiwei and would pay. And at that moment, the door to the operating room was opened by Dr. Li Qiao, and she asked the students for forgiveness that this operation had taken a long time. Dr. Li Qiao brought her friend Gu Shuiwei to the students and she suffered so much after the battle and was completely bandaged. Zhang Tianyang asked Dr. Li Qiao how Gu Shuiwei was feeling and maybe she needed special medicine for this now. Dr. Li Qiao said that the situation does not look good and her internal injuries are serious and she may end up losing her sight. Zhang Tianyang got angry and told Zhang Wenlong and Dong Lei that they would both pay for this and he would make them suffer after what they did. Dr. Li Qiao looked at how Zhang Tianyang was behaving and she immediately thought, is this student really dating the cute Gu Shuiwei? At this time, in the arena, student Xie Tiangu was fighting with the teacher and said that half an hour had already passed and why shouldn't he admit defeat already? Teacher Feng Chang told Xie Tiangu that the game is just beginning and for some reason he is always in a hurry somewhere, and why is he in a hurry somewhere? And at that very second, Teacher Feng Chang became very strong and muscles began to appear on him and said that now he will receive from him. But Xie Tiangu looked at all this and told Teacher Feng Chang that it was all useless and he would not be able to break through his strong defense. Teacher Feng Chang told Xie Tiangu that he was really forcing him to use 50 times more power and that was already good. And then Teacher Feng Chang dealt a powerful blow to Xie Tiangu's protective and very strong barrier and said that now the time has come. And after that, a huge shock wave was heard in the arena and all the people were amazed that the teacher had such powerful strength and power. Cracks appeared in Xie Tiangu's protective barrier and he asked Teacher Feng Chang how his strength suddenly increased so much, and that's cool. But Teacher Feng Chang told Xie Tiangu that his reaction was too slow and swung his hand to deliver an even more powerful blow. Teacher Feng Chang prepared to hit Xie Tiangu and thought that this student laughed at him so much and now he will regret it all. But Teacher Feng Chang couldn't hit Xie Tiangu's protective barrier and was surprised why he couldn't hit that weakling from the academy. Xie Tiangu smiled and told Teacher Feng Chang that his mighty strength was gradually increasing, and did he really think that he didn't know about it? Xie Tiangu told Teacher Feng Chang that he gave him a chance to admit defeat then and asked him not to blame him later for cruelty in battle. Teacher Feng Chang told Xie Tiangu that he was talking nonsense and he would immediately go to the next world and he underestimated his energy. Teacher Feng Chang swung his hand and wanted to break the protective barrier, but at that time student Xie Tiangu said goodbye to the teacher and this is the end. And at that moment, Xie Tiangu sent his combat beam directly at Teacher Feng Chang and it hit him and the teacher flew away somewhere to the side. After that, Teacher Feng Chang fell to the ground with a roar and was in great pain and did not expect an attack from this disciple Xie Tiangu. Xie Tiangu told the people from Xian Sha Academy that they should take the strongest class with them so that they could test his strength. Xie Tiangu realized that the advanced defense taught by Teacher Ning Fan was not so bad and the feeling of victory was very pleasant. Teacher Ning Fan looked at Xie Tiangu and immediately received trust points from him and thought that he was a talented but very stupid student. Disciple Chu Feng approached Xie Tiangu and said that it was very good and he was great and easily dealt with Teacher Feng. Xia Tiangu told Chu Feng that of course he was great and asked if he didn't know who he was and what great potential he had. Xia Tiangu hugged Chu Feng's disciple and asked him to come to him and said that he would have a new car and would give Chu Feng a ride. But then teacher Ning Fan approached Xia Tiangu and hit him on the head and said that he would show off after he fully trained. Xia Tiangu was shocked because he did not expect that teacher Ning Fan would hit him, and teacher Lu Guangyuan saw it all and laughed in the arena. Teacher Lu Guangyuan realized that the D-class students taught by Ning Fan were excellent kids and they did a good job. But Feng Chang approached teacher Lu Guangyuan and said that the students of class D had broken the rules of this round and they should not win. Feng Chang told teacher Zhang Wenlong that this round was to evaluate the protective barrier, and Xia Tiangu attacked him with a technique. But teacher Zhang Wenlong told Feng Chang to get out of there, and he said that he had already objected enough and it was so useless. Zhang Wenlong told the students that passing the last round was just luck and they would definitely fail the school's final assessment. Teacher Ning Fan turned around and told Zhang Wenlong that they passed all these rounds with ease and he did not doubt his students. Teacher Ning Fan told Zhang Wenlong that this could not happen, and after all these defeats his pride was hurt so much. Ning Fan asked teacher Zhang Wenlong to just remain calm and there were no problems in life that could not be solved. Teacher Zhang Wenlong asked Ning Fan not to be so confident and said that he would personally evaluate him in the next round, and he was happy about it. And at the same second when Ning Fan wanted to hit teacher Zhang Wenlong, Lu Guangyuan approached them and said that he did not know about this. Teacher Lu Guangyuan said that if Zhang Wenlong participates, he will take his place and for now will be the judge in this round between friends. Ning Fan looked at teacher Lu Guangyuan and wondered why he always decided everything and approached everyone at the most inopportune moment. There was one last assessment left, and the grading teacher was Zhang Wenlong and the student was Zhang Tianyang from teacher Ning Fan's class. Teacher Lu Guangyuan asked student Zhang Tianyang to come to the arena and get ready because they would soon start this exam. Teacher Lu Guangyuan announced through the microphone that if student Zhang Tianyang showed up within a minute, she would be disqualified. Teacher Zhang Wenlong was waiting for his opponent in the ring, but he still did not come and he did not know what could happen to Zhang Tianyang. Teacher Zhang Wenlong looked at Ning Fan and said that this student of his was scared and could not even get into the ring with him. Ning Fan realized that Zhang Tianyang had not yet returned after he sent Gu Shuiwei to the infirmary and hoped that everything was fine. Teacher Ning Fan asked disciple Chu Feng to go and check where Zhang Tianyang was now and if everything was fine with him and tell him. Chu Feng wanted to get out of there, and teacher Zhang Wenlong said that 30 seconds had already passed and now class D would definitely be disbanded immediately. Disciple Chu Feng just wanted to open the door to call Zhang Tianyang to the arena, but he froze in surprise and saw something interesting. Chu Feng was able to dodge at the last moment and this door flew past his head at high speed and someone quickly broke it. Zhang Tianyang stood behind the door and he broke the iron door with one blow and was furious and wanted to take revenge on everyone for the sweet Gu Shuiwei. Zhang Tianyang angrily looked at teacher Zhang Wenlong and told him that he was there for him to personally evaluate his knowledge. After that, everything was ready for the evaluation to begin and the spotlights were turned on and all the spectators were waiting for the start of this very interesting battle. Teacher Ning Fan was glad that his student Zhang Tianyang appeared there on time and said that it was time to test their abilities. Teacher Zhang Wenlong asked Zhang Tianyang not to make all the spectators wait for him and asked if he was not taught such things. Zhang Tianyang was angry and told teacher Zhang Wenlong that he could wait a little longer and said that it would all be over soon. Teacher Lu Guangyuan said that everything was ready and they could already start the assessment, because both the student and the teacher were ready and waiting for the start. Teacher Zhang Wenlong smiled and thought that this would be an easy fight for him because he had fought with stronger fighters before. Zhang Wenlong told disciple Zhang Tianyang that he was giving him one chance and he could admit defeat now so that he would not beat him there. Zhang Tianyang told teacher Zhang Wenlong that he should know that he will not only pass the test but will also make him pay for everything. And immediately with the start of the gong, Zhang Tianyang immediately rushed at teacher Zhang Wenlong and thought that this bastard Zhang should get. Zhang Tianyang quickly ran up to teacher Zhang Wenlong and punched him straight in the face and he immediately felt this powerful blow from this student. Teacher Zhang Wenlong was thrown a couple of meters away from such a blow, and he realized that he should not underestimate the student of the scoundrel Ning Fan. Teacher Zhang Wenlong got angry after this blow and told Zhang Tianyang that now he will pay him for this blow and die in the ring. But Teacher Zhang Wenlong noticed that while he was speaking, Zhang Tianyang had already begun to run and almost came close to him to attack. Zhang Tianyang delivered his strong blow, but Teacher Zhang Wenlong immediately put up a block and did not allow it to hit him and defended himself. Zhang Tianyang missed Teacher Zhang Wenlong, and he was glad that he was able to dodge and his reaction was still with him. Teacher Zhang Wenlong smiled and told Zhang Tianyang that now he recognized his technique and he would now show him a master class in combat. Teacher Zhang Wenlong immediately hit Zhang Tianyang on his leg, and he said that the student was an ordinary boxer and he saw through his attacks. Zhang Tianyang began to fall down, and Teacher Zhang Wenlong told him that his strength was weakening and he could easily defeat him in this fight. Teacher Zhang Wenlong swung and wanted to strike with a powerful blow, and he told Zhang Tianyang that he was a loser just like his teacher. Teacher Zhang Wenlong hit student Zhang Tianyang in the stomach and said that against him he was nothing and he didn't even feel him. From such a strong blow, Zhang Tianyang flew up, and Teacher Zhang Wenlong told him that he was so vulnerable and ridiculous. Zhang Tianyang began to fall back into the ring, and Teacher Zhang Wenlong was already ready to meet him there in the ring with his blow. Teacher Zhang Wenlong asked Zhang Tianyang if he really wanted to take revenge on him and said that he could just dream about this desire. Zhang Tianyang wanted to throw his punch, but Teacher Zhang Wenlong immediately kicked him and said that he could not hit him. Zhang Tianyang crashed into the wall from such a blow, and Teacher Zhang Wenlong thought that although his blow and hands were strong, he was not ready. Teacher Lu Guangyuan watched this fight and realized that Zhang Tianyang no longer had the strength and it was a complete failure of the Ning group. Teacher Zhang Wenlong watched as his opponent lost without a chance, and Zhang Tianyang descended to the ground and slightly came to his senses. Zhang Tianyang looked at Teacher Zhang Wenlong and realized that the scoundrel was strong and he needed to try his best to defeat him. Teacher Ning Fan also heard Lu Guangyuan's words that Zhang Tianyang had no strength and this was a failure, but he did not want to believe in this nonsense. At this time, student Ting Wei and Gu Shuiwei were walking to the arena, and Ting said that the evaluation had already begun and they should hurry there. And at that moment Ting Wei noticed that the door there was broken, and she was very surprised and thought who could have done this to this door. And immediately entering this hall, Ting Wei and Gu Shuiwei saw that Teacher Zhang Wenlong struck their friend Zhang Tianyang and ran him. Gu Shuiwei started screaming and thought that Zhang Tianyang was in danger there and he needed to be careful with such a dangerous master. Disciple Ting Wei was very surprised and thought what was happening there when they weren't there, and is Zhang Tianyang really losing to this scoundrel? Zhang Tianyang realized that he should attack the teacher in return so that he would also suffer from his dangerous blows, and ran straight towards him. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that Zhang Tianyang's resistance is so useless and he will still be unable to do anything and will be embarrassed. Zhang Tianyang came almost close to Teacher Zhang Wenlong and wanted to shut his mouth once and for all and break his jaw now. But again he did not have time to hit Teacher Zhang Wenlong, and he delivered an unexpected blow right to the student's nose and said that it was a surprise. Zhang Tianyang, having received such a blow, flew to the side and he again crashed into the wall with all his might and realized that it looked like he would not defeat the teacher. Zhang Tianyang lay there wounded and did not want to get up because he was sure that he would lose and let the whole group down at the last moment. But then suddenly Zhang Tianyang's gaze fell on a familiar person whom he did not expect to see in this hall and was glad to see her. Gu Shuiwei was very worried about Zhang Tianyang, and it was so painful for her to watch her dear student being beaten with all his might in battle. And after that, Zhang Tianyang began to get up from the floor and he told Teacher Zhang Wenlong that he would settle the score with him anyway. Teacher Ning Fan and Lu Guangyuan were watching this fight at that time, and Ning Fan was very worried about his student and it was hard for him. Ning Fan realized that Zhang Tianyang's anger was clouding his judgment and he was afraid that if this continued, he would fail his assessment. And at that very second, student Ting Wei came into the room and told Ning Fan that she needed to talk to him and asked if he was watching this fight. Ting Wei said that if Zhang Tianyang continues in the same spirit, he will not be able to last long in the ring with Teacher Zhang Wenlong. Ting Wei told Ning Fan that he was his teacher and asked him to hurry up and do something and help him at least with advice. Teacher Ning Fan asked student Ting Wei what she thought he was doing now and asked to give him time to think a little. Teacher Lu Guangyuan said that the fighter was getting out of control and had he really forgotten everything he learned then in a better class? Teacher Ning Fan heard Lu Guangyuan's words and thought and he might have an idea and his words might be a help in the problem. Teacher Ning Fan said that maybe everything is so and his theory could be an interesting solution and help Zhang Tianyang in battle. Teacher Ning Fan realized what he had to do and called Zhang Tianyang and asked him to pay attention to him and not be distracted by anything. Zhang Tianyang continued to receive blows and Teacher Ning Fan asked him to just calm down and listen to his words and not look at the enemy. Teacher Ning Fan asked Zhang Tianyang to remain calm and control his spirit and chi energy and then everything would be perfect. Teacher Zhang Wenlong jumped towards the student and said that this was the end and now he would not be able to defend himself from his strong blow. In the past time, Teacher Lu Guangyuan and Ning Fan were lying on the floor and Ning Fan was telling him that he was still very strong and that was cool. Teacher Lu Guangyuan listened with interest to all the words that Ning Fan said to him and believed that he could always say important things. Ning Fan told Master Lu Guangyuan that even if he was at a disadvantage, he would simply come back and hit him again then. Teacher Lu Guangyuan said that he never thought so and magicians can be diverse in battle, but a boxer has only himself. Teacher Lu Guangyuan said that the gloomier the situation, the calmer he should be and then he will overcome all difficulties. Master Lu Guangyuan said that by agreeing with each other and again hiding your spirit and chi and using every ounce of strength in your body. Teacher Lu Guangyuan said that only by doing all this can he unleash his strength and break out of the lowest point in his life. Teacher Lu Guangyuan trained his fighters and said that they should agree with each other and hide their spirit and chi energy. Zhang Tianyang then trained and repeated these words of the teacher that they should agree with each other and hide their spirit and their chi. And now, having heard these words from Teacher Ning Fan, student Zhang Tianyang remembered these words and thought that he had studied many times before. Teacher Zhang Wenlong kept jumping on Zhang Tianyang and he said that he seemed to be frozen there in fear and was afraid of getting hit. And at that moment Zhang Tianyang looked at Teacher Zhang Wenlong and realized that he was in the ring and had to defend himself from blows. And then Teacher Zhang Wenlong delivered his blow, but Zhang Tianyang managed to remove his head and the teacher missed and did not hit this fighter. Zhang Tianyang thought, could he really forget such an important thing that the teacher told him and it was a big mistake for him. Teacher Zhang Wenlong said that he was not finished yet and Zhang Tianyang would feel such pain and he would beg him for mercy and help. And then Teacher Zhang Wenlong dealt a hard blow to Zhang Tianyang and asked why he was dreaming in the midst of battle and not looking at the enemy. After this blow, Teacher Zhang Wenlong smiled and said that it was the end and he would not be able to continue the fight again after such a blow. But suddenly Teacher Zhang Wenlong noticed and was shocked that he did not expect to see this and how this was possible and cool. Teacher Zhang Wenlong noticed that the student did not feel this blow at all and looked at him and was very angry and wanted to take revenge on the scoundrel. Teacher Lu Guangyuan looked at Zhang Tianyang and realized that he had finally gained strength and was now fighting correctly without any mistakes. Teacher Ning Fan looked at Zhang Tianyang and realized that it seemed that his chi had cooled down or calmed down and he could fight with the teacher on equal terms. Teacher Ning Fan shouted at Zhang Tianyang and said that when a boxer punches, but then Lu Guangyuan asked Ning Fan to shut up. Teacher Lu Guangyuan told Ning Fang that this was an evaluation and help from someone outside would lead to the disqualification of fighter Zhang. Teacher Lu Guangyuan asked Ning Fan to forget about it and just leave the rest of the matter to Zhang Tianyang and said that he would handle it. And at that very second, Teacher Zhang Wenlong noticed that his opponent had indeed become stronger and how is this possible after missed attacks. But Teacher Zhang Wenlong consoled himself and thought, so what if Zhang Tianyang became stronger because he would still lose to him in battle? Teacher Zhang Wenlong gained strength and decided to jump on his opponent and finish him off before he fully becomes a powerful fighter. Teacher Zhang Wenlong began to rapidly fly towards Zhang Tianyang and said that he would now see such a technique with his own eyes. Zhang Tianyang was ready to attack the teacher and he clenched his fist and he began to swing to use the technique now on this guy. And at that moment, the fists of Teacher Zhang Wenlong and Zhang Tianyang immediately hit each other and they were both able to withstand dangerous attacks. Teacher Zhang Wenlong was thrown a couple of meters away from such a wave from their blow and thought that their strengths were now equal and it was hard for him. Zhang Tianyang was also thrown aside and he began to believe in his own strength and was already able to defend himself in this way from the dangerous technique of his enemy. The entire arena was covered in smoke and Zhang Tianyang looked at the teacher and he wanted to see what happened to him after their fist fight. Teacher Zhang Wenlong was surprised and asked Zhang Tianyang if he, with such poor strength, was actually a genius of that class C. Gu Shuiwei watched the fight and began to get up from her wheelchair and she realized that she had to support the cute Zhang Tianyang. Gu Shuiwei removed the bandage from her mouth and asked Zhang Tianyang to already start attacking this person so that he could win 100%. Zhang Tianyang passed out at this time and began to see Dr. Li Qiao's office and very scary sounds and some screams were coming from there. Zhang Tianyang was very afraid of this office and he never wanted to meet doctors in his life and have them treat him in any way. In the operating room, the sounds of Zhang Tianyang could be heard and he was there asking someone to stop doing this and just let him go free. Zhang Tianyang cried and told Dr. Li Qiao that she told him that it was a minor procedure and why did she tie him up there. Zhang Tianyang was lying tied up on the bed and he said that it didn't look like it was such a small procedure at all. Dr. Li Qiao asked Zhang Tianyang not to worry and said that she would take the risks and cure him so that he would become stronger. Dr. Li Qiao smiled evilly and told Zhang Tianyang not to worry and it was almost over and he would be out of there soon. Zhang Tianyang was passed out and he was thinking about the words of teacher Zhang Wenlong that with such little strength he was a class C genius. Teacher Zhang Wenlong swung with all his might and asked Zhang Tianyang to let him get it over with and they would leave the academy. Gu Shuiwei shouted with all her might and she asked Zhang Tianyang not to give his enemy the opportunity to hit and should come to his senses. And at that very second Zhang Tianyang heard Gu Shuiwei's voice and he immediately opened his eyes and realized that he needed to win for the sake of his friends. And at that moment, Zhang Tianyang was able to instantly dodge the blow of his opponent, teacher Zhang Wenlong, and his hand passed by. Zhang Tianyang saw his opponent's hand fly right in front of his face and he was able to crouch in time to protect himself from the blow. Zhang Tianyang stepped aside from teacher Zhang Wenlong and realized that it was also possible to defend against his blows if you found a way. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told Zhang Tianyang that he wanted to see how long he could dodge his dangerous and fast strikes. And after so many blows, teacher Zhang Wenlong was finally able to hit him, but he put a block in front of him to his blow with his hand. Zhang Tianyang flew to the side and teacher Zhang Wenlong was glad that he finally got it and said that this was just the beginning of his attacks. Zhang Tianyang flew a couple of meters and then was able to stop and he had to come up with a brilliant plan to defeat the teacher. Zhang Tianyang thought that he should calm down and he couldn't let his anger take over during the fight and should just take his time. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told his opponent that he could attack him and an equal massacre broke out between them where no one wanted to retreat. And at that moment Zhang Tianyang delivered his blow and realized that he also managed to hit teacher Zhang Wenlong and he was also fast. Teacher Zhang Wenlong noticed that his opponent's hand had almost touched his face and he had made a mistake and could not back down. Teacher Zhang Wenlong flew in the other direction and Zhang Tianyang realized that he had hit him well and his blow was powerful. Zhang Tianyang realized that this was his chance and he couldn't ruin everything that day and all his friends were hoping for him at this moment in the fight. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told rival Zhang Tianyang that he wanted to confess to him and said that he used to underestimate him in the beginning. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told his opponent that he managed to get him to draw a trump card and he was good even if he failed. And at that very second, immediately after his words, teacher Zhang Wenlong jumped straight at his opponent and said that he would surprise the student. Teacher Zhang Wenlong appeared right in front of his face and said that he couldn't do anything with his huge fist in his face. Teacher Zhang Wenlong hit his opponent but couldn't hit him and Zhang Tianyang instantly found himself behind him. Zhang Tianyang told his enemy that he had already told him before that he would make him pay for the fact that Gu Shuiwei got hurt because of him. Teacher Zhang Wenlong quickly turned around and dealt a strong blow to his opponent with a technique that he had not yet used in battles. Teacher Zhang Wenlong told his opponent that he himself had run into this and began to strike him hundreds of blows with this powerful technique. But suddenly Zhang Tianyang again found himself behind teacher Zhang Wenlong and he could not hit with any of his blows and this is incredible. Teacher Zhang Wenlong again struck with his blow, which he had prepared for the end of the battle, but again failed to hit the dexterous enemy. And after that, Zhang Tianyang kicked Teacher Zhang Wenlong's back and pushed him to show that he was behind him. Teacher Zhang Wenlong was very surprised by this and wondered why this opponent suddenly became such a fast and dexterous fighter. And after that, Zhang Tianyang kicked the teacher Zhang Wenlong and said that he would have no mercy and he would be punished for all his bad and vile deeds and he deserved it. It was a very strong blow, and after that the teacher Zhang Wenlong said he crashed into the wall, and Zhang Tianyang was glad that he answered him with his blow.